Welcome to my channel, Sky High Manhwa. This is part 3 of Beerus was reincarnated in the Primordial world. Watch part 1 and 2 before watching this. If you enjoy my content, like and subscribe. The war was over, but the true challenge had just begun. Rimuru sat at the head of the conference table in the meeting hall, flanked by his most trusted generals. The room carried an air of relief, but also tension, as they began discussing the future of the territories they had conquered. Rimuru: alright, everyone, now that the fighting is behind us, we need to focus on building a better future. Clayman, Fry, and Carrion's territories are under our control now, but I want them to officially become part of Tempest. As for Falmouth, I have no interest in ruling it directly. Instead, we'll let someone trustworthy take charge, but I'll lead from the shadows. Benimaru: that makes sense. Falmouth's people won't accept a monster leading them outright, but with someone loyal to us in charge, we can ensure stability. Diablo, smirking: and if anyone steps out of line, I'd be more than happy to remind them who holds the true power. Cheyenne, clenching her fists: let me know if you need me to deal with anyone. I'll crush them in an instant. Hakuro, calmly: it's important we handle this with care. Fry and Carrion's former territories are filled with proud, independent people. If we force our rule upon them, they might rebel. Rimuru: exactly. That's why I'll appoint Maddox to oversee Eurazania. He already has their respect. Gabiru will take care of Frey's territory, with his newfound confidence and leadership. As for Falmouth, it is better if we find a trustworthy human. Before they could continue, Sui suddenly appeared, kneeling before Rimuru. Sui: Lord Rimuru, King Gazel of Dworgen is on his way, and will arrive shortly. Rimuru: Gazel? What's he doing here now? No matter, get things ready. I'll go meet him myself. Rimuru left the meeting room and walked to the gates, where King Gazel Dworgo of the armed nation of Dworgen was dismounting from his armored Pegasus. Gazel's elite guard stood silently behind him, their presence imposing as always. Rimuru, smiling: King Gazel, welcome to Tempest. I wasn't expecting you, but it's always a pleasure. Gazel, nodding: Rimuru, we have much to discuss. The recent events in your lands have stirred concerns across the continent. I trust we can speak openly. Rimuru: of course. We were just in the middle of planning the future of the territories we've taken over. Please, come in and join us. Gazel followed Rimuru to the meeting room, where the generals stood to greet him respectfully. Shuna quickly brought out tea and freshly baked cookies. As they settled down, Raphael's voice echoed in Rimuru's mind. Raphael: alert! A group of elves is hiding nearby, using homunculi as proxies. Their primary bodies are being protected by high-tier magic left in their country. Rimuru, out loud: whoever is hiding in the trees, show yourselves now. There was a tense silence before 5 elegantly dressed elves stepped into the clearing. Their leader, a man with short green hair and an air of authority, stepped forward. Gazel, startled: that's Erald, Archduke of Saraya. Erald approached slowly, his eyes narrowing as he locked gazes with Rimuru. Erald, angrily: you must be Rimuru Tempest. How dare you? How dare you seduce my daughter? The room froze, shocked by the accusation. Before Rimuru could respond, Erald began casting a spell, his mana surging dangerously. However, before he could finish, Rimuru's expression darkened. He released a pulse of intense killing intent, focusing it entirely on Erald. The pressure was overwhelming. Erald gasped, his spell unraveling as he collapsed to his knees, his body trembling. The others in the room felt the edges of the pressure and broke into a cold sweat. Rimuru, calm but deadly: first, let me make something clear. I don't know your daughter. Second, even if you're using a homunculus, my attack can reach your real body. Do you want to test that? Erald's face paled. He struggled to speak, but couldn't find the words. Suddenly, someone ran forward. It was Ellen, Erald's daughter. Ellen, pleading: father, stop this. Lord Rimuru isn't the kind of person you think he is. You're embarrassing yourself. Ellen turned to Rimuru and bowed deeply. Ellen, please, forgive him, Lord Rimuru. He's overprotective. Rimuru sighed, reining in his killing intent. Erald collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air, while Ellen helped him sit up. Rimuru: fine, I'll let this slide. But if he tries that again, there won't be a second chance. Gazel, sighing: Archduke Erald, I expected more from you. This kind of recklessness could have caused a disaster. Erald managed to sit upright, glaring weakly at Rimuru. Erald: I misunderstood. My apologies, old. Once everyone calmed down, the meeting resumed. Shuna served tea and cookies, but the tension in the air lingered. Rimuru, leaning back in his chair: alright, now that everyone's here, let's get to it. There's a lot to discuss, but first, let me address the elephant in the room. How we ended up in this war, and how Tempest emerged victorious. Gazel, arms crossed: serious? Yes, Rimuru. I came here because I'd heard whispers of your battles, but I want to know the full story. How did 3 demon lords and Falmouth decide to attack Tempest? And how on earth did you manage to fend them off? Erald, narrowing his eyes, his tone skeptical indeed. I've heard rumors, but I find it hard to believe that you managed to not only survive, but also eliminate such powerful enemies. Rimuru smirked, clearly amused by their disbelief. Rimuru, grinning: you'll understand soon enough. Instead of explaining everything myself, I think it's better if I show you. Raphael, play the recordings. Raphael, mentally to Rimuru, acknowledged. Beginning playback. A large crystal ball materialized in the center of the table, glowing faintly. It began to project a magical recording like a vivid hologram. The room dimmed slightly as the crystal displayed the events that led to the war. The first scene showed Yuki Kagerazaka in a secret meeting with his moderate Harlequin alliance, Tyr, Footman, Laplace, and Kigali. Their voices were clear as they discussed manipulating Clayman and setting their schemes into motion. Yuki, in the recording: Clayman is desperate for power and easy to manipulate. Let him do the heavy lifting, and we'll take advantage of the chaos. Tempest will crumble, and we'll claim the aftermath. The scene shifted to Clayman's plotting with Fry and Carrion as they discussing their planned assault on Tempest. Erald, shocked, muttering: so that's how it started. They manipulated everyone. Gazel, grimly: Yucky, I didn't realize he had gone so far. He's a dangerous foe, more cunning than I imagined. The recordings continued, showing Clayman summoning Charybdis as a weapon of destruction. It then shifted to Tempest's battle preparations, highlighting the strategies Rimuru and his generals devised to counter the attacks. The scenes of battle were intense. Benimaru leading the charge against Falmouth's army, Diablo annihilating their commanders, and Veldora defeating Charybdis with overwhelming power. The crystal ball also revealed Clayman, Fry, and Carrion's ultimate defeat at Rimuru's hands in vivid detail. Gazel, leaning forward, eyes wide: you took on 3 demon lords at once and defeated them? And you even defeated Charybdis, the Calamity-class beast? Rimuru, casually: yup. It was a little hectic, but we managed. Charybdis was more of a distraction though. The real challenge was dealing with Clayman and his allies. Erald, gritting his teeth, incredulous: you say that as if it were nothing. Do you have any idea what kind of power it takes to do what you've done? Diablo, smirking: it's only natural, isn't it? Lord Rimuru is unmatched. No one who opposes him can hope to survive. The recordings finally concluded with the scenes of Rimuru defeating Yuki and the moderate Harlequin alliance. The room was silent as everyone processed what they had just seen. Gazel, breaking the silence: so, it wasn't Tempest that sought war. You were targeted because of greed and manipulation. You defended yourselves, and in doing so, you crushed every enemy that dared challenge you. Rimuru, nodding: that's right. We didn't start this war, but we made sure to end it. Erald, still processing the Falmouth army. What happened to them? Rimuru, flatly: they were wiped out. Gazel, narrowing his eyes: and Charybdis? Rimuru, grinning: handled. Veldora took care of it himself. Both Gazel and Erald froze mid-sip of their tea, their eyes widening in shock. Gazel, sputtering: Veldora? You mean Veldora the Storm Dragon, one of the 4 true dragons? That Veldora. Erald, staring, incredulous: you expect us to believe that the Storm Dragon, who vanished centuries ago, suddenly reappeared and is here in Tempest? Rimuru leaned back in his chair, clearly enjoying their reactions. Rimuru, nonchalantly: yup, that's the one. He's here in Tempest, and he's my sworn brother. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Gazel, jaw-dropping: you what? Your sworn brother? Veldora the Storm Dragon. Erald, leaning forward, eyes narrowing: this has to be a joke. There's no way you tame such a being. The storm dragon is a calamity, a force of nature. How could you possibly? Rimuru, interrupting. Well, it's not like I tamed him. It's more like, we're family now. I released him from his seal, and we've been allies ever since. He's a big softy once you get to know him. The room fell silent again, the weight of Rimuru's words sinking in. Gazel, murmuring to himself, the storm dragon, allied with Rimuru. This explains so much about Tempest's strength. Erald, still skeptical. If this is true, then the world's balance of power has shifted far more drastically than I imagined. Rimuru smirked. Rimuru, oh, it's true. You can meet him if you want, though I'll warn you, he's a bit over the top. Gazel, half laughing, half shocked over the top. You're talking about a dragon that could level nations as if it's nothing. Rimuru, chuckling exactly. But trust me, he's harmless. Well, mostly. Rimuru, leaning forward. Now that you understand the situation, let's talk about what comes next. Tempest is now in control of Falmouth, as well as Clayman, Fry, and Carrion's territories. My plan is simple. We'll integrate them into Tempest. Rimuru, although things are calm in Falmouth for now and Rigard is doing a good job managing the territory, I want someone human to run the country. Someone they'll trust, someone who represents them. Gazel stroked his beard, his mind already considering possibilities. Gazel, there is one person I can think of. He's quite popular in Falmouth, a mercenary who became a folk hero among the people. His name is Yum. If you give him the right training and support, he could make an excellent king for Falmouth. Rimuru's eyes lit up at the idea. Rimuru, smiling. Yum, huh? Sounds promising. All right, I'll give him a chance. Can you put me in contact with him? Gazel, nodding of course. I'll make the arrangements. Yum might be rough around the edges, but he has the charisma and reputation to unite Falmouth's people under your vision. With that decision made, Rimuru turned to Archduke Erald, his expression now serious yet hopeful. Rimuru, and what about Sarion? Would your nation consider forming a partnership alliance with Tempest? We could achieve a lot together. Erald studied Rimuru for a moment, his gaze sharp and discerning. Erald, before I answer that, I need to know what your intentions are, Rimuru. What kind of leader do you want to be? What are your long-term goals for Tempest? Rimuru met his gaze without hesitation, his voice filled with conviction. Rimuru, I want to create a country where everyone, no matter their race, human, monster, demon, or otherwise, can live in peace and thrive together. A place where people aren't judged by what they are, but by who they are. A true utopia where cooperation and mutual respect can flourish. Erald leaned back in his chair, visibly impressed by Rimuru's words. Erald, nodding, an admirable goal, though not without its challenges. But your actions so far speak louder than words. Very well, Sarion will form an alliance with Tempest. I'll draft the necessary agreements and send them over shortly. Rimuru smiled, relieved and grateful. Rimuru, thank you, Erald. I look forward to working with Sarion. The atmosphere in the room was optimistic as the alliance was sealed, but before they could officially conclude the meeting, a soldier entered the room, his expression serious. Soldier, saluting, Lord Rimuru, a demon is here requesting an audience with you. Rimuru raised an eyebrow, curious but not alarmed. Rimuru, a demon? All right, let him in. The soldier stepped aside, and a tall, dark figure entered the room, a demon exuding an aura of power and elegance. His piercing eyes scanned the room before he bowed respectfully to Rimuru. Demon, I bring greetings from my master, Lord Guy Crimson. He has sent me to deliver an invitation to you, Lord Rimuru, for the upcoming Walpurgis. The room fell silent as the name, Guy Crimson, hung heavily in the air. Both Gazel and Erald exchanged wary glances. Rimuru calmly, Walpurgis, huh? When is it happening? Demon, in 3 days' time. Someone will come to escort you to the meeting. Rimuru nodded, his expression thoughtful. Rimuru, all right, I'll be there. Tell Guy Crimson I accept the invitation. The demon bowed again. Demon, it will be done. Until then, farewell. With a flash of magic, the demon teleported away, leaving the room in silence once more. Gazel, concerned, Rimuru, are you sure about this? Walpurgis is no small matter. You'll be surrounded by demon lords, most of whom won't take kindly to your presence. Erald, frowning, he's right. Even with your strength, this is dangerous. What are you planning? Rimuru leaned back, a sly grin on his face. Rimuru, it's all part of the plan. I'm already recognized as a demon lord, so it's only natural I attend their gathering. Besides, I've got a few things to say to the other demon lords, and this is the perfect stage for it. Gazel and Erald exchanged glances again, clearly at a loss for words. Gazel, sighing, you're as bold as ever, Rimuru. I just hope you know what you're doing. Erald, shaking his head, bold doesn't even begin to describe it. But I suppose this is why Tempest is thriving under your leadership. Rimuru chuckled, his confidence unwavering. Rimuru, don't worry. Everything's under control. And who knows, maybe I'll make a few new friends at Walpurgis. Both Gazel and Erald could only sigh in resignation. With that, the meeting officially concluded, and Tempest's next chapter began, with Rimuru preparing for the most dangerous gathering he had ever faced. In the vast, luxurious palace floating in the void of time and space, Beerus reclined lazily on a massive throne carved out of stardust, his golden eyes glowing faintly. Surrounding him were his wives, Velzer, Beta, and Sigma, each radiating an aura that rivaled the celestial bodies. They watched the unfolding drama in the mortal world through a vast crystalline orb that floated in front of them, projecting the events as though they were live performers in an opera. Velzer, resting on the armrest of Beerus's throne, chuckled as she observed Rimuru's effortless victory over Yuki and the destruction of a moderate Harlequin alliance. Velzer, grinning, your little slime has been making waves, hasn't he? Rimuru's growth is astonishing. From a mere reborn slime to wiping out 3 demon lords and their schemes. It's entertaining, I'll give him that. Beta, seated cross-legged on a nearby crescent-shaped couch, sipped from a crystalline goblet, her expression curious yet reserved. Beta, calmly, it's more than entertaining, Velzer. It's unprecedented. Even the strongest demon lords underestimated him, and now Guy Crimson is stirring. You know what that means, don't you? Velzer smirked and leaned forward, her silver hair flowing like liquid mercury. Velzer, Guy's probably plotting something. No doubt, he's interested in Rimuru. Maybe he's planning to recruit him into the Abyssal Lords, or, knowing Guy, challenge him just for fun. At this, Beerus opened one eye and snorted, a smirk forming on his lips. Beerus, amused, that red-haired fool wouldn't be able to resist, would he? He's probably itching to find out how strong Rimuru really is. Typical Guy Crimson. Velzer turned to Beerus, her golden eyes glinting with mischief. Velzer, so, what do you plan to do about it? Let Guy play his little games, or intervene before he does something reckless? Beerus stretched leisurely, the aura of supreme dominance radiating from his every movement. Beerus, casually intervene? Me? Nah, I'll just remind him of his place. Guy may be strong, but he knows better than to step out of line. With that, Beerus raised a single hand and snapped his fingers. In an instant, a powerful shockwave rippled through the void, bending space itself. Moments later, a portal of fiery crimson light tore open, and Guy Crimson was forcibly yanked through it, landing on one knee in front of Beerus's throne. Guy immediately tensed, his sharp eyes darting around in confusion. The oppressive aura in the room pressed down on him like a tidal wave, forcing him to bow instinctively. It didn't take him long to figure out whose presence he was in. Guy, gritting his teeth, Tisich. Beerus, I should have known. Only you could pull a stunt like this. Beerus leaned forward, resting his chin on his hand, his smirk widening. Beerus, teasingly, long time no see, Guy. What's wrong? Don't tell me you're upset that I summoned you without warning. You're not that fragile, are you? Guy clicked his tongue in irritation but kept his head down, knowing full well that Beerus wasn't someone he could challenge carelessly. Guy, to what do I owe the honor, Lord Beerus? Surely, you didn't summon me here just to gloat. Velzer leaned closer to Beerus, her smile wicked as she joined in on the fun. Velzer, oh, but he should gloat, don't you think? After all, 3 of your precious demon lords were wiped out by a single slime. What were their names again? Clayman, Fry, and Carrion? Such a shame. Guy's sharp gaze flickered to Velzer, and he clicked his tongue again, clearly annoyed. Guy, annoyed, spare me your mockery. Those three got what they deserved for underestimating Rimuru. I didn't send them after him, and you know it. Beerus, smirking. Oh, I know, but it's still amusing, isn't it? The mighty Guy Crimson, having his ranks cleaned up by a newcomer. You've got to admit, Rimuru's something special. Guy remained silent, though his clenched fists betrayed his irritation. Beerus, leaning back. So what's your plan for him? Don't tell me you're thinking of recruiting him into the Abyssal Lords. Guy finally straightened, meeting Beerus's piercing gaze with his own determined eyes. Guy, that's exactly what I'm planning. Someone like Rimuru doesn't come along often. It would be a waste to let him slip through my fingers. And who knows, maybe I'll challenge him to a spar. See what he's really made of. At this, Beerus's expression darkened slightly, his smirk fading into a more serious look. Beerus, coldly, you can spar with him if you like, but let me make one thing clear, Guy. Rimuru is part of my bigger plan. So, while I don't mind you adding him to the Abyssal Lords, you'd better not try to kill him. The pressure in the room suddenly increased, and Guy found himself sweating under the weight of Beerus's gaze. Guy nervously, I wouldn't dream of it. I'm not stupid enough to cross you, Beerus. Beerus, mockingly good. Because even if you tried, I doubt you'd succeed. Velzer and Beta chuckled softly, and Sigma smiled faintly from her seat. Velzer, grinning. Oh, he's definitely taking that as a challenge. Guy glared at her, but didn't retort. He knew better than to test his limits in front of Beerus. Beerus, waving a hand dismissively, relax, Guy. Just don't do anything stupid. Rimuru's progress is important to me, and I'd hate to have to clean up a mess if you step out of line. With that, Beerus snapped his fingers again, and Guy was instantly teleported back to the ice continent, the oppressive aura lifting from him as he landed back in his domain. Back in the palace, Velzer leaned closer to Beerus, her golden eyes sparkling with curiosity. Velzer, so, when are you planning to visit Rimuru yourself? Beta raised an eyebrow, her voice calm and measured. Beta, yes, you've been watching him for a while now. Surely, it's time to introduce yourself. Beerus smirked, his golden eyes glowing faintly. Beerus, soon. Very soon. I'm enjoying the show for now, but when the time is right, Rimuru and I will meet. After all, I still have to see for myself just how far he can go. Guy sat back on his icy throne, his crimson eyes glowing faintly in the dim, frigid light of his palace. His emotions were a mixture of annoyance and intrigue after his brief encounter with Beerus. He knew better than to let his irritation linger. Beerus wasn't someone to provoke without dire consequences. Still, the fact that the deity had taken such a vested interest in Rimuru annoyed him. Guy, muttering to himself, Tisich, part of his bigger plan, huh? Beerus is always meddling. But what could be so special about a slime? Before he could dive deeper into his thoughts, the massive double doors to his throne room burst open, the sound echoing through the palace. Malim Nava, as unpredictable and full of energy as ever, came bounding in. Malim, excitedly, Guy, I heard something amazing. It's true, right? Rimuru's coming to Valpurgis? And you're going to invite him to join our group? Her childlike glee filled the room, and Guy rubbed his temples in exasperation, though he couldn't help but smirk slightly. Guy, annoyed, yes, Malim. He's coming. I've already sent him an invitation, and he accepted it. No need to barge in like a hurricane just to ask. Malim practically bounced with excitement, her pink hair bouncing as she twirled in place. Malim, yay, this is going to be so much fun. I've been itching for a good fight, and Rimuru sounds like the perfect opponent. Guy's expression darkened slightly, and he shot her a sharp look. Guy, sternly, easy there, Malim. You better not try to kill him. Your father has taken an interest in Rimuru. Malim stopped mid-bounce, her excitement giving way to curiosity. She tilted her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. Malim, father? Really? Huh, what's he up to this time? Guy, I don't know exactly. All he said was that Rimuru is part of his bigger plan, but he doesn't mind if Rimuru joins the Abyssal Lords. Whatever that means. Malim crossed her arms and began pacing, her energy shifting into focused thought, though her usual playful demeanor remained. Malim, muttering, father's always scheming something big. But if he's interested in Rimuru, then that slime must really be something special. Guy leaned back in his throne, a faint grin forming on his face. Guy, special doesn't even begin to cover it. First, he wipes out 3 of our fellow demon lords, Clayman, Fry, and Carrion, at once. Then he takes out the moderate Harlequin alliance. And now Beerus has his eye on him. Things are getting more interesting by the minute. Malim spun on her heel to face Guy, her grin matching his. Malim, you're right. Life's been so boring lately. But now we've got Rimuru, the tournaments, and father getting involved. It's so exciting. I can't wait to see what happens next. Guy chuckled, shaking his head. Guy, neither can I, Malim. Neither can I. In the holy empire of Rubrios, deep within a secret chamber bathed in soft, ethereal light, luminous Valentine lay on a lavish bed. The air was scented with faint lavender, but her mind was anything but calm. She rested her head on her hand, her long silver hair cascading over her bare shoulders, her heterochromatic eyes, one black, one purple, staring at nothing in particular. She was draped in a silken sheet, her half-dressed state betraying her restless thoughts. The recent events weighed heavily on her mind. Her most trusted subordinate, Hinata Sakaguchi, had been utterly defeated by Rimuru. And not just defeated, humiliated. It wasn't just Hinata either. The reports coming in were nothing short of extraordinary. Luminous, to herself a slime, a mere slime, reborn into this world, becomes a demon lord out of nowhere. And then he eliminates Clayman, Fry, and Carrion as if they were nothing. Her hand tightened into a fist, and she bit her lower lip. The thought of such overwhelming power existing outside her awareness was unsettling. Luminous, who are you, Rimuru? How did you become so strong? And how is it that no one, not even Hinata, sensed your presence before all of this? She sat up, the sheet slipping slightly, though she paid it no mind. Her gaze was sharp, her golden eye glowing faintly in the dim light. Luminous, but you chose not to kill Hinata. Why? Was it pity, mercy, or something more calculated? Despite herself, Luminous felt a faint smile tugging at her lips. Luminous, perhaps you're not as monstrous as you seem, but that only makes you more dangerous. A demon lord with both strength and restraint. Fascinating. She leaned back against the pillows, her mind racing. Luminous, murmuring, this Valpurgis, perhaps it will shed more light on you, Rimuru Tempest. If nothing else, it will be entertaining to watch the others scramble to understand you. Her fingers traced the edge of a glass of wine on the bedside table as she considered her next move. Luminous, you're someone I can't afford to make an enemy of, Rimuru. But, I wonder, could you be an ally? Or are you destined to be something far more complicated? She took a sip of the wine, savoring the taste as she allowed herself a small smirk. Luminous, well, one thing's for certain. You've made life much more interesting. The sun rose over Tempest, casting its golden light across the bustling city. Despite the scars of war, the citizens had thrown themselves into rebuilding with a level of unity and determination that spoke volumes about their resilience. Streets were alive with the sounds of construction, laughter, and commerce as life began to pick back up. The citizens' conversations. In the marketplace, merchants and townsfolk were busy exchanging goods and stories. A group of goblin merchants stood by a stall filled with fresh produce, talking animatedly. Goblin Merchant 1. Can you believe it? Lord Rimuru defeated 3 demon lords and that army from Falmouth. Goblin Merchant 2, nodding, not just that. He took down Charybdis too. And now the forest is safer than it's ever been. Nearby, a group of hobgoblin blacksmiths was hard at work, crafting new weapons and tools. Hobgoblin blacksmith. With Lord Rimuru's new designs, the defenses around Tempest will be unbeatable. Did you hear about those magical orbs? They say they can detect intruders from miles away. Dryad passing by, smiling, Lord Rimuru thinks of everything. We're lucky to have such a wise and kind leader. In a quieter corner, a group of children played a game, pretending to be Rimuru and his generals. One child, playing as Rimuru, held up a stick like a sword. Child 1, as Rimuru, I'll protect everyone. Superpower activate. Child 2, as Diablo, I am Lord Rimuru's loyal servant. No one can beat us. The laughter and playfulness of the children warmed the hearts of the adults watching nearby. In Rimuru's chamber. Meanwhile, Rimuru sat in his chamber, looking over blueprints for the city's redesign with Raphael's guidance. Raphael, calmly, the new layout will enhance both security and efficiency. By integrating magical barriers with physical fortifications, Tempest will be impervious to most external threats. Rimuru, nodding, good thinking, Raphael. Let's implement these changes gradually so the citizens don't feel overwhelmed. Just then, Shuna entered the room, carrying a beautifully embroidered outfit. Shuna, smiling, Lord Rimuru, I finished the outfit for Valpurgis. What do you think? Rimuru looked at the outfit, a masterpiece of crimson and gold threads that seemed to shimmer with magic. Rimuru, grinning, Shuna, this is incredible. You really outdid yourself. Shine followed behind, carrying a tray of tea and snacks. Shine, smirking, you better thank her properly, Rimuru. She's been working day and night on that outfit. Rimuru, teasing, and here I thought you were the one who'd make me something to wear. Shine. Shine puffed out her chest proudly. Shine, I could have, but I figured you'd want to survive Valpurgis without worrying about exploding clothes. The room erupted in laughter, and the trio shared a lighthearted moment before resuming their work. Training and growth. Out in the training grounds, Veldora was sparring with Hakuryu, his movements surprisingly refined as he tested out his newly developed martial arts techniques. Veldora, grinning, behold, the power of the Veldora-style killing arts. Hadouken. A blast of energy shot out from his palms, barely missing Hakuryu, who gracefully sidestepped it. Hakuryu, smirking, impressive, Lord Veldora. But your technique still lacks precision. Veldora, laughing, details. The important thing is that it looks cool. Rimuru watched from the sidelines, shaking his head with a fond smile. Rimuru, at least he's being productive. I'll give him that. Diablo approached, bowing elegantly. Diablo, shall we continue your magic training, my lord? You've made great progress, but there's always more to learn. Rimuru, grinning, all right, Diablo. Let's see if you can keep up with me this time. The two began their session, exchanging spells and techniques, their movements fluid and powerful. Soldiers and citizens stopped to watch in awe, inspired by their leader's dedication to constant improvement. Ramiris visit. Later that day, Ramiris arrived in her usual dramatic fashion, flying into the city with her entourage of spirits. Ramiris, cheerfully, Rimuru, I've decided to grace you with my presence again. Rimuru raised an eyebrow, already bracing himself for her antics. Rimuru, let me guess, you're here for more cookies? Ramiris crossed her arms, feigning indignation. Ramiris, how dare you? I'm here for, important matters of state. But if you happen to have cookies, I wouldn't say no. The Dryads quickly surrounded Ramiris, pampering her and offering her treats, much to her delight. As they talked, Rimuru brought up the idea of a labyrinth in Tempest, explaining his vision. Ramiris, grinning, a labyrinth, huh? You've got good taste, Rimuru. I even built one in Celestra. Alright, I'll build you the best labyrinth ever, but only if you keep the cookies coming. Rimuru, smiling, deal. You won't regret it. A growing army. With more monsters from the forest joining Tempest, the army was rapidly expanding. Gapta and Rigor were busy organizing new recruits, while Geld oversaw the construction of additional barracks. Gapta, grinning, man, Lord Rimuru's army just keeps getting bigger. At this rate, we'll be unstoppable. Geld, nodding, but we can't get complacent. Training is key. Every recruit needs to be prepared for anything. The recruits trained diligently, inspired by Rimuru's leadership and the strength of Tempest's generals. Unity and strength. As the city thrived, the people of Tempest felt more united than ever. The hardships of war had forged an unbreakable bond among them, and with Rimuru leading the way, they knew they could face any challenge. The night ended with Rimuru sitting on a hill overlooking the city, Veldora beside him. Veldora, grinning, you've built something amazing here, brother. Tempest is more than just a city, it's a family. Rimuru, smiling, yeah, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect it. The stars above shone brightly as Tempest continued to grow, stronger and more united than ever before. The day of Valpurgis had arrived, and Tempest was abuzz with preparation. Rimuru, looking sharp in the outfit crafted by Shuna, stood ready with his chosen subordinates, Zijin and Diablo. Zijin, the silent yet awe-inspiring protector of Tempest, stood with quiet confidence. He did not fight during the war. Rimuru kept him hidden just in case, while Diablo radiated his usual mix of elegance and sinister loyalty. Rimuru's preparations. As the preparations were underway, Ramiris fluttered around Rimuru, acting as his impromptu guide for the upcoming meeting. Rimuru, so, Ramiris, what's the deal with the other demon lords? I know a little about some of them, but not all. Ramiris, grinning, oh ho, you're in for a treat, Rimuru. Let me tell you all about them. But first, remember, only 2 subordinates per demon lord. You sure about bringing Zijin and Diablo? Rimuru, absolutely. Diablo's been itching for this, and Zijin. Well, let's just say he's my ace in the hole. Ramiris nodded, impressed, before starting her detailed explanation of the demon lords. Guy Crimson, the first and oldest demon lord. Guy was born during the dawn of time, before the creation of heaven and earth. He was one of the demonic counterparts to the 7 angels of origin, having split from the great holy spirit of darkness. As the first among them to be born, he ruled the demon realm as its king and commanded the demons at will. From his perspective, even the other primordials were mere dependents. However, when Blue and Vert challenged him in a bid for supremacy, he easily defeated them, but discovered that the primordials were immortal. No matter how crushed they were, they would resurrect under the victor's command. This realization led to a stalemate among the remaining 4 primordials. Among the demons, the black primordial Noir persistently troubled Guy. They fought for supremacy, resulting in a draw. Recognizing Noir's strength, Guy acknowledged him as a rival. With the passage of time, Guy was summoned to the central world by High Human Emperor Jahil of the Super Magic Empire. He was summoned as an archdemon and tasked with destroying an enemy nation. Using 1,000,000 corpses, Guy successfully incarnated and ascended to the rank of true demon lord, acquiring the souls of numerous people. In addition to destroying the enemy nation, he summoned Primordial Vert and Blue, ordering them to slaughter Jahil and all the residents of the Super Magic Empire while avoiding mass destruction magic to prolong their suffering. As Guy crushed his enemies, he relished in their doomed pleas and found it to be a pleasant sound. He named himself Guy, after awakening as a true demon lord. He named his companions Misery and Rain, reflecting the misery of mankind and the rain of blood that fell wherever he went. Guy and his mates traveled from place to place, enjoying the world. Eventually, he encountered Veldanava and challenged him to a fight, but was easily defeated. Instead of becoming Veldanava's servant, he was given the role of mediator. Malim Nava, the Destroyer. Ramiris, speaking of Malim, she's next. Malim Nava, the Destroyer, is one of the most chaotic and unpredictable demon lords you'll ever meet. Rimuru, nodding, oh yeah. Ramiris, laughing, of course you have. But there's more to Malim than meets the eye. She's the daughter of the true dragon Veldanava, the creator of the world, and Lucia, a human who loved him. As a dragonoid, she inherited some of her father's godlike powers. That's why she's so ridiculously strong. It's literally in her blood. Rimuru's expression softened. Rimuru, she's been through a lot, hasn't she? Ramiris, nodding solemnly, she has. Malim lost her parents when she was young, and her beloved pet dragon was killed by humans. In her rage, she destroyed an entire country, earning her the title of the Destroyer. But deep down, Malim's just a lonely girl who wants friends. She's a lot smarter than people think, though. And don't forget, she's ridiculously loyal to those she cares about. Ramiris, the fairy demon lord. Ramiris, and then there's me. Ramiris, the fairy demon lord. The most beautiful, brilliant, and lovable of all the demon lords. Rimuru, smirking a little humble brag, huh? Ramiris, puffing her chest, it's not bragging if it's true. Anyway, I'm one of the oldest demon lords, too, though I've, reset a few times. Rimuru, curious, reset. Ramiris, sighing. Yeah, let's just say I have a knack for getting into trouble. I'm the guardian of the spirit realm and used to work alongside Veldanava to maintain balance in the world. But when Veldanava passed, things got messy, and I ended up becoming a demon lord to protect what's left of his legacy. Rimuru could sense a hint of sadness beneath her playful tone, but decided not to press further. Luminous Valentine, Queen of Nightmares. Ramiris. Next up is Luminous Valentine, also known as the Queen of Nightmares. She's a vampire and rules over the Holy Empire of Rubrios. Don't let the Holy Empire name fool you. It's a vampire nation through and through. Rimuru. A vampire demon lord? Interesting. Ramiris. Very. Luminous is ancient, even older than Malim, though not quite as old as Guy. She's terrifyingly strong, but she hides it behind a calm and elegant exterior. Her subordinates are fanatically loyal to her, especially Hinata, the leader of the 10 Great Saints. Rimuru then remembered with a grin on his face. Oh, that Hinata. Luminous is a bit of a mystery, but she's surprisingly fair when it comes to ruling her people. Just don't cross her. She has no patience for betrayal. Draggle, the giant. A long time ago, in the age of myth, an evil giant emerged from the depths of the earth, wreaking havoc wherever it went. Eventually, Veldanava intervened and managed to defeat the giant, splitting it into 3 separate entities, Degrul and his 2 brothers, Finn and Glassword. Over time, Degrul and Glassword renounced their malevolent ambitions and strived for redemption, while Finn clung to his wicked ways and was subsequently sealed away. As a reward for his change of heart, Veldanava granted Degrul a parcel of land and entrusted him with the duty of guarding the Heaven Tower to prevent Finn's release. Leon Cromwell, the Platinum Saber. He is the last-born demon lord, the human demon lord Leon Cromwell. He with his overwhelming magical power rules over his increased number of Magen. He identifies himself as the demon lord of the frontier. One of the demon lords was furious with him. The demon lord Kazarium had waged war against him, but he was beaten by Leon instead. It was also by Leon's own hands. Due to this, Leon's hero's egg hatched and he awakened as a true hero. In response to the situation, the other demon lords, not knowing that Leon is a hero, recognized him as a new demon lord. With the explanations done, Rimuru felt more prepared for Valpurgis. Rimuru, grinning, thanks for the info, Ramiris. I think I'm ready for whatever happens. Ramiris, teasing, don't get too cocky, slime. Valpurgis is a whole different ballgame. Rimuru chuckled, knowing full well that the meeting was bound to be as chaotic as the demon lords themselves. Minutes later, Rimuru felt a distortion in the space around them. He then said, it's time. As the ominous door materialized beside Rimuru, a ripple of intense magical energy emanated from it, causing the atmosphere in Tempest to momentarily thicken. A tall, imposing demon stepped out, his aura sharp and chilling. Bowing deeply, the demon addressed Rimuru with an eerily smooth voice. Demon, Lord Guy Crimson has sent me to escort you and Lady Ramiris to Valpurgis. Please, step through the gate. Rimuru, unbothered but cautious, nodded. Turning slightly, he gestured for Zijin and Diablo to follow. Rimuru, mentally to Raphael, suppress all signs of my ultimate skills. Hide them completely. I don't want anyone sniffing around my abilities, especially in a room full of these monsters. Raphael, understood, master. All ultimate skill activity will remain undetectable. Arrival at Valpurgis. As the group stepped through the portal, the air shifted into something almost suffocating. The room they entered was vast, with a gothic, sinister design. Dark stone walls flickered with eerie crimson light, and jagged obsidian pillars spiraled toward a ceiling that seemed impossibly high. The circular table at the center was massive, made of black marble streaked with veins of glowing red. It was surrounded by elaborate chairs, each designed uniquely to reflect the personality of its occupant. Rimuru, internally, whoever designed this was definitely trying to intimidate anyone stepping in for the first time. A bit dramatic, but I guess it fits the crowd. The moment Rimuru entered, the room's atmosphere grew heavier. Every pair of eyes turned toward him, scanning, measuring, and evaluating. The tension was palpable. The demon lords. The first thing Rimuru noticed was Guy Crimson, seated at the head of the table, his crimson eyes locked onto him. A sharp grin stretched across his face as his gaze bore into Rimuru's, exuding dominance. His fiery red hair seemed to ripple like flames, and his posture was as relaxed as it was intimidating. Rimuru, internally, this guy's no joke. His aura alone could crush most beings. But if he thinks he can intimidate me, he's got another thing coming. On Guy's right sat a petite girl with striking pink hair. Her wide, mischievous grin and sparkling eyes made her look innocent, but the sheer energy radiating from her screamed danger. This was Malim Nava, her energy chaotic and untamed, yet controlled with precision. Malim, via thought communication to Guy, he's here. He doesn't look scared at all. He's stronger than I thought. Guy, smirking, let's see how long he keeps that composure. On Guy's left was Draggle, a towering, muscular giant. His deep, golden eyes glowed faintly under his furrowed brow, and his sheer physical presence felt like an immovable mountain. He sat with his arms crossed, grunting in acknowledgement of Rimuru. Draggle, muttering to himself, he'd better have something impressive to show for all this commotion. Toward the other side of the table sat a golden-haired man, Leon Cromwell, whose elegant features gave him the appearance of a regal knight. His posture was perfect, but his expression was one of boredom, as though he had no interest in being there. However, his piercing eyes darted toward Rimuru occasionally, his thoughts hidden. Behind Leon stood his trusted subordinate, Claude, who observed silently. Seated opposite Leon was Lewis, dressed as a pope. His aura was calm but deceptively menacing, and his piercing gaze never left Rimuru. Behind him stood a stunning woman in a maid outfit, Luminous, whose magical count surpassed even Lewis. Luminous, thought communication to Lewis. This is the one who bested Hinata and destroyed 3 demon lords? He's either a fool or someone worth watching. Taking his seat, Rimuru maintained a neutral expression, unbothered by the intense stares. Walking calmly to the chair assigned to him, directly across from Guy Crimson, he sat down with ease. Behind him, Zijin and Diablo stood silently, their presence adding an extra layer of tension to the room. Diablo's crimson eyes gleamed with excitement as he smirked in Guy's direction. Diablo, thought communication to Zijin. How amusing. They're all so confident, yet they have no idea the kind of monster our lord truly is. Zijin, calmly they will learn soon enough. Guy's grin widened as Rimuru sat, his gaze never wavering. Rimuru, sensing the challenge, returned the stare, his golden eyes unwavering and calm. Guy, mocking, you've got guts, I'll give you that, slime. Most beings would be trembling in fear right now. Rimuru, smiling, well, I'm not most beings, am I? The tension in the room thickened, and some of the demon lords chuckled quietly. Malim, excited too. This is going to be so fun. The meeting begins. As everyone settled into their seats, a subordinate of Guy stepped forward to address the gathering. His voice was deep and resonant, carrying authority. Subordinate, this Valpurgis has been called to address the recent events that have shaken the balance of power in the world. 3 demon lords have fallen, their armies annihilated. The one responsible is present here today, Rimuru Tempest. The demon lords murmured amongst themselves, their voices a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Draggle, gruffly internally, this slime did all that? Impossible. Luminous, internally, let's hear what he has to say first. I know I'm interested. Malim, grinning, I can't wait to see what he's made of. Guy raised a hand, silencing the room. His crimson eyes locked onto Rimuru's as he spoke. Guy, Rimuru Tempest, you've caused quite the stir. 3 demon lords, an entire nation, and armies gone. So tell us, what happened, and your answer will dictate your fate. All eyes turned to Rimuru, the room silent and heavy with anticipation. Rimuru leaned back in his chair, his calm demeanor never faltering. Rimuru, smirking, well, it's a long story, but let's just say, I'm full of surprises. The room erupted into quiet murmurs once more, and the meeting had truly begun. Rimuru knew this was his moment to show the demon lords that he was more than just a slime, and he was ready for whatever came next. Rimuru then said, better show you than tell you, and then snapped his fingers, and a big crystal ball started projecting images of everything. As the crystal orb illuminated the dark room, projecting the events Rimuru had chosen to reveal, the entire chamber fell into a tense silence. The scenes played out vividly. The scheming of Yuki Kagarizaka and the moderate Harlequin alliance, the plans of Clayman, Fry, and Carrion to drag Tempest into chaos, and finally, the war itself. Every decisive moment was laid bare. The precise counterattacks by Tempest, the flawless execution of strategies, and the sheer overwhelming power Rimuru displayed in the one-sided annihilation of Clayman, Fry, and Carrion. The demon lords watched in rapt attention, their expressions revealing their shock and intrigue. Reactions around the room. Guy Crimson, ever the calm observer, smirked faintly as the events unfolded. He leaned back in his chair, his chin resting on his knuckles. Though he already knew of much of this, Malim Nava couldn't contain herself. Her eyes widened in excitement, and she leaned forward, practically bouncing in her seat. Malim, no way. You wiped out Clayman, Fry, and Carrion like they were nothing? That's so cool. Draggle crossed his massive arms, his golden eyes narrowing as he let out a low growl. Draggle, I didn't think the slime had it in him. To think those three fools were plotting such treachery serves them right. Luminous Valentine, composed as ever, glanced at Lewis, who leaned closer. Lewis, thought communication, his methods are efficient and ruthless. He's not to be underestimated. Luminous, quietly indeed. His capabilities far exceed what I expected. And his composure. Leon Cromwell, seated with an air of disinterest, found himself straightening as the battles played out. His golden eyes flickered with a faint gleam of curiosity. Leon, internally, he doesn't just have power, he has the intelligence to use it wisely. This Rimuru, he's dangerous. When the final moments of Rimuru's decisive battle with the three demon lords played out, the room fell silent once more. The projection faded, and all eyes turned to Rimuru, who sat calmly, observing their reactions. Rimuru speaks. Rimuru leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. His voice was calm, but carried a weight of authority. Rimuru, as you've seen, this wasn't something I initiated. Tempest was attacked, schemed against by those who sought to destroy what I've built. They underestimated me, and they paid the price. Let me make one thing clear. Rimuru's golden eyes sharpened as he continued. Rimuru, whoever dares to attack me or my people will pay the ultimate price. I don't show mercy to those who threaten my nation. The room remained silent for a moment, the weight of Rimuru's words pressing down on everyone. Guy Crimson speaks, breaking the silence. Guy Crimson clapped his hands together, his grin widening. Guy, impressive Rimuru, truly impressive. You've proven you're more than just a slime. Though I already suspected as much. He leaned forward slightly, his crimson eyes gleaming with excitement. Guy, now that you've defeated those three, I have to ask, are you planning to claim their seats as a demon lord in the Abyssal Lords? Rimuru nodded without hesitation. Rimuru, of course. I'm already a demon lord, and I've taken control of their territories. I see no reason not to. Guy's grin widened even further, and he was about to say something when Malim Nava suddenly jumped to her feet, her pink hair bouncing as she pointed excitedly at Rimuru. Malim, then you'll have to fight me. That's how it works. You need to prove yourself to us. The other demon lords exchanged glances, some smirking, others simply watching with interest. Rimuru, however, remained unfazed. He turned his gaze from Malim to Guy, locking eyes with him. Rimuru, if that's what it takes, then I'll face the leader of the group. That's you, isn't it, Guy? The room went silent. Every demon lord's expression shifted to one of shock, surprise, or amusement. Malim, frustrated, hey, I said you'd fight me. Before she could continue, Rimuru reached into his storage and tossed her a bottle filled with golden honey. The sweet aroma immediately caught her attention. Rimuru, here, try this first. Malim, ever the glutton for sweets, caught the bottle and took a sip. Her eyes lit up, and she completely forgot about the fight, happily savoring the honey. Malim, so good. Ramiris, give me some Malim. The challenge is accepted. Guy's grin turned into a full-blown smirk. He stood, his aura flaring slightly as the table and chairs disappeared, leaving an open arena in the center of the room. Guy, you've got guts, Rimuru. I like that. Let's see if you've got what it takes to stand against me. Rimuru stood as well, walking toward the center of the room with calm confidence. Zijin and Diablo remained behind, their expressions steady. The other demon lords quickly erected barriers to contain the fight, their excitement palpable. Leon, murmuring, this should be interesting. Luminous, smirking. Rimuru is bold. I'll give him that. Draggle, let's see if he can back it up. As Rimuru and Guy faced each other in the center of the room, the tension reached its peak. Guy's aura flared, crimson flames licking at the edges of his form. Guy, this is your chance to prove yourself, Rimuru. Don't disappoint me. Rimuru, that's my line. Guy just grinned. Rimuru's calm demeanor didn't waver. He activated his magic heal suppression, making it impossible for anyone to gauge his true strength. Rimuru's calm demeanor didn't waver. He activated his magic heal suppression, making it impossible for anyone to gauge his true strength. Rimuru, let's get this over with. The clash of titans was about to begin, and everyone in the room could feel it. This fight would mark the day the world truly acknowledged Rimuru Tempest. The world will put a respect on his name. After all the barriers erupted, the room grew eerily silent, charged with raw tension. Unbeknownst to those present, Beerus, the god of destruction, watched from a higher dimension with a bemused grin. Intrigued by the escalating tension and the sheer power displayed in the room, he decided to observe more closely. Beerus, smirking, this could be entertaining. Let's see if this slime can stand up to Guy Crimson. Zerna, his wife, are they really going to fight? This Rimuru guy looks so smaller compared to Guy. Beerus, don't underestimate him. Power isn't always about size. I've got a feeling this one's special. Rimuru, internally, record everything and broadcast it. Let the entire world see this. Raphael, understood, my lord. The room grew silent as Guy Crimson grinned, his crimson eyes locking onto Rimuru. Without warning, he moved. Faster than the speed of sound, he closed the distance between them in an instant, his fist aimed directly at Rimuru's face. Rimuru, prepared for such an attack, deflected the strike with the back of his hand, the shockwave from the clash rippling through the room. Guy's onslaught continued, each strike a masterful display of martial arts that showcased his millennia of experience. Rimuru countered each one with fluid movements, a combination of the countless martial arts techniques he had mastered over time. The two exchanged blows so quickly that to the untrained eye, it seemed as if they had vanished entirely. Only the sound of their strikes and the shockwaves they generated betrayed their positions. Draggle, watching intently, he's matching Guy in close combat. That's not something I ever thought I'd see. The fight became a whirlwind of martial arts mastery. Each movement from Guy carried the weight of millennia of combat experience, while Rimuru's fluid counters showcased his ability to learn, adapt, and innovate in real time. Every clash of fists, elbows, and knees sent shockwaves reverberating through the dimension. Leon Cromwell, he's not just matching him, he's adapting. Look at his movements. They're becoming sharper, more precise. He's learning from Guy as they fight. Luminous Valentine, narrowing her eyes, he's dangerous. Hinata was lucky to survive her encounter with him. Realizing Rimuru was holding his own in close combat, Guy smirked. Guy, not bad. But let's see how you handle this. The air around Guy shimmered as he began to weave dark magic. His napalm burst, a searing wave of fire, engulfed the battlefield. The heat was so intense that even the other demon lords flinched. Malim Nava, excitedly, he's serious now. Rimuru, better be ready. But Rimuru didn't falter. He activated Beelzebub, devouring the flames entirely. Rimuru, calmly, you'll have to do better than that, Guy. In response, Rimuru unleashed a barrage of his own magic, spatial distortions that twisted and turned the battlefield into a chaotic maze of deadly attacks. Spheres of destruction and beams of light erupted from every angle, cornering Guy. Leon Cromwell, stunned, he's controlling the battlefield itself. How is this even possible? Diablo, smirking, because Rimuru-sama is perfection incarnate. Watch closely. This is only the beginning. Meanwhile, in Tempest, the broadcast had begun. The crystal orbs projected the battle into every corner of the world, be it Celestra, Tempest, Holy Empire Rubrios, Dworgen, Sarion, Inglesia, Eurazania, or even the mysterious Forgotten Dragon Country. Entire cities came to a halt as people gathered to witness the clash of titans. King Gazel Dworgen, this is beyond comprehension. This is the power of a true demon lord. Elalud Grimwald, Sarion. And to think, we tried to negotiate with him as if he were an equal. Even the Forgotten Dragon Country, shrouded in mystery, was watching. Ancient dragons murmured among themselves, their respect for Rimuru growing. The battle raged on, with neither side gaining a clear upper hand. Rimuru, however, was constantly analyzing Guy's fighting style, thanks to Raphael's assistance. Raphael, analyzing target, optimizing countermeasures. Rimuru created a body double mid-battle, using it to flank Guy while his main body continued the frontal assault. The double landed a devastating blow to Guy's side, sending him flying into the barriers. A deafening crack echoed through the room as the barriers began to fracture. Malim Nava, excited he cracked the barrier. This is amazing. Beerus, raising an eyebrow. He's forcing Guy to take him seriously. Interesting. Without alerting anyone, Beerus reinforced the barriers around the room, ensuring that the battle about to unfold wouldn't spill over into the world outside. Guy, grinning impressive. You're full of surprises. Rimuru, smirking, you haven't seen anything yet. With a flick of his hand, Rimuru unleashed a torrent of magic in return, spells imbued with both demonic and holy energy. The room lit up in a dazzling display of light and darkness as the two demon lords clashed with their respective magics, each spell colliding in explosive bursts that shook the barriers around them. Back in Tempest, the Kijin generals, Benimaru, Shion, Sui, and Hakuru, were glued to the projection. Benimaru, I knew Rimuru-sama was powerful, but this is beyond anything I've ever seen. Shion, gripping her sword, Rimuru-sama is incredible, but he better not get hurt, or I'll never forgive that guy. Hakuru, observe closely. Every move Rimuru-sama makes is a masterclass in combat. He's adapting to Guy Crimson in real time. The sheer speed of the fight left the weaker viewers unable to follow. For them, it was a blur of light and sound, punctuated by deafening shockwaves that shook the entire space. Each strike sent ripples through the dimension, and the barriers groaned under the force. Beerus, leaning forward, not bad for a mortal. He's matching Guy impressive. With the battlefield trembling under their magic, Guy summoned his god-grade sword, a weapon forged by Veldanava himself. Its crimson blade radiated destructive energy. Guy, enough games. Let's finish this properly. Rimuru, unshaken, summoned his moonlight edge, its radiant glow a perfect counter to Guy's darkness. The two clashed, their swords ringing out like thunder. Each strike split the air, sending shockwaves that shook even Beerus' reinforced barriers. Their swordsmanship was a masterpiece, a deadly dance of skill and precision. Raphael, analyzing Guy Crimson's sword techniques, integrating and adapting. Rimuru's movements began to mirror Guy's, and then surpass them. He weaved his own techniques with Guy's, creating a fluid and unpredictable style that kept even the oldest demon lord on edge. Draggle, Guy's not holding back. Rimuru will regret provoking him. Luminous Valentine, narrowing her eyes, look closer. Guy is not holding back and Rimuru isn't just defending. He's matching Guy's movements perfectly. Malim Nava, wide-eyed, he's learning from Guy mid-fight. That's insane. Beerus, who heard Malim through the projection, smirking, it's not insane. It's brilliance. This Rimuru, he's a true combat genius. Guy was using his Lucifer, Lord of Pride, pushing his power to its absolute limit. Rimuru, in response, unleashed the full potential of Omni-Evolution, his presence eclipsing even Guy's for a brief moment. The climax. The fight reached its peak as both combatants prepared their ultimate moves. Rimuru activated a new technique, Thousand Blades Moon Style, a dazzling combination of sword strikes imbued with holy magic. The attack created a radiant display of light and energy that seemed impossible to avoid. Luminous Valentine, stunned holy magic? How is he using that? Guy, realizing the danger, unleashed his strongest magic, Death Streak, a devastating dark spell meant to annihilate everything in its path. Guy, let's end this. Rimuru, agreed. The two attacks collided, creating an explosion so massive that the barriers barely held. The shockwave rippled across the world, causing tremors felt by every nation. As the smoke cleared, Rimuru and Guy stood 100 feet apart, their bodies battered but quickly healing. Guy let out a laugh, his grin wide. Guy, I haven't had a fight like that in a very long. You've proven yourself, Rimuru. Welcome to the Abyssal Lords. The room returned to its original state as the demon lords settled back into their seats, their respect for Rimuru now undeniable. Across the world, leaders and citizens alike realized one thing. Put some respect on Rimuru Tempest's name. The silence that followed the titanic clash between Rimuru Tempest and Guy Crimson was deafening. The air in the grand chamber was heavy with lingering magicules, faint echoes of their devastating techniques still resonating within the now restored space. The demon lords, their subordinates, and the spectating world stood in stunned silence, the reality of what they had witnessed sinking in. Rimuru straightened himself, brushing some dust off his coat, his expression calm but his eyes sharp. Across from him, Guy Crimson smirked, wiping a thin trail of blood from the corner of his mouth. Guy, grinning, I haven't had a fight like that in centuries. You've exceeded all my expectations, Rimuru. Rimuru gave a slight smile. Rimuru, calmly, I told you I'm no pushover. Still, I have to admit, you're on a completely different level. Guy, laughing, don't sell yourself short. You've proven yourself today, and I doubt anyone in this room would dare challenge you after that. Guy turned to the rest of the demon lords, his voice booming with authority. Guy, now then, does anyone object to Rimuru joining the ranks of the Abyssal Lords? The room was silent. Not even a murmur of protest rose from the gathered demon lords. Leon Cromwell, who had initially dismissed Rimuru as a fledgling demon lord, now watched him with cautious respect. Luminous Valentine kept her composure, though her gaze lingered on Rimuru. Draggle nodded approvingly, his massive form radiating quiet acknowledgement. Malim Nava, beaming, of course no one objects. Did you see that fight? Rimuru is amazing. Guy, good. Then it's settled. Rimuru, you'll take your rightful place among us. But, he smirked mischievously. Every Abyssal Lord needs a title. What will yours be? Rimuru tilted his head, tapping his chin in thought. After a moment, he smirked. Rimuru, I'll choose my own title, the Unchained Fury. The room fell silent for a moment as everyone processed the name. Then Malim, who had been vibrating with excitement, exploded in enthusiasm. Malim, jumping up and down, that is so cool. Rimuru, you've got the best title. Leon Cromwell, crossing his arms, it's fitting, I suppose. After all, you've proven you're a force no one can hope to chain. Draggle, nodding, a strong title for a strong lord. Luminous, murmuring, a slight blush on her face, it suits him. Guy, laughing, then it's settled. From this day forward, Rimuru Tempest shall be known as the Unchained Fury. Guy gestured for one of his attendants to announce the group and their members, a refined demon clad in dark robes, to step forward. The demon bowed and began to announce the titles of the Abyssal Lords with a commanding voice. The Abyssal Lords as of today are as follows. Guy Crimson, the Lord of Darkness. Malim Nava, the Destroyer. Ramiris, the Queen of the Labyrinth. Draggle, the quiet giant. Luminous Valentine, the queen of nightmares. Leon Cromwell, the platinum saber. Rimuru Tempest, the unchained fury. The demon them teleported away to announce the news to the world. The pronouncement felt like the closing of a monumental chapter in history. The Abyssal Lords now included Rimuru, a being who had reshaped the world's power structure in a matter of months. Guy stood, his presence commanding as always, and declared, with that, Valpurgis is now concluded. He clapped his hands, signaling his maids and butlers to bring out food and drink. The tension in the air finally dissipated as the demon lords began to relax. Guy, grinning, now let's celebrate. It's not every day we witness something this extraordinary. Malim, excitedly, Rimuru, I'm coming to visit you soon. We still need to have our fight. Rimuru, smiling, looking forward to it. Malim, though maybe we can have a friendly visit instead? Malim pouted but nodded, already plotting her next visit. As the other demon lords mingled and enjoyed the feast, Rimuru made his way toward Luminous Valentine, who had been sitting quietly, sipping from a delicate glass of wine. She noticed his approach and immediately stiffened, a faint blush rising to her cheeks. Rimuru, you know, that maid disguise doesn't really suit someone as regal as you. Luminous nearly choked on her wine, her crimson eyes widening in surprise. Luminous, stammering, I don't know what you're talking about. I was merely observing from the sidelines. Rimuru chuckled and stepped closer, his golden eyes locking onto hers. Rimuru, softly, you don't have to hide. Luminous, you're far too stunning to blend into the background. Luminous' face turned scarlet, and she quickly turned away, trying to regain her composure. Luminous, murmuring, why do you insist on teasing me like this? Rimuru gently tilted her chin back toward him, his touch light but firm. Rimuru, teasing? No, I'm just being honest. You have beautiful eyes, Luminous. Her heart raced, her usual composure shattered by his words. She quickly pulled back, attempting to mask her flustered state with a haughty expression. Luminous, blushing you. You're impossible. Luminous, completely flustered, finally snapped out of her disguise. Her maid outfit melted away, revealing her elegant dress. She composed herself and turned to Lewis, who had been lingering nearby. Luminous, Lewis, return to the Empire. I'll stay here for a bit longer. Lewis, bowing as you wish, my lady. As Lewis departed, Rimuru and Luminous continued their conversation. Rimuru smiled warmly, deciding to ease up. Rimuru, I'll take that as a compliment. But on a serious note, about Hinata. Luminous sighed, finally regaining some of her poise. Luminous, she's reckless, but loyal. I owe you for sparing her. Rimuru, let's just say I saw some potential in her. Besides, she's your knight, isn't she? She deserves a second chance. The two shared a moment of understanding. Their conversation soon shifted to discussions of a potential alliance, with both agreeing to meet again in the near future to solidify their plans. While Rimuru and Luminous spoke, Diablo was busy extolling Rimuru's virtues to anyone who would listen. Diablo, dramatically, Rimuru-sama's brilliance knows no bounds. Did you see how effortlessly he adapted to Guy Crimson's attacks? Truly, he is unmatched. Guy, groaning, will someone shut him up? Zijin, calmly, not possible. He's like this all the time. The demon lords couldn't help but laugh at Diablo's antics, even as they quietly acknowledged the truth in his words. The world reacts. The videos and announcements of Rimuru's ascension spread rapidly across the globe. Leaders of every nation scrambled to understand the implications. Elalud Grimwald, Sarion, we must strengthen our alliance with Tempest immediately. Rimuru Tempest is better as an ally than an enemy. Gazel Dwargo, Dworgen, a new era has begun. Tempest is now a cornerstone of this world's balance. That's my junior for you. In the holy empire of Rubrios, priests knelt in prayer, begging to their gods, Luminous, to keep Rimuru's wrath at bay. When Rimuru returned to Tempest, the entire city erupted in celebration. Citizens lined the streets, cheering and chanting his name. Citizens of Tempest, Rimuru-sama, welcome home. Ramiris, smirking, I think I'll stay here a bit longer. The Dryads need me. The celebration lasted long into the night, with music, dancing, and endless praise for their beloved leader. Rimuru stood at the heart of it all, surrounded by his loyal subordinates and friends. Rimuru, smiling, this is what I fight for. In that moment, Rimuru felt the weight of his journey, but also the strength of the bonds he had forged. He was no longer just a leader or a demon lord. He was a symbol of hope, strength, and unity. The Western Saints Church had fallen into utter disarray. The moment the reports of Storm Dragon Veldora's revival surfaced, panic swept through the halls of the Grand Cathedral in Rubrios. The church's upper echelons, already on edge due to their failed subjugation attempt against Rimuru Tempest, now faced an even greater calamity. News of Rimuru's battle with Guy Crimson during Valpurgis had reached them as well, shocking even the most devout. Rimuru wasn't just a demon lord anymore. He had ascended to the ranks of the Abyssal Lords, the most fearsome beings in existence. Even more terrifying was the fact that Rimuru had fought Guy Crimson, the Lord of Darkness, in a duel witnessed by the entire council of demon lords. Now titled the Unchained Fury, Rimuru's strength was unmatched, and his status as an unstoppable force was undeniable. Amid the chaos in the church, Hinata Sakaguchi, the Knight Commander, was summoned by none other than Luminous Valentine, the true ruler of the holy empire of Rubrios and one of the Abyssal Lords herself. Luminous warning to Hinata after Valpurgis. Hinata knelt before Luminous in her private chambers, her head lowered. Though she was known for her unwavering confidence and cold demeanor, she couldn't help but feel small under the gaze of the ancient vampire. Luminous, calm but firm, Hinata, you have made a grave mistake. Hinata's eyes widened slightly, but she remained silent. She knew exactly what Luminous was referring to. Luminous, you attacked Rimuru Tempest, didn't you? Hinata clenched her fists, the humiliation of that battle still fresh in her mind. Hinata, quietly, yes. I underestimated him. Luminous let out a soft, bitter laugh, shaking her head. Luminous, underestimated? Hinata, you didn't just underestimate him. You jeopardized the entire church with your recklessness. Do you have any idea how strong he is now? Hinata looked up, meeting Luminous' piercing gaze. Luminous, coldly, Rimuru is stronger than all of us. Stronger than me. He is as strong as Guy Crimson. He has ascended to a realm beyond anything we could hope to challenge. The weight of those words crushed Hinata's pride. She had always seen herself as humanity's greatest shield, the strongest warrior of the Western Saints Church. To hear that Rimuru now stood at the same level as the leader of the Abyssal Lords was almost too much to bear. Hinata, stiffly, he spared me during our last battle. Luminous, narrowing her eyes, of course, he did. Because he could afford to. You were no threat to him. Hinata, and that's the only reason you're still alive. Luminous leaned forward, her tone sharp and unyielding. Luminous, listen carefully. You will not antagonize Rimuru again. At no cost. Do you understand me? If you ever act against him again, even I won't be able to save you. Hinata's pride bristled at those words, but she knew better than to argue. Hinata, quietly, but he's still a monster. How can we trust him? Luminous, he's a monster, yes, but one who values peace. He's far more rational than most of us Abyssal Lords. He spared you. He spared the church's forces, and he has never attacked without provocation. Do not mistake that mercy for weakness, Hinata. If you push him too far, he won't hesitate to annihilate us. Hinata remained silent, her mind racing. Luminous, softening her tone. I know it's difficult for you to accept, but you must. Rimuru Tempest isn't just a monster anymore. He's a force of nature. And if you value the lives of those under your command, you'll heed my warning. Hinata's memories of her defeat. As Hinata left the luminous chambers, her mind drifted back to her battle with Rimuru. She had been so confident, so sure of her victory. Armed with her holy spirit armor and her sword Dead End Rainbow, she had thought herself invincible. But Rimuru had dismantled her. Every strike, every spell, every maneuver had been effortlessly countered. His movements were fluid, his techniques flawless. She hadn't just lost, she had been humiliated, beaten down like a child playing at war. And he spanked her. Who does that? She remembered the look in his eyes as he disarmed her, the calm yet stern expression that seemed to pity her. Rimuru, in her memory, you're strong, Hinata, but not strong enough. Not against me. The words still stung, not because they were cruel, but because they were true. Now, standing alone in her quarters, Hinata clenched her fists. Hinata, thinking Luminous is right. I can't let my pride dictate my actions anymore. Rimuru spared me once, but if I cross him again, the thought of Rimuru's power made her shudder. She had always prided herself on her strength, but she couldn't deny the truth any longer. Rimuru Tempest had surpassed her in every way, but there was something else, too, something that lingered in her mind. Rimuru's words during their battle, his insistence on coexistence, his refusal to kill her despite having every opportunity to do so. Was it possible that he truly desired peace? Hinata, thinking he's strong, yes, but could he really be trusted? Could a monster like him truly seek coexistence with humanity? She didn't have the answers, but one thing was certain. She couldn't afford to act recklessly again. Back in the Grand Cathedral, the church's leadership continued their heated debate. Some argued for a preemptive strike against Rimuru, while others called for diplomacy. Cardinal Nicolaus, we cannot sit idly by. If we do nothing, Rimuru will continue to grow stronger, and soon he'll be unstoppable. Bishop Lucas, he already is unstoppable. Do you not understand? He almost defeated Guy Crimson. If we provoke him, he'll wipe us off the map. Hinata entered the room, silencing the arguments with her presence. Hinata, coldly enough. Rimuru is not our enemy, not yet. The cardinals and bishops looked at her in shock. Cardinal Nicolaus, Commander Hinata, surely you don't mean. Hinata, interrupting, I mean exactly what I said. Rimuru has made it clear he desires peace. For now, we will observe. If we provoke him, it will mean the end of the church. Her words left no room for argument. Though the leaders of the church were uneasy, they knew better than to question Hinata's judgment. Beyond the church, the world was abuzz with the news of Rimuru's ascension. Nations scrambled to gather information on Tempest, seeking alliances or preparing for war. The name Rimuru Tempest now carried the weight of a god, a being who could rival and even surpass the greatest of the abyssal lords. And as Hinata prepared for what lay ahead, she couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. Rimuru Tempest was no longer just a monster or even a demon lord. He was a legend, a force of nature that could reshape the world as he saw fit. Hinata, thinking for the sake of humanity, I must tread carefully. Rimuru Tempest isn't someone we can afford to make an enemy. The seven luminaries, the shadowy figures operating behind the scenes of the Western Church, had long been the true masterminds of its political and military strategies. Each of them held their own ambitions, and though they outwardly served Luminous Valentine, they despised Hinata. MD felt like because of her, they were losing control of the church and being favored by Luminous, the ancient vampire who ruled Rubrios from the shadows. For centuries, they had bided their time, waiting for an opportunity to get rid of Hinata and assert control over the church. When the reports of Rimuru Tempest's ascension reached them, the luminaries saw a perfect opportunity to set their plans into motion. The news that Rimuru had fought Guy Crimson and ascended as an abyssal lord sent shockwaves through the church. To the luminaries, however, it was a chance to eliminate two obstacles: Hinata Sakaguchi, the church's strongest knight, and Rimuru himself, the ever-growing threat who had humiliated the church with his survival. The luminaries gathered in a secret chamber beneath the Grand Cathedral, their faces concealed by hooded robes. A large circular table sat in the center of the room, lit by an eerie blue flame that flickered in an ornate brazier. Luminary Argus, smirking, the revival of Storm Dragon Veldora, the ascension of Rimuru Tempest, and the failure of the subjugation team. The church is in chaos, and Luminous is too distracted to notice our movements. Luminary Selena, calmly. And yet, she seems to have taken Rimuru's side. That vampire warned Hinata not to antagonize him. A shame, really. Hinata would have been the perfect weapon to use against him. Luminary Kane, coldly, she still is. Hinata is proud, stubborn, and far too trusting in her strength. If we play this carefully, we can manipulate her into doing exactly what we want. The others nodded, their collective minds already spinning the web of deceit. Luminary Selena, we need her to believe Rimuru is challenging her directly. Her pride won't allow her to back down. If she thinks he's calling her for a duel, she'll bring her strongest knights with her. The 10 great saints, perhaps 100 of her holy order. Luminary Argus, grinning, and when she inevitably loses, Rimuru will be forced to act. The chaos will allow us to move freely. But why stop there? After her defeat, we'll eliminate Hinata ourselves and blame her actions for provoking the monster. Luminary Kane, the church's loyalists will believe she acted against luminous orders. Her death will be a convenient excuse to tighten our grip on the church's leadership. The plan was insidious. By pitting Hinata against Rimuru, the luminaries aimed to spark a conflict that would weaken all sides. In the ensuing chaos, they would seize power, eliminate their enemies, and consolidate control over the church. Deep within their hidden lair, the seven luminaries gathered around a glowing crystal. Luminary, smirking, will lure Hinata into a trap of her own pride. A forged message, made to appear as though it came from Rimuru, will spark her into action. Once she's baited into challenging him, her fall will be inevitable. Using advanced illusion magic and intricate craftsmanship, they created a crystal ball that displayed an illusory version of Rimuru. The forged message emanated Rimuru's exact aura, making it nearly impossible for anyone to detect the forgery. The illusion of Rimuru within the crystal ball spoke with cold arrogance. Hinata Sakaguchi, the so-called strongest human. Your defeat last time was pathetic. I challenge you once again to prove your worth. Come to Tempest with your knights. Let us settle this for good. The luminaries sent the crystal ball to Hinata, ensuring it reached her under the guise of an urgent messenger. Hinata, seated at the head of a long table in the Grand Cathedral strategy room, held the crystal ball in her hands. The 10 great saints surrounded her, their expressions a mix of concern and determination as the illusory message played for them. Hinata, grimly, it seems Rimuru is mocking us again. He's challenging our honor as the church's protectors. Arno, furrowing his brows, Commander, this doesn't sound like the Rimuru we've heard about. Are we certain this isn't some kind of trick? Rahim, nodding in agreement. We can't rule out the possibility of a trap, but can we truly ignore such a blatant provocation? Guard, actually ours, one of the seven luminaries, disguised Commander, Rimuru has shown his arrogance before. He humiliated us in our last encounter. If we hesitate now, the church's authority will crumble. Hinata's pride burned as she recalled her previous battle with Rimuru, where he effortlessly defeated her, leaving her humiliated and powerless. Her fists clenched, and she resolved to confront him. Hinata, we cannot back down. If Rimuru thinks he can mock us, we'll prove him wrong. Prepare the 10 great saints and a battalion of holy knights. We march for Tempest. The luminaries, watching from the shadows, exchanged knowing glances. Their plan was unfolding perfectly. During the meeting, Gord appeared with two of the luminaries, carrying an ornate box. Gord, calmly, Commander Hinata, before you march to Tempest, we offer you a weapon worthy of this battle. This is the Dragon Buster, a blade crafted specifically to slay the strongest monsters. With this sword, even the mighty Rimuru Tempest will fall before you. Gord opened the box, revealing a blade that radiated an ominous, otherworldly aura. Its hilt was engraved with ancient runes, and the blade shimmered with a dark, pulsing energy. Gord, smiling, this sword will amplify your strength tenfold. With it, victory is assured. Hinata hesitated for a moment, feeling an unusual unease from the weapon, but her resolve to restore the church's honor overpowered her doubts, and she she accepted the blade. What Hinata didn't know was that the Dragon Buster was rigged with powerful enchantments, allowing the luminaries to control it remotely. They planned to use the sword to manipulate the battle, ensuring her or Rimuru defeat at the critical moment. To solidify their scheme, the luminaries replaced Guard, one of the 10 great saints, with Ars, a master of illusion and disguise. Ars assassinated Guard in secret, assuming his identity flawlessly. As Guard, Ars subtly influenced the discussions among the saints, stoking their distrust of Rimuru and pushing them toward confrontation. With Ars' manipulations, the 10 great saints unanimously supported the decision to confront Rimuru. Hinata, now armed with the Dragon Buster and leading the 10 great saints and 100 holy knights, set out for Tempest. The luminaries watched from the shadows, their plan unfolding perfectly. The path to Tempest was filled with tension and uncertainty. Hinata's mind was clouded with doubts, but her pride and determination pushed her forward. Unbeknownst to her, Rimuru had already sensed the coming confrontation and prepared accordingly. The stage was set for a battle that would shake the foundations of the Western Saints Church and reveal the true schemers lurking behind the scenes. The nation of Tempest was flourishing, but Rimuru Tempest wasn't one to grow complacent. He had seen enough of the world to know that peace could be fleeting, especially with enemies lurking in the shadows. Tempest had undergone tremendous changes in recent months. Magical orbs, scattered across the country, monitored every person entering or leaving. These orbs, powered by Rimuru's immense magic, served as an advanced surveillance network capable of identifying threats instantly. Meanwhile, Reincarnated, ever the diligent worker when motivated by snacks or praise, had started constructing a 100-floor labyrinth similar to the one in Celestra. This labyrinth was meant to serve as both a training ground and a defense mechanism, filled with traps and monsters loyal to Tempest. Reincarnated, proudly, when this labyrinth is done, no one will dare mess with us. Just wait, Rimuru, it'll be my masterpiece. Rimuru, smiling, I trust you, Reincarnated. Just don't slack off too much, okay? Reincarnated, pouting, you're so mean, Rimuru. I never slack off? Well, maybe a little. Unknown to the rest of the world, Rimuru had dispatched an intricate network of spies to other countries. These weren't ordinary spies, but miniaturized parts of his body, small enough to go undetected by even the most advanced magical senses. Some spies resembled the surveillance orbs, while others took on completely unique forms. These spies allowed Rimuru to monitor foreign nations and their activities. He never shared this information, even with his closest allies, knowing that secrecy was key to Tempest's survival. Rimuru, to himself, I won't let anyone catch us off guard. If they want to scheme, they'll find out Tempest isn't so easily fooled. In a rare moment of peace, Rimuru and Raphael focused their efforts on reviving Shizu. Her soul had been carefully stabilized over time, and Rimuru had infused her with Fiamma, a powerful fire spirit he obtained during his journey. The spirit fused with Shizu perfectly, accepting her as its vessel. After hours of careful work, Shizu's body was restored, and she now lay peacefully in Rimuru's imaginary space. Raphael, Master, her condition is stable. I suggest letting her rest for 24 hours before allowing her to awaken. Rimuru, relieved, thank you, Raphael. I can't believe it. Shizu will finally be able to live again. He smiled warmly, imagining the reunion they would soon have, but his thoughts were interrupted by an urgent report. A scout reported that Hinata Sakaguchi and 100 holy knights were marching toward Tempest. Rimuru's smile vanished, replaced by a look of disbelief. Rimuru, shocked Hinata? Again? Didn't she learn her lesson last time? And with just 100 knights? Is she serious? He remembered how easily he had overpowered her during their last encounter. More importantly, after his battle with Guy Crimson at Valpurgis, Rimuru knew his strength was now far beyond anything Hinata could handle. Rimuru, I don't understand. Is she that reckless? Or is someone pulling the strings? Rimuru called a meeting with his generals to discuss how to handle the situation. Benimaru, Cheyenne, Zijin, Diablo, and the other key members of Tempest's leadership gathered in the war room. Rimuru, Hinata is coming with 100 knights. This isn't a full-scale invasion, but it's clearly hostile. We need to deal with it, but I won't be fighting this time. Cheyenne, confused, you're not fighting, Rimuru-sama? Why not? She dared to come back after last time. Let me handle her. Benimaru, calmly, Rimuru-sama doesn't need to dirty his hands with this. Besides, it's a good opportunity to showcase the strength of our armies. Rimuru, exactly. Zijin, you'll take on Hinata. The rest of the knights will be split between Cheyenne's and Benimaru's armies. The generals won't step in unless absolutely necessary. This is a chance to show them that Tempest is no joke. Zijin, bowing, as you command, my lord. She won't pose a challenge. Cheyenne, grinning, my squad will crush those knights before they even realize what hit them. Benimaru, just don't get too reckless, Cheyenne. We're not here to destroy them completely. A decisive victory will be enough to send a message. The plan was to intercept Hinata and her knights several miles before they could enter Tempest, in a vast open area that would allow Tempest's forces to maneuver easily. As Hinata and her knights marched toward Tempest, tension filled the air. The 10 great saints surrounded her, each one fully armed and ready for battle. Rahim, concerned, Commander, are we certain this isn't a trap? Rimuru's power is far beyond anything we've faced before. Hinata, coldly, it doesn't matter. I won't allow him to mock us. The church's honor is at stake. Hinata carried the Dragon Buster, the blade given to her by Grot and the 7 luminaries. She felt its immense power, unaware of the sinister control embedded within it. Ars, disguised as Guard, with the Dragon Buster, you'll be able to match Rimuru's strength. We cannot fail, Commander. Though confident on the surface, Hinata couldn't shake the unease growing in her heart. Her instincts screamed that something was wrong, but her pride and determination to restore the church's honor silenced those doubts. As the Cheyenne and Benimaru armies prepared for battle, the soldiers were eager to prove themselves. Cheyenne, to her troops, listen up. These knights think they can walk into Tempest and challenge us. Show them what happens when you mess with Rimuru-sama. Benimaru, to his troops, focus on precision and discipline. We're here to send a message, not to cause unnecessary bloodshed. Remember, the world is watching. The soldiers cheered, ready to defend their homeland and prove their loyalty to Rimuru. As Hinata's forces approached the open field where Tempest's armies waited, Rimuru watched from afar, hidden within his surveillance network. Rimuru, to himself, let's see how far this scheme goes and who's really behind it. The stage was set for a clash that would reveal the truth behind the luminary schemes and showcase the might of Tempest. The knights arrive, the battle begins. After hours of marching, Hinata Sakaguchi and her knights reached the vast plains just before Tempest. The terrain was unnaturally quiet, but the tension was palpable. Knight Commander Leonard, Commander, the area feels wrong. I don't like this. Hinata, calmly, stay sharp. It's obvious they're waiting for us. Don't let your guard down. The moment the knights set foot in the field, magic circles hidden in the ground glowed to life, and spells began raining down on them from all directions. Explosions of fire and lightning erupted around them, scattering the formation. Holy Knight Rina, panicked, ambush. They've surrounded us. Before the knights could regroup, Cheyenne's army charged forward. Unlike the Holy Knights, Tempest's warriors moved with terrifying precision. Each unit coordinated their strikes, overwhelming the knights with relentless attacks. Cheyenne, leading the charge, let's show these fools what happens when they dare challenge Tempest. Attack with everything you've got. Her black steel halberd swung in wide arcs, cutting through shields and knocking knights to the ground with bone-crushing force. Cheyenne's soldiers, imbued with magical enhancements, were nearly unkillable. Swords bounced off their enchanted armor, and even direct strikes didn't seem to faze them. Why Cheyenne? You were not supposed to fight, Sai? Knight Commander Fritz. What are these soldiers? They're not human. The Holy Knights fought valiantly, their holy arts glowing with sacred energy as they tried to push back the onslaught. But Cheyenne's army was like an unrelenting tide. Just as the knights began to recover from the initial ambush, Benimaru's army entered the fray from the opposite side. Benimaru, smirking, now it's our turn. Take them down. Benemuru's forces attacked with a mix of magic and physical strikes. Fiery explosions erupted in the middle of the Knights' formation, and precise sword strikes disarmed or incapacitated those who tried to fight back. The Knights, despite their superior training, were quickly overwhelmed by Tempest's superior strategy and overwhelming strength. Holy Knight Arno, to Hinata, Commander, we need your help. We can't hold them off. Hinata versus Zijin. Hinata was about to jump into the fray when a figure appeared in front of her, blocking her path. It was Zijin, his insect-like exoskeleton gleaming in the sunlight. Zijin, calmly, you will not interfere. Your fight is with me. Hinata's eyes narrowed. She could sense his power. It was immense, possibly even greater than her own. Hinata, very well. If you think you can stop me, I'll show you why I'm the leader of the great saints. The two clashed in an instant, their movements so fast that even the most skilled knights could barely follow. Hinata's sword, Dead End Rainbow, glowed with holy energy as she unleashed a flurry of precise strikes aimed at Zijin's vital points. Her mastery of the sword was unparalleled, and her attacks were swift and lethal. But Zijin was equally formidable. His exoskeleton absorbed her strikes with ease, and his speed allowed him to dodge her most dangerous attacks. Zijin, you're strong, but you lack the power to defeat me. He retaliated with a series of heavy blows, each one sending shockwaves through the ground. Hinata blocked as best as she could, but the sheer force of his attacks pushed her back. The battle rages on. Meanwhile, the knights were struggling against Cheyenne's and Benemuru's armies. Holy Knight Leonard, frustrated, why won't they fall? Our attacks aren't working. Cheyenne, laughing, you'll have to do better than that. My army is made of warriors who won't lose to mere knights. The knights tried to regroup, but Tempest's forces didn't give them a chance. Spells bombarded them from afar, and melee units relentlessly cut through their lines. Benemuru, to his soldiers, focus on breaking their formation. Take out their leaders first. The battle was chaotic, with magic and swords clashing everywhere. The knights were brave, but they were outmatched. Hinata's last stand against Zijin. Back at the duel, Hinata was beginning to falter. She had used several of her most powerful techniques, but Zijin remained unfazed. Hinata, gritting her teeth, I'm not done yet. She poured all her energy into a final attack, activating her most powerful move, Melt Slash. Her blade glowed with an intense holy light as she unleashed a series of coordinated slashes, each one capable of cutting through even the toughest defenses. One of her strikes hit Zijin directly, blowing away the entire left side of his body. Hinata, panting, it's over. But her relief was short-lived. The injured, Zijin suddenly vanished, and a cold voice spoke behind her. Zijin, calmly, an impressive attack, but it was all an illusion. Before Hinata could react, Zijin struck her with a precise blow to the back of her neck, knocking her unconscious. The end of the knights. With Hinata defeated, the knights' morale crumbled. One by one, they were incapacitated by Tempest's forces. The battlefield grew quiet as the last of the knights fell. Rimuru's entrance. As the dust settled, Rimuru made his grand entrance, descending from the sky in his human form. His calm expression and faint smile sent chills down the spines of the defeated knights. Rimuru, ants like you dare attack Tempest? Did you really think you could win? Before he could continue, a circle of light surrounded him and Hinata. The 7 luminaries appeared, chanting a powerful spell. Grot, you're finished, Rimuru. You're an enemy of the church, and now the world will see you for the monster you are. Rimuru, raising an eyebrow. So you're the ones behind this. You manipulated Hinata and sent her here to die. Also, you could pin the blame on me. Grot, smirking exactly. With you and Hinata gone, the church will declare war on Tempest, and Luminous will have no choice but to support us. The 7 luminaries activated their spell, a massive disintegration attack designed to obliterate any monster. A blinding light engulfed Rimuru, and the luminaries began to celebrate. Grot, it's over. Not even you can survive that. As the light faded, Rimuru stood unharmed, a faint smile still on his face. Rimuru, is that it? I expected more. The luminaries were stunned. Grot, panicking impossible. How did you survive? In desperation, one of the luminaries used their control over the Dragon Buster sword, sending it flying toward Rimuru. The blade pierced his chest, and the luminaries cheered again. But Rimuru's body vanished, revealing it was only a decoy. The real Rimuru appeared behind them, binding them with his steel threads. Luminous appears. Rimuru, calmly. All right, Luminous. You've been watching, haven't you? It's time to deal with your people. A massive, ornate door appeared, and Luminous Valentine stepped out, her presence radiating power. The luminaries, realizing their doom, began to plead for mercy. Grot, Lady Luminous, we did this for you. We wanted to protect the church. Luminous, coldly silence. Your schemes have brought shame to my name and nearly destroyed everything I've worked for. You will pay for this. With a wave of her hand, she unleashed a devastating spell, obliterating the luminaries in an instant. Luminous, to Rimuru, I apologize for their foolishness, Rimuru. I hope this won't affect our understanding. Rimuru, smiling, we're fine, Luminous. Just keep your people in check next time. The battle was over, but its consequences would echo throughout the world. Tempest had once again proven its strength, and Rimuru's name would strike fear into the hearts of those who dared oppose him. After the fight, Rimuru invited them to Tempest. With Hinata still unconscious, Rimuru effortlessly carried her in a princess carry, walking ahead of the 10 great saints and Luminous Valentine. The knights who followed were silent, their minds still reeling from everything they had witnessed. Holy Knight Arno, whispering, I can't believe we've been worshipping a demon lord this entire time. What else has been a lie? Holy Knight Leonard, forget that. Look at him. He's carrying Commander Hinata like she is his wife. As they entered Tempest, the knights froze in their tracks. They had expected a dark, gloomy place filled with terrifying monsters. Instead, they were greeted by a bustling city filled with beautifully paved streets, colorful buildings, and friendly citizens, both human and monster. Holy Knight Rena, this is Tempest. The streets were lined with shops, food stalls, and laughter. Monsters and humans worked together seamlessly, creating an atmosphere that was lively and welcoming. Even the air seemed fresher. Luminous, smiling faintly. Rimuru, I'll admit, this is impressive. You've built something truly remarkable here. Rimuru, grinning, thanks, Luminous. I'm pretty proud of it. Tempest is a place where everyone can live in peace, no matter who or what they are. As they walked through the city, Hinata stirred in Rimuru's arms, her eyes fluttering open. Realizing her situation, her face turned a deep shade of red. Hinata, flustered, W, what are you doing? Put me down. Rimuru, teasing, oh, you're awake. Good, but you were knocked out, so I figured carrying you was the quickest way. Unless you want me to keep holding you. Hinata quickly averted her gaze, her face as red as a tomato. Hinata, just put me down already. Rimuru set her down gently, but his smirk made her even more flustered. Exploring Tempest. As the group continued their tour, they passed a Japanese restaurant, and Hinata couldn't help but stop and stare. The smell of the food wafting from inside made her stomach growl faintly. Rimuru, noticing her reaction, ah, I see you've got good taste. You miss Japanese food, don't you? Hinata, trying to act composed, it's not that. I was just curious. Rimuru, chuckling, don't worry about it. I'll make sure you get to try some. You'll love it. Hinata's blush deepened, and she mumbled a quiet, thank you. The meeting. In Tempest's grand meeting room, Rimuru, Hinata, Luminous, and the 10 great saints gathered to discuss the recent events. The room was elegantly designed, with comfortable seating and a calm atmosphere. Shuna and a few maids served tea and snacks, bowing politely before leaving the room. The saints hesitated to touch anything, still uneasy about being in the territory of a demon lord. Luminous, to the 10 great saints, let's address the obvious. Yes, I'm a demon lord, but that does not change who I am or what I stand for. I have protected the Holy Empire for centuries, and I will continue to do so. The choice is yours. Remain in my service or step down. I will not force you either way. The saints exchanged nervous glances. Holy Knight Leonard, we swore to serve you, Lady Luminous. That hasn't changed. Holy Knight Arno, agreed. You've always protected us. We'll continue to follow you. 2 knights, however, stepped forward and bowed deeply. Holy Knight Fritz, Lady Luminous, with all due respect, we wish to retire. This is too much for us. Luminous, nodding very well. You've served me faithfully, and you deserve peace. The meeting continued with Hinata finally gathering the courage to step forward. She stood and bowed deeply to Rimuru, her voice trembling slightly. Hinata, I want to apologize. I let myself be manipulated and caused harm to you and your people. I humbly ask for your forgiveness. The 10 great saints were stunned. Their proud, fearless leader bowing so humbly was something they never thought they'd see. Rimuru, smiling, of course, I forgive you. We all make mistakes, right? What's important is that we move forward and learn from our mistakes. Hinata looked up at him, her face softening with relief. Dinner party. That evening, Rimuru hosted a grand feast in honor of their guests. The dining hall was filled with laughter, music, and the delicious aroma of food. Hinata sat quietly at first, but when she tasted her first bite of takoyaki, her eyes lit up like stars. Hinata, murmuring this tastes just like home. Rimuru, watching her, glad you like it. I thought you'd appreciate a taste of Japan. Hinata blushed again, but didn't stop eating. Meanwhile, Luminous and Rimuru were seated together, trading witty remarks. Luminous, smirking, you're surprisingly charming for a slime. I can see why so many people are drawn to you. Rimuru, grinning, and you're surprisingly beautiful for a vampire. The knights and generals mingled, sharing stories and drinks. Cheyenne laughed loudly as she arm wrestled one of the knights, while Benimaru impressed everyone with his strategic insights. The bath. After the feast, Rimuru invited the group to try Tempest's Japanese-style bathhouse. Rimuru, trust me, it's the most relaxing thing you'll ever experience. You've had a rough day, you've earned it. Hinata hesitated, especially when she realized Rimuru would also be joining. Hinata, nervously, I think I'll pass. Rimuru, come on, don't be shy. You've got nothing to be embarrassed about. You've got a beautiful body, you know. Hinata's face turned bright red, and before she could protest further, Luminous grabbed her arm and pulled her along. Luminous, teasing, don't be such a prude, Hinata. Let's go. In the bath, the atmosphere was relaxed and peaceful. Cheyenne, grinning, you know, Hinata, you're surprisingly cute when you're flustered. Hinata, hiding her face, I am not flustered. Luminous, to Rimuru, you've done well, Rimuru. Tempest is special. Rimuru, smiling, thanks. I just want a place where everyone can be happy. The next morning, Luminous and her group prepared to leave. Rimuru saw them off, smiling warmly at Hinata. Rimuru, before you go, I want you to know I've got a surprise for you soon, Hinata. Hinata, confused, a surprise? What kind of surprise? Rimuru, grinning, you'll see. Just be patient. With that, the group departed, leaving behind the memory of a strange yet unforgettable visit to Tempest. As Rimuru watched them go, he couldn't help but chuckle. Rimuru, to himself, guess it's time to visit the Holy Empire soon. Things are about to get interesting. The next morning, while Rimuru sat in his office, reviewing reports about Tempest's growing economy and security updates, Raphael's voice echoed in his mind. Raphael, Master, I have good news. Shizu has awakened. Her soul has fully stabilized, and her synchronization with the fire spirit, Fiamma, is complete. You can now safely release her from your imaginary space. Rimuru's heart skipped a beat. Rimuru, excited Shizu's awake? Finally, he pushed aside the reports and immediately teleported to his private chambers, where he could release her in a calm and controlled environment. Inside his imaginary space, Shizu lay on a soft, glowing bed of mana, her breathing steady and her expression peaceful. The fire spirit Fiamma's energy resonated faintly within her, glowing like embers around her form. Rimuru took a deep breath, steadied himself, and released her. Shizu's body slowly materialized in the physical world, her figure glowing faintly as the transition completed. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing the same warm yet determined gaze Rimuru remembered so vividly. Shizu, softly Rimuru. Hearing her voice again made Rimuru's chest swell with emotion. Rimuru, smiling warmly, welcome back, Shizu. Shizu slowly sat up, looking down at her hands in wonder. Shizu, I feel different, stronger. Is this the fire spirit? Raphael, correct. The spirit Fiamma has fully integrated with her soul, stabilizing it and granting her new powers. Rimuru, you're alive, Shizu. I promised I'd bring you back, and I did. You're here now, and you're safe. Tears welled up in Shizu's eyes as the memories of her final moments and her connection to Rimuru flooded back. Shizu, smiling through her tears, you kept your promise. Thank you, Rimuru. Rimuru felt a lump in his throat, but maintained his usual cheerful demeanor. Rimuru, grinning, of course. I'm a slime of my word after all. Plus, I missed you. Shizu chuckled softly, wiping her tears. Rimuru explained to Shizu all that had happened since her passing. The creation of Tempest, the alliances, the battles, and even the recent events with Hinata and the Holy Empire. Shizu listened intently, her heart swelling with pride and amazement at how much Rimuru had accomplished. Shizu, you've built such an amazing place, Rimuru. I'm so proud of you. Rimuru, scratching the back of his head. Ah, well, it wasn't just me. I've got an amazing team. You'll meet them soon. In fact, why don't we go now? I'm sure everyone will be thrilled to see you. Rimuru extended a hand to Shizu, who hesitated for a moment before taking it. Rimuru and Shizu walked through Tempest, drawing curious and excited looks from the citizens. Many of them had heard of Shizu, the teacher who had left a lasting impression on Rimuru. As they reached the main square, Rimuru gathered his closest companions. Cheyenne, Benimaru, Shuna, Sui, Hakuru, Zijin, and others quickly assembled, all eager to meet the legendary figure Rimuru often spoke about. Cheyenne, excited. So this is the Shizudano Rimuru-sama always talks about. Benimaru, smiling. It's an honor to finally meet you. Rimuru has told us a lot about you. Shizu, blushing slightly. It's nice to meet all of you. Rimuru really talks about me that much. Cheyenne, grinning all the time. He's always saying how amazing you are. Rimuru, clearing his throat. All right. Let's not embarrass me in front of Shizu. Cheyenne, teasing, but it's true, Rimuru-sama. The group laughed, and Shizu quickly felt at home among the lively and welcoming people of Tempest. Rimuru decided to give Shizu another heartwarming surprise. As they walked through Tempest, he guided her toward the large school building near the city center. Shizu, curious, the school? Rimuru, what is this place? Rimuru, smirking, oh, just wait and see. I think you'll love this. As they approached the building, the sound of laughter and chatter filled the air. Shizu's heart skipped a beat. Those voices sounded so familiar. When they entered the classroom, the kids, Chloe, Gale, Ryota, Kenya, and Alice, were all seated, listening to a lecture by one of the teachers. The moment they saw Rimuru and the familiar figure beside him, their eyes went wide, and their jaws dropped. Kenya, shouting Shizu-sensei. The kids bolted from their seats, rushing to Shizu with tears in their eyes. Alice, is it really you, Shizu-sensei? Gale, how? We thought you. Shizu knelt down, tears streaming down her face as she opened her arms to embrace them. The kids threw themselves into her arms, crying and laughing at the same time. Shizu, softly, I'm here. I'm really here. I missed you all so much. Chloe, tearing up, Shizu-sensei, we thought we'd never see you again. This is like a dream. Rimuru leaned against the doorframe, smiling as he watched the emotional reunion unfold. Rimuru, to himself, this is what it's all about. Seeing them happy again makes everything worth it. The group moved to a garden outside the school, sitting together under a large tree. The kids bombarded Shizu with questions and stories about what they've been up to in Tempest. Kenya, grinning, Rimuru-sama has been teaching us so much. He's not as strict as you though. Rimuru, mock offense, hey. I'll have you know I'm an excellent teacher. Alice, smirking, you just bribe us with snacks so we pay attention. Rimuru, Tactics, Alice. It's called tactics. Everyone laughed, and Shizu felt a warmth in her heart. Shizu, smiling. It seems like you're all doing well here. Rimuru has taken good care of you. Chloe, nodding. Tempest is amazing, Shizu-sensei. It feels like home. The kids went on to share stories about their adventures in Tempest, from learning magic and swordsmanship to exploring the labyrinth that Ramiris had begun constructing. Shizu listened intently, her heart swelling with pride and joy. Shizu, I'm so glad you're all safe and happy. That's all I ever wanted for you. Gale, but what about you, Shizu-sensei? Are you going to stay here with us? Shizu glanced at Rimuru, who gave her an encouraging nod. Shizu, softly, I'll be here for a while. There's still so much I need to understand about this new chance I've been given, but I promise I won't leave you again. The kids cheered, and Rimuru smiled, feeling content as he watched the scene unfold. That evening, Rimuru organized a massive feast in Tempest to celebrate Shizu's return and reunite her with the kids. The event was held in the main plaza, with tables laden with food and drinks. The kids were thrilled to see all the Japanese-style food, especially dishes they hadn't eaten since leaving their world. Kenya, mouth-full curry. I missed this so much. Alice, grinning, this is the best meal ever. Rimuru-sama, you're amazing. Rimuru, well, I had some help from my chefs, but I'll take the compliment. Shizu watched the kids enjoy themselves, her heart full of gratitude. She turned to Rimuru, who was sitting beside her, a plate of food in his hands. Shizu, thank you, Rimuru. You've given them, and me, a place to belong. Rimuru, smiling. That's what Tempest is all about. You're part of this family now, Shizu. Always. As Shizu took her first bite of Japanese curry, tears filled her eyes again. Shizu, softly, it tastes just like home. Rimuru, smiling. I thought you might miss it. Welcome back, Shizu. Shizu looked around at the lively gathering of friends and allies, her heart full of warmth. For the first time in a long time, she felt truly at peace. Shizu, thank you, Rimuru, for everything. Rimuru raised his glass, a big smile on his face. Rimuru, to new beginnings. Everyone raised their glasses in a cheer, celebrating not just Shizu's return but the bonds that made Tempest such a special place. The Raso dynasty. The Raso family has long been one of the most influential noble families within the Western Holy Church, its roots entwined with the kingdom of Siltraso, a land known for its rich history and vast natural resources. Granbell Raso, the patriarch of the family, was once a devout follower of the goddess Luminous Valentine. However, his faith was not born from love or reverence, but from ambition. He saw the church and its authority as tools to consolidate power and control the politics of both Siltraso and the surrounding regions. Granbell's daughter, Maria Bell Raso, inherited his cunning and manipulative tendencies, but added her own flair for diplomacy and intrigue. Together, they turned Siltraso into a hub of shadowy dealings, espionage, and underhanded schemes while maintaining a public image of piety and respectability. She possesses a unique skill called greed, which allows her to manipulate and control the desires of others. By amplifying their deepest ambitions and hungers, she can bend people to her will, turning even the most loyal allies into her pawns. Siltraso's strengths and agenda. Siltraso is a militarized kingdom with a strong economic base. Its wealth stems from its mines, which produce rare magical ores, and its sprawling agricultural lands, which supply food to neighboring countries. However, the kingdom's true strength lies in its intelligence network, funded and orchestrated by the Raso family. Spies from Siltraso are embedded in nearly every major nation, including Tempest and the Holy Empire of Lobelia. Granbell's ultimate goal is absolute dominance, not just over the church, but over all nations aligned with it. He believes Luminous Valentine is growing weak in her influence, and her alliance with Rimuru, a monster, is proof of her failure as a god. To him, she has become a liability that must be removed. Granbell and Maria Bell despise Luminous for several reasons. Loss of favor. Granbell, once a high-ranking member of Luminous' inner circle, was sidelined when Luminous discovered his manipulative nature and lack of genuine faith. This perceived humiliation has fueled his desire for revenge. Disdain for monsters. Granbell considers monsters an abomination and a threat to human supremacy. Rimuru's rise as a demon lord and his alliance with Luminous further inflamed his hatred. Power struggle. The Raso family has long sought to control the Western Holy Church from the shadows. Luminous' direct involvement in church affairs limits their influence, making her an obstacle to their plans. Granbell believes that faith in Luminous can be weaponized against her. By corrupting the church from within, he plans to erode her influence while using the faithful as pawns. While Granbell focuses on military and political manipulation, Maria Bell handles the social and diplomatic side of their plans. Manipulating nobles. Maria Bell uses her charm and intellect to win over influential nobles, offering them wealth and power in exchange for loyalty to the Raso cause. Espionage. Maria Bell oversees the intelligence network, gathering information on Tempest's internal workings and military capabilities. She also spreads false intelligence to confuse and divide Tempest's allies. Diplomatic sabotage. Maria Bell actively works to weaken Tempest's alliances by sowing discord between Rimuru and other nations. She plants spies to create misunderstandings and stoke conflicts. Granbell uncovered the existence of a body hidden deep beneath Luminous' home, a secret that the goddess has fiercely guarded for centuries. The hidden body. This mysterious body lies within a sealed chamber beneath the holy empire of Lobelia, protected by ancient magic and divine barriers created by Luminous herself. The body's identity and purpose remain unknown to most, but it is rumored to hold great power that Granbell intends to use against Rimuru and Luminous. Using his vast intelligence network and forbidden research, Granbell managed to locate the chamber and decipher the layers of protective spells surrounding it. He deduced that the body is crucial to Luminous' existence, and that destroying or controlling it would give him leverage over the goddess. Granbell and Maria Bell recognize Rimuru as a significant obstacle to their plans. While Granbell views Rimuru as a nuisance, Maria Bell sees him as a wild card, a being who defies the rules of the world and poses a threat to their carefully crafted schemes. Spreading discord. Using her intelligence network, Maria Bell spreads false rumors of Rimuru's expansionist ambitions, turning nations against Tempest. Undermining alliances. The Raso family sends emissaries to Rimuru's allies, offering bribes and spreading misinformation to fracture his relationships with other nations. Assassination attempts. Granbell authorizes covert missions to assassinate Rimuru's key generals, such as Benimuru and Cheyenne, believing that weakening Tempest's leadership will destabilize the nation. Rimuru's countermeasures. Rimuru's extensive spy network, including the miniature spies created from his body, allows him to monitor the Raso family's activities. Unbeknownst to Granbell, Tempest has already intercepted several of his messages and uncovered parts of his plan. Luminous resolve. Luminous, though aware of the Raso family's treachery, allows them to proceed to a point, intending to crush them decisively when they overstep. Her confidence stems from her alliance with Rimuru, whom she trusts to counter Granbell's schemes. In the end, the Raso family's schemes will culminate in their downfall, leaving Siltraso vulnerable to retribution from both Luminous and Rimuru. Their arrogance and obsession with power will prove to be their undoing, as the world rallies against their treachery. Shizu sat by a window in Tempest, gazing at the bustling streets below. The soft glow of the evening sun bathed her in warmth as she tried to process her newfound life. Having been revived by Rimuru with the help of Raphael, she was still adjusting to the world around her. She marveled at how Tempest had grown into a vibrant city where humans and monsters lived harmoniously. It was like a dream that had been made possible by Rimuru. Rimuru entered the room quietly, his usual confident stride softened as he approached her. Shizu, he called gently, his voice filled with warmth. How are you feeling? She turned to him with a soft smile. It's a lot to take in, but I feel whole. You gave me a second chance at life, Rimuru. Thank you. Rimuru chuckled awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. I couldn't just let you go, Shizu. I promised you back then, didn't I? I'd help you find peace, but I never imagined it'd turn out like this. She nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude. You've done so much for me, more than I could have ever asked for. There was a pause as they looked at each other, the unspoken emotions between them growing more intense. Rimuru finally took a deep breath and decided it was time to tell her what had been on his mind for so long. Shizu, there's something I need to say, Rimuru began, his usually calm demeanor faltering as he felt a rare nervousness creep in. I've been holding this back for a while because I didn't want to pressure you, especially after everything you've gone through. But I realized life is too short to keep my feelings bottled up. Shizu tilted her head, her curiosity piqued. Rimuru, what is it? He took her hands in his, looking into her eyes with a sincerity that left her breathless. Shizu, I love you. I've loved you since the day we met, even if I didn't understand it back then. You're more than just someone I wanted to save. You're someone I want to spend my life with. Her eyes widened in shock, her cheeks flushing red. Rimuru, you love me? She looked down, her hands trembling in his. I never thought. I mean, someone like me. Rimuru squeezed her hands gently, his voice firm yet tender. Someone like you? Shizu, you're incredible. You're strong, kind, and selfless. You deserve to be happy, and I want to be the one to make you happy. Tears welled up in her eyes as she processed his words. A flood of emotions washed over her. Joy, relief, and a love she hadn't even realized she had been suppressing. Finally, she smiled through her tears. I love you too, Rimuru. I didn't know if I deserved to feel this way, but I can't deny it anymore. I love you. Hearing those words, Rimuru felt a weight lift off his chest. Without hesitation, he pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her protectively. Their lips met in a tender kiss, sealing the emotions they had both held back for so long. It was a moment of pure bliss, a connection that transcended words. Nights of joy and connection. The days that followed were filled with quiet moments of intimacy and laughter. Rimuru made it his mission to show Shizu the wonders of Tempest, introducing her to all the friends and allies she had heard about, but never met. Everyone welcomed her warmly, overjoyed to see the woman who had inspired Rimuru to build the peaceful world they all now enjoyed. At night, however, was when they truly let their walls down. In the privacy of their home, they spent hours talking about their pasts, their dreams, and their fears. Rimuru listened intently as Shizu recounted her memories of being summoned, her struggles with Ifrit, and the guilt she carried for the destruction she had caused. Shizu, Rimuru said one evening as they sat by the fireplace. None of that was your fault. You were a victim of circumstances, just like I was when I first came to this world. But look at where we are now. Together, we can leave all of that behind. She leaned her head on his shoulder, her voice soft. You make it sound so easy, Rimuru. But, being with you, it does feel like the pain is fading. As the nights went on, their bond deepened. Shizu found herself laughing more freely, her heart feeling lighter with each passing day. Rimuru, in turn, cherished every smile, every laugh, and every moment they shared. One night, after a particularly joyful dinner with the children, Chloe, Gale, Ryota, Kinya, and Alice, Shizu found herself alone with Rimuru under the starlit sky. She looked up at him, her eyes sparkling. You know, I never thought I'd get to experience happiness like this. I thought my time was over. Rimuru cupped her cheek, his touch gentle. Your time is just beginning, Shizu. And I'll make sure every moment of it is filled with happiness. Their nights together were magical, filled with quiet conversations, playful teasing, and tender embraces. Each kiss, each touch, was a reaffirmation of their love. They found solace in each other's presence, and for the first time in a long while, Shizu felt truly at peace. Shizu's revival marked the beginning of a new chapter not only for her, but also for Rimuru. Their love became a source of strength for both of them, a bond that symbolized hope and renewal. Together, they continued to build the world they dreamed of, a world where humans, monsters, and everyone in between could coexist in harmony. And every time Shizu looked into Rimuru's eyes, she was reminded that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, hand in hand. For the past few days, Rimuru had been enjoying a rare period of peace and Tempest. With Shizu finally revived, life seemed brighter, and Rimuru spent most of his time either with her or casually strolling around the streets of the bustling city. However, Raphael, as always, never let him relax completely. Raphael, Master, Malim Nava is approaching Tempest at an incredible speed. Rimuru stopped mid-step, sighing deeply. Malim? Let me guess, she's coming for that fight I promised her, isn't she? Raphael, that is highly probable, Master. Rimuru pinched the bridge of his nose, a mix of amusement and annoyance crossing his face. Of course she is. I shouldn't have opened my big mouth. All right, I'll deal with it. He teleported to a hill overlooking Tempest, standing with his arms crossed as he waited. It didn't take long for Malim to notice his presence. She adjusted her flight path and zoomed straight toward him at breakneck speed, landing with a dramatic flourish. Rimuru, Malim called out, her voice full of excitement as she grinned from ear to ear. You didn't forget our promise, right? Rimuru chuckled, shaking his head. How could I? You've been waiting for this since the last time we met. Malim put her hands on her hips, puffing out her chest. Good, because I'm not leaving until we have our fight today. Rimuru scratched his head. All right, but we're not doing it out here. Let's head to the labyrinth. Some of the floors are ready, and it's the safest place for us to go all out without leveling half the city. Malim's eyes sparkled with excitement. Oh, the labyrinth. I've been wanting to see it. Let's go. Rimuru summoned Diablo, Zijin, and Veldora, all of whom arrived promptly. The moment Veldora appeared, he was already grinning ear to ear. A fight, you say? Between Rimuru and Malim? This will be legendary. I must witness it. Veldora, Rimuru said dryly. You're not here to watch. You're here to help. We need to set up a barrier that can withstand the kind of destruction Malim and I might cause. Zijin bowed deeply. Understood, my lord. I shall ensure the barrier is impenetrable. Diablo, always eager to serve, smiled wickedly. As you command, Rimuru-sama. I will ensure that no outside interference disrupts your glorious battle. With their combined efforts, they created an incredibly powerful barrier within the labyrinth's 50th floor, an expansive, desolate battlefield designed specifically for testing overwhelming power. The area was surrounded by cliffs and molten rivers, with an artificial sky glowing faintly above. The barrier was reinforced with layers of magic from all three of Rimuru's companions, ensuring that even Malim's most destructive attacks wouldn't cause damage beyond its confines. Malim stood at the center of the arena, bouncing on her toes like a fighter warming up. This place is amazing. Rimuru, you've really outdone yourself. Ramiris, hey, not fair, I built the labyrinth. They decided to ignore her. Rimuru then smirked, stepping into the battlefield. Glad you like it. But remember, we're keeping this friendly. No annihilating me, okay? Malim grinned mischievously. No promises. All right, Rimuru, Malim said, cracking her knuckles. No weapons at first. Let's see if you can handle me in a proper brawl before we bring out the big guns. Rimuru sighed, stretching his arms. Fine, but don't come crying to me if you get hurt. Despite his words, his eyes sparkled with excitement. This was the kind of challenge he'd been waiting for. Rimuru activated Omni-Evolution, his body adapting to match Malim's strength. The two locked eyes for a brief moment before Malim launched forward at blinding speed. Her fist came hurtling toward Rimuru's face like a meteor. He barely dodged, leaning back and countering with a spinning kick aimed at her ribs. Malim blocked it with her forearm, the impact sending shockwaves through the ground. You've gotten faster, she exclaimed, grinning as she unleashed a rapid combination of punches and kicks. Rimuru countered each strike with precision, his heavenly spiral palm technique deflecting her blows while sending small bursts of energy back at her. Malim leapt into the air, flipping mid-spin, and came crashing down with a devastating axe kick. Rimuru dodged just in time, the ground where he stood shattering into a crater. He countered by teleporting behind her with Void Step, landing a clean palm strike infused with magicules directly onto her back. Malim stumbled forward but recovered instantly, turning with a feral grin. Not bad, but you'll need more than that. She activated Dragon Fist, her hands glowing with fiery energy, and launched a powerful punch. Rimuru caught it, their clash creating a massive shockwave that flattened the nearby terrain. Before he could retaliate, Malim spun, using the momentum to deliver a high kick that sent him skidding back. The ground cracked beneath their feet as both combatants drew their weapons. Malim unsheathed a Azura, her god greatsword, the blade gleaming with an aura of destruction. Rimuru summoned his Moonlight Edge, a masterpiece infused with his own magicules, its blade glowing faintly with power. Show me what you've got, Rimuru, Malim shouted, charging forward. Their swords clashed with a deafening roar, sparks flying as their weapons met. Malim's strikes were fast and relentless, her battle art pushing her swordsmanship to its peak. Rimuru countered with thousand blades moon style, his blade moving in intricate, unpredictable patterns that created afterimages to confuse his opponent. Malim grinned, her Malim eye analyzing his technique in real time. She adjusted her movements, parrying his attacks with uncanny precision. Their swords blurred as they exchanged strikes, each one testing the other's limits. Rimuru feinted left, then spun to the right, aiming a horizontal slash at Malim's midsection. She blocked it with ease, retaliating with a downward slash that Rimuru barely avoided. He used Void Step to teleport above her, coming down with an overhead strike. Malim raised her sword just in time, the clash creating a shockwave that sent both of them flying back. Not bad, not bad. Malim laughed, flipping in midair to land gracefully. But I'm just getting started. She activated multiple barrier, surrounding herself with layers of protective energy. Rimuru responded by channeling magic into his katana, executing an evolved melt slash that cut through her barriers like butter. Malim's eyes widened in surprise, but she quickly recovered, launching a counterattack with a devastating horizontal slash. Realizing they were evenly matched with swords, the two shifted tactics. The air around Malim shimmered as her Magic Breeder reactor activated. Malim flew into the air, raising her hand to summon her signature magic attack, Dragon Nova. Rimuru, feeling the sudden increase in Malim power, asked Raphael. Raphael, Master, Malim's sudden power increase is due to her activating her Magic Breeder reactor. Rimuru then told her to copy it. The massive sphere of energy grew larger by the second, crackling with destructive power. Let's see how you handle this, Rimuru. Rimuru smirked, activating Beelzebub. The black mass of his skill surged forward, swallowing Dragon Nova whole before it could explode. Nice try, but you'll have to do better than that. He retaliated with Black Star Implosion, a new spell he developed. A miniature black hole formed in his palm, crackling with concentrated energy, before he hurled it toward Malim. She dodged just in time, the spell exploding behind her and tearing a massive chunk out of the landscape. Malim countered with Dragon Buster, a concentrated beam of energy aimed directly at Rimuru. He activated Omni Evolution again, adapting to the sheer heat and pressure of the attack as he dodged and redirected the beam with his katana. Impressive, Malim shouted, her eyes sparkling with excitement. But let's see how you handle this. Activating Satinal's Judgment, Malim unleashed a massive wave of wrath-infused energy. Rimuru responded by summoning his own ultimate technique, Infinite Edge Storm, a whirlwind of sword slashes and magic blasts that collided with her attack. The resulting explosion shook the entire labyrinth, forcing Veldora, Diablo, Zijin, and Ramiris to reinforce the barrier around the battlefield. Rafie, Master, the Magic Breeder reactor copy has been successful. Would you like to activate it? Rimuru, it's about time, and yes. The influx of unlimited Magicules bolstered his power, bringing him back to full strength. Malim's jaw dropped. You got stronger. Rimuru replied with a smirk. With their powers evenly matched, the two launched into their final clash. Rimuru used his Void Step to appear behind Malim, launching a rapid combination of strikes from his katana. Malim countered with Dragon Fist, her glowing punches colliding with his sword strikes in a dazzling display of power. Finally, Malim leapt into the air, gathering all her remaining energy into a massive attack. This is it, Rimuru. My strongest attack, Wrathful Dragon Cataclysm. Rimuru didn't hesitate. Channeling all his Magicules into his katana, he unleashed Eternal Severance, a blade of pure energy that cut through dimensions. The two attacks collided, creating an explosion so massive it could be felt all the way in Tempest. The aftermath. When the dust settled, both Rimuru and Malim were standing, battered but smiling. That was awesome, Malim shouted, throwing her arms in the air. You're the best sparring partner ever, Rimuru. Rimuru chuckled, sheathing his katana. You're not so bad yourself. But next time, I'm coming out on top for sure. The two walked back to their friends, who had been watching the battle in stunned silence. That was insane, Veldora exclaimed. You two nearly destroyed the labyrinth. Ramiris pouted. You're lucky we reinforced the barrier, or the whole labyrinth would be gone. Aftermath. Celebrating the fight. Back in Tempest, the group gathered for a feast. Malim ate enough for 10 people, her energy completely restored. Veldora regaled everyone with his dramatic play-by-play of the fight, while Ramiris complained about how close they came to destroying the labyrinth. Malim, Rimuru said, raising a glass. You're crazy strong, but next time, don't hold back so much. Malim laughed. I didn't hold back. You're just a better fighter than before. But next time, I'll win for sure. As the night went on, the group celebrated the bond between Rimuru and Malim, their rivalry stronger than ever. And though the labyrinth needed repairs, the fight had been worth every moment. Flashback. Gazel's visit to Tempest. One calm afternoon in Tempest, Rimuru was leisurely reviewing reports in his office when Raphael's voice broke the silence. Notice. King Gazel Dwargo is on his way to Tempest. Estimated arrival, 30 minutes. He is accompanied by his personal guards and a notable individual, Vesta. Additionally, preparations for a formal meeting have been arranged. Rimuru sighed, setting the report aside. Gazel, huh? What's with these unannounced visits lately? And Vesta too? This should be interesting. He leaned back, a faint smirk on his face. Cheyenne, get Benimaru and Diablo. We've got a guest to welcome. At Tempest's main gates, Gazel Dwargo, the mighty king of Dworgen, arrived with his personal guards, their presence exuding an aura of discipline and strength. Behind Gazel stood Vesta, the former minister of Dworgen, looking both determined and slightly nervous. Rimuru, flanked by Benimaru, Cheyenne, and Diablo, stepped forward with his usual casual demeanor. Gazel, to what do I owe the pleasure of this surprise visit? You could have given me a heads up, you know. I'd have prepared something fancy for you. Gazel stepped forward, his expression stern but with a glint of warmth in his eyes. Rimuru, formalities are unnecessary between us. I came to discuss important matters face to face. I've also brought you a gift. He motioned to Vesta, who bowed deeply. Lord Rimuru, Vesta began, his voice steady but tinged with humility. I have come to offer my services to Tempest, as decreed by King Gazel. I am ready to dedicate my skills and knowledge to your cause. Rimuru raised an eyebrow, then grinned. Well, Vesta, welcome to Tempest. I'm glad you found your way here. Let's head inside and talk. In the grand meeting hall, Rimuru sat across from Gazel. Vesta stood respectfully to the side, while Benimaru, Diablo, and Cheyenne stood by Rimuru's side. Gazel began, his voice firm. Rimuru, I've officially banished Vesta from Dworgen, but not without purpose. His talents in magic technology are extraordinary, and I believe he will be an invaluable asset to Tempest. Consider this both an offering of goodwill and a way for Vesta to redeem himself. Rimuru glanced at Vesta, then back at Gazel. I see. Well, I'll make sure he gets a place where his talents can shine. Gazel leaned forward, his gaze sharp. That brings me to my next point. Yum, the warrior you've chosen to make the next king of Falmouth, has potential but lacks refinement. I've taken it upon myself to mentor him. He will stay with me in Dworgen for intensive training. When the time is right, he will be ready to assume the throne of Falmouth. Rimuru smiled, leaning back in his chair. Yums, huh? If anyone can shape him into a great king, it's you. Thanks for taking him under your wing, Gazel. Gazel nodded. It's not just for him. It's for the future of the region. A strong leader in Falmouth will stabilize the West. After the meeting, Rimuru walked Gazel and his entourage to the gates. Rimuru, Gazel said, turning to his friend. Tempest has become a beacon of hope for all. You've created something truly remarkable here. I'm proud to call you an ally. Rimuru chuckled, rubbing the back of his head. Coming from you, that means a lot, Gazel. Take care of Yum for me, and don't be too hard on him. Gazel smirked. No promises. A king's training isn't supposed to be easy. Flashback end. Rimuru had an idea to organize a festival. The Tempest Grand Festival was designed to showcase the evolution of the nation and bring together people from all walks of life: adventurers, merchants, dignitaries, and common folk. Every corner of the city will be transformed into a lively and colorful celebration that embodied the spirit of innovation, community, and adventure that Tempest represented. A few days earlier, Rimuru had gathered his closest advisors to pitch the idea. Rimuru stood in the meeting hall, addressing everyone. "All right, listen up, everyone. Tempest has grown a lot, and I think it's time we show the world what we're capable of. So, I'm thinking we host a grand festival." Shine clapped her hands, stars in her eyes. "A festival? With food stalls, music, and fun? I'm all in." Ramiris, floating next to Rimuru, puffed up her chest. "And my labyrinth will be the star of the show. It's finally done, and it's amazing. Adventurers will be blown away by its awesomeness." Benimaru raised an eyebrow. "A festival could be a good way to strengthen alliances and attract trade, but it'll require significant planning. Have you thought this through, Rimuru?" Rimuru grinned. "Of course. We'll set up stalls for food and merchandise, have performances, and even organize a tournament for fighters. And the labyrinth will serve as the ultimate attraction, a dungeon where adventurers can test their skills and earn legendary rewards." Diablo smirked. "An excellent idea, my lord. This will cement Tempest's reputation as a prosperous and innovative nation. I will personally ensure everything runs smoothly." Ramiris chimed in. "And don't forget the labyrinth's challenges. Each floor has traps, monsters, and a floor guardian every 10 levels. Only the strongest adventurers will be able to reach the bottom." Festival layout and atmosphere. 1. The central square, the heart of the festival. The main square of Tempest will be the hub of activity. It will be adorned with colorful banners, intricate lanterns, and flowers native to Tempest forests. A giant fountain with a magical display of lights at the center, mesmerizing everyone who passes by. Musicians and performers will entertain the crowds with lively music, dance performances, and acrobatic displays. Magical light shows will fill the air with glowing images of mythical creatures and symbols of Tempest. There will be a central announcement stage where Rimuru and the city officials would make speeches, host events, and conduct the opening ceremony for the festival. 2. Food stalls, a feast for all. Stalls on the streets. Each will represent a unique culture or cuisine. From Tempest specialties like honey-grilled skewers and monster meat pies to dwarven ale and rubrios delicacies, there was something for everyone. A Japanese corner, inspired by Rimuru's memories, will offer sushi, ramen, okonomiyaki, and matcha desserts. Adventurers and merchants will set up food competitions, with prizes awarded for the spiciest, sweetest, and most innovative dishes. There will be even a dessert stall hosted by Shuna and Cheyenne, where guests could try beautifully crafted sweets imbued with light healing properties. 3. Merchant District, a shopper's paradise. Merchants from all over the world will set up stalls showcasing rare items, exotic goods, and magical trinkets. Items included unique grade weapons and armors, rare monster materials for crafting, spell scrolls, potions, and other adventuring essentials, luxurious silks, and handmade jewelry. Tempest blacksmiths and artisans will demonstrate their skills live to create custom gears and offer free demonstrations to inspire budding craftsmen. Entertainment and games. Game stalls will be all over the streets, offering activities like ring toss, magical darts, and treasure hunting challenges for children and adults alike for the kids. A petting area will feature tamed monsters, allowing guests to interact with adorable creatures like Tempest Wolf's pups, baby dragonlings, and slimes. An area will be dedicated to magic dueling simulations, where participants could test their spells in a safe environment, judged by Tempest mages. Tournament arena. A massive arena will be constructed specifically for the festival to host the grand tournament. Fighters from all over the world will compete for glory, prizes, and the opportunity to spar with some of Tempest's finest warriors like Benimaru, Cheyenne, and Hakuru. Magical screens will float above the arena to show close-up views of the matches. Special matches will include a monster battle royale, where tamers showcase their monster companion skills, and an exhibition matches. The Labyrinth Showcase. 1. The entrance to the labyrinth. The labyrinth was located just outside the city center, surrounded by lush greenery. A grand archway made of enchanted stone marked the entrance, glowing with magical runes that detailed the rules of the dungeon. Adventurers registered at booths near the entrance will receive enchanted maps that track their progress and a revival bracelet that teleported them back to safety if they were defeated. The registration area will also feature a leaderboard that displayed the names and progress of those attempting the dungeon, updated in real time. 2. The Labyrinth Event. Adventurers could enter in groups or solo, depending on their confidence and skill level. Each floor will become progressively harder, with traps, puzzles, and monsters specifically designed to challenge even the most seasoned fighters. Every 10th floor will feature a boss battle with a unique floor guardian. These guardians and creatures who had been handpicked by Rimuru and Ramiris for their strength and skill. Spectators could watch live feeds of the adventurers' progress on magical screens set up near the entrance, cheering them on as they tackled each challenge. Prizes for clearing floors included unique grade weapons, legendary armors, rare potions, and valuable materials. Those who reached the final floor would face Veldora, the Storm Dragon, himself, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for any adventurer. Fireworks display. Each night, the festival will end with a dazzling fireworks show. Magical fireworks crafted by Tempest's mages will paint the sky with vibrant colors and images of dragons, slimes, and other iconic symbols of the city. 2. Cultural performances. Groups will perform cultural dances, songs, and plays to showcase their unique talents and celebrating their diversity. 3. VIP Pavilion. A special area will be reserved for VIP guests, including dignitaries, nobles, kings, and queens. It will feature luxurious seating, gourmet food, and a perfect view of the tournament and fireworks. As preparations for the Grand Festival of Tempest were underway, the Rosso family, led by Granbell and Maria Bell Rosso, meticulously wove their intricate plans in the shadows. The festival, a beacon of celebration and unity, had unintentionally become a perfect smokescreen for their schemes. Rimuru's intelligence and response. Despite their best efforts to conceal their plans, the Rosso family's schemes did not entirely escape Rimuru's watchful gaze. Sui, the head of Rimuru's intelligence network, had intercepted fragmented reports of unusual activity. Suspicious merchants. A group of unfamiliar merchants had entered Tempest, claiming to bring rare goods, but displaying peculiar behavior. Adventurer anomalies. Some adventurers participating in the labyrinth trials appeared overly reckless, as though influenced by external forces. Rubrios movements. Minor disturbances in Rubrios hinted at Granbell's involvement, though the full extent remained unclear. Raphael confirmed the credibility of these findings, but the details were too sparse to pinpoint the Rosso family's exact plans. However, Rimuru wasn't one to take chances. Rimuru convened a meeting with his generals, informing them of the situation and issuing strict orders to heighten security. Enhanced patrols. Benimaru deployed elite Tempest soldiers to patrol the festival grounds, ensuring the safety of visitors and swiftly identifying any suspicious activity. Magical fortifications. Diablo, with his mastery of magic, reinforced the city's protective barriers, creating layered defenses to prevent infiltration or sabotage. Labyrinth Guard. Ramiris and Zijin intensified security within the labyrinth, with Zijin personally overseeing the protection of the lower floors. Communication lines. Sui established a rapid communication network to relay information between intelligence operatives and key personnel. Luminous alerted. Upon hearing of Granbell's potential involvement, Rimuru reached out to Luminous Valentine, warning her of the possible threat to her domain. Luminous, already aware of Granbell's ambition and his knowledge of her secret, took immediate action. Increased defense in Rubrios. Luminous fortified the protective spells around her hidden body and stationed elite holy knights to guard her sanctuary. Collaboration with Tempest. She coordinated with Rimuru, agreeing to share intelligence and resources to counter any move by the Rosso family. In the meeting room, the generals discussed the situation with seriousness, though a hint of confidence eased the tension. Benimaru, If Granbell thinks he can manipulate events under our watch, he's sorely mistaken. Let's show him Tempest is no easy prey. Diablo, smiling sinisterly, my lord, shall I personally educate any of their agents who dare step foot in our domain? Ramiris, puffing out her chest, the labyrinth is like super mega unbreakable. No way they're getting through my traps. Veldora, bah? If they cause trouble, I'll just flatten them with my Veldora-style super destruction storm. Shuna, calmly, will ensure the festival proceeds without a hitch. The people mustn't sense any danger. Their joy is what matters most. Rimuru nodded, appreciating the unity and dedication of his team. Let's remain vigilant. We can't let this festival be ruined. We owe it to everyone who worked so hard to make it happen. Despite the increased security, the Rosso family continued to move their pieces across the board. Granbell and Maria Bell operated with calculated precision, confident that their plans were foolproof. However, they underestimated one crucial factor. Tempest's strength lay not only in its defenses, but in its unity. Rimuru and his allies were prepared for any threat, and while the Rosso family's schemes loomed in the background, Tempest stood ready to face whatever came their way. Unbeknownst to Rimuru, Granbell's agents had already infiltrated Tempest. While Rimuru's forces were on high alert, Granbell remained confident in his plans. His ultimate move was yet to come, one that could strike at the heart of both Tempest and Rubrios. The stage was set, a grand festival masking the brewing storm, with Rimuru and his allies poised to uncover and thwart the Rosso family's sinister plans. Rimuru strolled hand in hand with Shizu, who had grown more accustomed to her new life, though she still carried a hint of shyness in public. Malim hovered nearby, her excitement practically radiating like the sun. Malim, Rimuru, look at that stall. They're selling candy. Let's try it. Rimuru, Malim, I thought you said you were saving your appetite for the big feast later. Malim, pouting I am. But candy doesn't count as food. It's a snack. Shizu, smiling softly, let's indulge her, Rimuru. It's a festival after all. Rimuru sighed, but couldn't help but smile as they approached the candy stall. The vendor, a cheerful goblin named Pekka, beamed as the trio arrived. Pekka, Lord Rimuru, Lady Malim, Lady Shizu, you honor me with your presence. Please, try these honey-dipped fruit skewers. Malim immediately grabbed a skewer, took a bite, and let out a delighted squeal. Malim, it's so sweet and juicy. Rimuru, you have to try this. Rimuru took one as well, and nodded in approval. Rimuru, not bad, Pekka. I'll make sure this stall has a prime spot during the festival. The goblin nearly fainted with joy. Later, they visited Kirobe's forge and Kaijin's workshop, where the clanging of hammers echoed through the air. Rimuru, how's it coming along, Kirobe? Are the weapons and armors for the labyrinth ready? Kirobe, wiping sweat off his brow, almost, my lord. The materials you provided were top-notch. We've crafted legendary-grade swords, shields, and even enchanted armors that'll leave adventurers in awe. Kaijin, and don't forget the special traps we designed for the labyrinth. Those poor adventurers won't know what hit them. Malim's eyes sparkled. Malim, oh, I want to see the traps. Can I test them out? Rimuru, absolutely not. Knowing you'll probably destroy the entire floor. Everyone laughed, though Malim looked slightly disappointed. As the festival's reputation spread across the world, merchants, adventurers, and even nobles flocked to Tempest to secure a spot. The audience chamber was packed daily with people requesting permission to participate in the festivities. One day, a flamboyantly dressed merchant named Bartholomew approached. Bartholomew, Lord Rimuru, I come bearing the finest silks from the Eastern Empire. My stall will be the centerpiece of the festival, I guarantee it. Rimuru, silks, huh? Well, as long as you meet the quality standards, I don't see why not. But remember, Tempest values fair trade. Another merchant, a dwarf named Grotto, stepped forward. Grotto, my lord, I've brought enchanted gemstones that glow in the dark, perfect for jewelry or decorative lights. Malim, glow-in-the-dark gems? I want one. Rimuru, chuckling, Malim, they're not freebies. If you want one, you'll have to earn it during the festival. The chamber erupted in laughter as Malim crossed her arms, muttering about unfair treatment. Walking through the streets, Rimuru, Shizu, and Malim stopped to chat with the citizens. A group of children ran up, their eyes wide with excitement. Child 1, Lord Rimuru, is it true that Veldora will be part of the labyrinth? Rimuru, yup, he's the final guardian. Think you can make it to the 100th floor someday? The children cheered, declaring that they'd become strong adventurers just to face Veldora. Nearby, a group of bakers was experimenting with festival-themed pastries, shaping bread into little slime figures. Shizu's eyes lit up. Shizu, these look adorable. May I try one? The bakers eagerly handed her a sample, blushing furiously under her kind smile. Far away, in his castle in the void, Beerus watched the festival preparations unfold through a magical projection. Velza, his loyal subordinate, stood beside him. Beerus, that slime, always so carefree, even with enemies plotting in the shadows. Velza, it's remarkable, my lord. He's built a nation where humans and monsters coexist peacefully. Few could accomplish such a feat. Beerus smirked. Beerus, perhaps, but peace often makes one complacent. I wonder how long he can keep this balance. As the festival approached, Tempest began hosting pre-festival activities, allowing visitors to sample the attractions. Cooking contests. Gopta ended up entering a cooking contest, accidentally creating a dish that turned out surprisingly delicious. Archery games. Shine participated in an archery game, but ended up throwing the bow at the target instead, to everyone's amusement. Music performances. The Lizardman Orchestra debuted their first performance, combining traditional and modern instruments to create a unique sound. Back at the main hall, Rimuru gathered his generals for a briefing. Benimaru, everything's proceeding smoothly. Security's tight, but we've made it discreet to avoid alarming the guests. Sui, my shadow squad is monitoring the crowds. So far, no suspicious activity. Diablo, shall I arrange a welcoming party for any spies, my lord? Rimuru, let's save that for after the festival, Diablo. We don't want to scare off the guests. The room filled with laughter, the camaraderie between Tempest's leaders shining brightly. As the preparations neared completion, Rimuru stood atop a balcony overlooking the bustling city. Beside him, Shizu smiled, her hand resting on his. Malim leaned over the railing, excitedly pointing out her favorite stalls. Rimuru, this is going to be amazing. A chance to show the world what Tempest is all about. Shizu, it's thanks to you, Rimuru. You've brought people together in a way no one else could. As the sun set over Tempest, the city buzzed with anticipation. The grand festival promised not only to be a celebration of unity and prosperity, but also a test of Tempest's strength and resilience in the face of unseen threats. Day 1 of the Tempest Grand Festival. The sun rose over Tempest, illuminating the city in a warm golden hue that reflected off the decorations meticulously prepared for the festival. Banners of vibrant colors fluttered in the wind, streets were lined with lanterns, and magical crystals glowed softly, creating an otherworldly ambience. People from all over the world flooded the streets, humans, monsters, demi-humans, adventurers, and nobles alike, making Tempest the center of attention for these 3 grand days. The streets, a kaleidoscope of cultures. The streets were alive with the buzz of voices, laughter, and the aroma of food from the countless stalls. Children ran from game to game, their delighted squeals mixing with the calls of merchants advertising their wares. Child 1, I got a slime-shaped balloon. Child 2, let's try the ring toss next. I heard the prizes are enchanted toys. Adventurers examined the stalls selling weapons and armors, their eyes lighting up at the sight of legendary great swords and unique shields crafted by Kirobe and Kaijin. Adventurer, this blade, it's infused with magic. I've never seen craftsmanship like this. Merchant, only in Tempest, my friend. If you have the coin, it's yours. The aroma of food wafted through the air. Stalls selling Japanese delicacies like sushi, tempura, and ramen were packed with visitors eager to try the exotic cuisine. Nearby, a dwarf loudly proclaimed the quality of his ale. Visitor, what is this ramen? It's so flavorful. I've never tasted anything like it. Chef, welcome to Tempest, where we make dreams edible. The nobles' arrival. Carriages pulled by majestic beasts began arriving, each more luxurious than the last. Special teams of well-dressed attendants stood ready to receive the nobles and guide them to their reserved accommodations. From Dworgen, King Gazel Dworgo stepped out of his royal carriage, his presence commanding respect. He exchanged a firm handshake with Rimuru at the gates. Gazel, Tempest never ceases to impress me, Rimuru. The decorations, the organization, it's flawless. Rimuru. It's only possible because of the people here. And, of course, your inspiration helped shape this nation. From the Western nations, the kings arrived, accompanied by several high-ranking nobles. King 1, you've created a paradise, Rimuru. The harmony here, it's unlike anything I've seen before. Rimuru, it's only the beginning. Wait until you see the labyrinth. The most surprising arrival, however, was Elmesia Elru Sarayan, the Queen of Sarayan. Known for rarely appearing in public, her presence caused a stir. As she stepped out of her carriage, her elegant beauty and commanding aura silenced the crowd. She wore a flowing gown of shimmering silver that seemed to catch the light, making her look like a goddess descended from the heavens. Onlookers, the Queen of Sarayan. Here, in Tempest, noble, she's even more beautiful than the legends say. Approaching Rimuru with a graceful smile, she greeted him warmly. Elmesia, Rimuru Tempest, you've outdone yourself. Tempest is truly a marvel. Rimuru, nervously, thank you, your majesty. Coming from you, that means a lot. Fun and festivities. As the day progressed, the streets became a whirlwind of activity. Games and competitions. Children and adults alike participated in ring tosses, shooting galleries, and strength tests. Child, look, I want a plushie of Lord Rimuru. Parent, how many coins did you spend? Magic strength tester. Adventurers lined up to test their magic against enchanted dummies designed to measure output. A powerful blast from one adventurer earned a loud cheer. Adventurer, I'm the strongest here. Malim, appearing suddenly. Oh really? Let me try. Malim's blast destroyed the dummy entirely, leaving everyone in stunned silence. Rimuru, Malim. That was a demonstration dummy, not a target for annihilation. Veldora's teriyaki stall. Veldora had set up a teriyaki stall, though it was clear he was more interested in showing off than actually cooking. Yet, his teriyaki was so good that a long line formed. Customer, Lord Veldora, this teriyaki is incredible. Veldora, naturally. The great Veldora Tempest excels in all things. Rimuru, passing by, you're just using the recipe I gave you. Veldora, silence Rimuru. Let me bask in my glory. Evening elegance. As the sun set, magical lanterns lit up the streets, and the sounds of live music filled the air. An opera performance captivated the nobles, while fireworks illuminated the night sky in dazzling colors. In the noble baths, leaders and dignitaries relaxed, marveling at the luxury. The scented soaps and hot water, courtesy of Vesta and Raphael's innovations, left them rejuvenated. King of Blumend, even the baths here are extraordinary. Tempest truly is a nation of wonders. Queen Elmesia, smiling. It seems Rimuru has raised the bar for all of us. Day 2, the festival in full swing. The second day saw even more visitors flooding into Tempest. Merchants continued to rake in profits, and adventurers lined up to test their skills in the labyrinth's preliminary challenges. Adventurer, only made it to the 5th floor, but the traps were insane. This dungeon is going to be legendary. Malim, Cheyenne, and Shuna joined the crowds, trying various foods and even participating in some of the games. Malim, this takoyaki is amazing. Rimuru, why didn't you tell me about this before? Rimuru, because you'd eat all of it. The day ended with another round of fireworks, leaving the skies of Tempest glowing in a spectacle of light. Tempest was alive in a way it had never been before. Conversations echoed through the streets, laughter filled the air, and the blending of cultures created a unique harmony. Visitors left impressed, with many vowing to return, and some even seeking to become permanent residents. The first 2 days of the Tempest Grand Festival were nothing short of magical, setting the stage for what would become a historic event in the annals of Rimuru's ever-growing nation. The final day of the Tempest Grand Festival began with excitement hanging in the air like static. The streets were alive with anticipation as adventurers, nobles, and spectators alike gathered for the main attractions, the tournament, and the official opening of the labyrinth. Today promised to be an unforgettable experience, packed with thrilling battles and the unveiling of Tempest's legendary dungeon. The tournament, an international event. The Grand Arena, specially constructed for the festival, stood as a massive coliseum in the heart of Tempest. Its magical barriers shimmered faintly, designed to protect the spectators while ensuring the safety of the fighters. The arena was packed with a crowd buzzing with energy. Adventurers, monsters, nobles, and kings from all nations were seated in tiered rows, eager to witness the matches. Flags from every participating nation fluttered in the wind, adding a sense of unity to the tournament. Each nation had sent its best fighters to compete, and the event was divided into 3 categories. Group C, C-ranked adventurers. Group B, B-ranked adventurers. And Group A, A-ranked adventurers. Opening ceremony. Rimuru stood on a raised platform, addressing the audience with his usual charismatic smile. Cheyenne, Shuna, and Malim stood beside him, while Veldora loomed in the background, pretending to act important. Rimuru, welcome, everyone, to the final day of the Tempest Grand Festival. Today, you'll see some of the finest warriors from around the world compete in a test of strength, skill, and spirit. Let's cheer for every participant as they give their all. The crowd erupted into cheers, their enthusiasm shaking the arena. Malim, grinning, this is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see them fight. Veldora, humph. If I were competing, this tournament would be over in seconds. Cheyenne, crossing her arms, let's see if anyone's brave enough to challenge me in the final round. Rimuru, let's just make sure you don't break them. Cheyenne. The tournament begins. Group C, Rising Adventurers. The first matches featured C-ranked adventurers, newer fighters with determination and potential. Their fights were raw and less polished, but no less entertaining. The audience cheered as fighters displayed surprising ingenuity and courage. One fighter, a beastkin from Blumend, used a unique combination of agility and claws to overpower his opponents, earning the crowd's admiration. Another, a young mage from Inglesia, showcased her skill in fire magic, narrowly defeating her opponent in a fiery duel. Spectator 1. These kids are impressive. They might just be A-ranked someday. Spectator 2. That beastkin has the instincts of a predator. He'll go far. After intense rounds, the beastkin emerged victorious, earning his spot in the final battle royale. Group B, skilled fighters. The B-ranked adventurers displayed more refined techniques and tactics. Their battles were faster, more intense, and often ended with narrow victories. A swordsman from Dworgen used his heavy blade to dominate his matches, while a human archer from Sarayan wowed the crowd with pinpoint precision, landing impossible shots even in the chaos of melee combat. King Gazel, that swordsman. He's one of ours. Dworgen's pride. Queen Elmesia. The archer has impressive control. She's as graceful as she is deadly. After several breathtaking matches, the archer claimed victory, her skill and agility proving too much for her final opponent. Group A, Elite Adventurers. The final group consisted of A-ranked adventurers, seasoned warriors and mages who had seen countless battles. Their matches were intense, with power and strategy on full display. A knight from the Western nations, clad in shining armor, became a crowd favorite for his unwavering bravery and powerful swordsmanship. However, the star of this group was a mysterious masked fighter from Sarayan, whose dual-wielding sword style and speed were mesmerizing. Malim, excitedly, that masked one is so fast. Rimuru, Sarayan sent their best. This is going to be tough to beat. In the final match, the masked fighter defeated the knight with a dazzling display of skill, earning her place in the Battle Royale. The Battle Royale. The 3 winners from each group, the Beastkin, the Archer, and the Masked Fighter, faced off in a no-holds-barred Battle Royale. The The fight was chaotic and exhilarating, with the crowd roaring as the fighters pushed themselves to their limits. The beastkin's ferocity and the archer's precision forced the masked fighter to reveal her ultimate technique, dancing blades, a storm of sword strikes that overwhelmed both opponents. The masked fighter stood victorious, earning the right to challenge one of Rimuru's generals. After much deliberation, the masked fighter chose to challenge Benimaru, known as one of Rimuru's strongest generals. The fight was to be a sword duel. The masked challenger stood in the center of the arena, her twin swords gleaming under the sunlight. Her movements were poised and confident, and the crowd was abuzz with excitement. Benimaru, dressed in his crimson combat robes, entered the arena, his katana Crimson Lotus resting casually on his shoulder. His calm, yet commanding presence immediately silenced the crowd. His crimson hair seemed to glow faintly, and his golden eyes sparkled with a mix of amusement and determination. Benimaru, so you've chosen me, huh? I hope you're ready. I won't go easy on you. Masked fighter, I wouldn't want you to. I've come here to fight the best, and you're one of the best Tempest has to offer. The fight begins. The referee raised his hand and shouted, "Begin." The two combatants wasted no time. They closed the distance between them in an instant, engaging in a furious exchange of blows. Opening moves, testing the waters. The challenger's twin swords danced in her hands like silver streams of light. She attacked with rapid slashes, aiming to overwhelm Benimaru with speed. Benimaru countered with ease, his single blade meeting her attacks with precise parries and deflections. Masked fighter, not bad. Your defense is solid. Benimaru, grinning, you're fast, but speed alone won't cut it against me. Benimaru suddenly switched to offense, launching a series of powerful, sweeping strikes. Each swing of his katana carried a controlled ferocity, forcing the challenger to backpedal and block. Her twin swords crossed to absorb the impact, but the sheer force of his blows made her arms tremble. Escalation, footwork, and strategy. The masked fighter shifted tactics, using intricate footwork to evade Benimaru's strikes. She weaved around him, looking for openings to counterattack. Her movements were almost snake-like, fluid and unpredictable. Malim, from the stands, whoa, she's fast. Benimaru, better step it up. Shine, she's skilled, but Benimaru hasn't even gotten serious yet. The masked fighter lunged forward with a feint, pretending to aim for Benimaru's shoulder, but quickly shifting her blade to strike at his side. Benimaru smirked, sidestepping the feint and bringing his katana down in a swift arc. The masked fighter barely managed to block, the force of the clash sending sparks flying. Benimaru, clever, but you'll need to do better than that. Mid-fight, special techniques unleashed. Realizing that standard techniques wouldn't be enough, the masked fighter unleashed her signature move, dancing blades. Her twin swords seemed to multiply as she created a storm of slashes from every angle, a whirlwind of steel aimed at overwhelming Benimaru. Spectator, is that magic or pure skill? Benimaru's eyes narrowed. He activated one of his signature techniques, Flame Veil, surrounding himself with a fiery aura that burned away the incoming slashes. His katana glowed with heat as he countered her flurry with precise, blazing strikes. Benimaru, not bad, but let's see how you handle this. He unleashed Crimson Slash, a powerful arc of flame that surged toward the masked fighter. She dodged with incredible agility, leaping high into the air. Mid-air, she crossed her swords and launched a counterattack. Crescent Divide, two crescent-shaped energy waves that raced toward Benimaru. Benimaru smirked, cutting through the waves with a single swing of his katana. Benimaru, impressive, but you'll need more than fancy tricks to beat me. The crowd's reaction. The audience was on the edge of their seats, watching the intense battle unfold. King Gazel, that masked fighter, her technique is remarkable, but Benimaru has the advantage of experience. Queen Elmesia, still, she's holding her own. It's rare to see someone push him like this. Veldora, eating teriyaki meh, I take them both down in one move. But this is fun to watch. Both fighters were now giving their all. The masked fighter activated her ultimate technique, Phantom Storm, creating a vortex of energy that distorted the air around her. She moved with blinding speed, her attacks coming from every direction. Benimaru, unfazed, unleashed his own ultimate move, Infernal Surge. His katana became wreathed in intense flames as he countered her assault head-on. The two clashed in the center of the arena, their energies colliding in a brilliant explosion of light and heat. Benimaru, you're strong. Stronger than I expected. But this is where it ends. He channeled all his power into one final attack, Crimson Lotus Strike, a devastating series of fiery slashes that engulfed the arena in flames. The masked fighter tried to counter with her own ultimate move, but the sheer force of Benimaru's attack overwhelmed her. The aftermath. As the dust settled, the masked fighter was on one knee, breathing heavily, her swords trembling in her hands. Benimaru stood tall, his katana pointed at her throat. Benimaru, you've got talent. Keep honing it, and you might just give me a real challenge next time. The masked fighter lowered her swords and bowed. Thank you for the fight. I've learned a lot. The crowd erupted into applause, cheering for both fighters. Rimuru, that was incredible. Let's hear it for our challenger and Benimaru. The masked fighter left the arena with her head held high, earning the respect of everyone present. Meanwhile, Benimaru sheathed his katana and walked back to his comrades, grinning. Malim, you were amazing, Benimaru. Benimaru laughing. The tournament ended on a high note, leaving everyone in awe of the skill and power on display. It was a fitting conclusion to the Tempest Grand Festival's final day. Maribel's army versus Tempest. While Rimuru and Malim dealt with the Chaos Dragon, the Tempest generals and their soldiers faced off against Maribel's elite forces. The battlefield was a chaotic dance of strategy and raw power, showcasing Tempest's ingenuity. Benimaru, standing at the front lines. Zijin, take the left flank. Shine, you're with me on the right. Geld, protect the civilians in the labyrinth. Don't let anyone get through. Shine, grinning. Time to show these fools why Tempest is untouchable. Zijin, calmly, understood. Their numbers are irrelevant. Victory is inevitable. Maribel's army was well-equipped and disciplined, but they underestimated the strategic brilliance of Tempest's forces. Using a mix of magical barriers, illusion traps, and decoy units, Tempest soldiers led the invaders into carefully planned ambushes. Maribel, watching from a distance, annoyed. Impressive, but futile. No amount of strategy will save them from the Chaos Dragon. Tempest's forces continued to overwhelm Maribel's army with a combination of teamwork and superior tactics. Diablo unleashed devastating dark magic, dismantling entire squads with ease while taunting his opponents. Geld created defensive strongholds, protecting the rear lines and ensuring no reinforcements could breach the labyrinth. Shine, wielding her greatsword, tore through enemy lines with brute force, laughing gleefully as she crushed opposition. Benimaru, don't overextend. Focus on the objective, neutralizing their commanders. Meanwhile, the nobles and citizens watching the battle through the magical projections in the labyrinth were in awe of Tempest's efficiency. King Gazel, Rimuru's forces, they're more organized than even some royal armies. Queen Elmesia, that's because they fight not just for survival, but for each other. Back on the main battlefield, Malim and Rimuru intensified their efforts against the Chaos Dragon. Malim, Rimuru, the artifact is deep in his chest. Can you reach it? Rimuru, leave it to me. Rimuru activated Omni-Evolution, adapting to the Chaos Dragon's movements and creating an opening. Using a combination of Beelzebub and his Thousand Blades moon style, he maneuvered around the dragon's massive frame and struck with surgical precision, targeting the artifact's energy flow. At the same time, Malim poured her emotions into her attacks, calling out to Gaia with every strike. Malim, Gaia, remember who you are? You're not a monster, you're my friend. Her voice seemed to reach the dragon, and its thrashing slowed. Seizing the moment, Rimuru used Beelzebub to envelop the artifact in a vortex of corrosive energy, severing its connection to Maria Bell. The Chaos Dragon let out one final, ear-splitting roar before collapsing to the ground, its body trembling as the corrupted energy dissipated. As the Chaos Dragon lay on the ground, defeated but still trembling with residual corrupted energy, Raphael's voice echoed in Rimuru's mind. Raphael, Master, the Chaos Dragon's energy and core contain valuable data. I recommend absorbing it to neutralize the corruption and allow me to analyze it fully. This will also prevent Maria Bell from attempting to regain control. Rimuru, got it, Raphael. Malim, stand back. I'll handle this from here. Malim, hesitating. Rimuru, will Gaia be okay? Rimuru, smiling softly. Trust me, Malim. I'll make sure he's safe. Malim nodded, stepping back reluctantly as Rimuru extended his hand, activating Beelzebub. A dark vortex swirled around the Chaos Dragon's massive form, drawing in its remaining energy and the corrupted core. As the core dissolved into energy and was absorbed, Rimuru's body glowed faintly, and Raphael immediately began processing the influx of data. Raphael, analysis underway. This process will allow me to understand and reverse the corruption caused by the artifact. Additionally, I can store Gaia's essence for Malim, preserving it until a suitable restoration process is found. Malim, tears welling up. Thank you, Rimuru, thank you. Rimuru gave her a reassuring nod, turning his attention back to the battlefield, where Mariabelle's army was collapsing under the relentless assault of Tempest generals. From her elevated position, Mariabelle Rosso stood amidst the chaos, her elegant gown now disheveled and her expression twisted in rage. Watching the Chaos Dragon fall and her elite forces being decimated, she clenched her fists, her frustration boiling over. Mariabelle, how dare he? How dare that slime ruin everything I've built? Desperate, she activated her unique skill, Greed, focusing all her energy on Rimuru. The skill's power lashed out like invisible chains, attempting to take hold of Rimuru's desires and twist them to her will. Mariabelle's voice echoed with malicious intent as her skill took effect. Mariabelle, you desire power, don't you, Rimuru? Serve me, and I'll grant you everything you've ever wanted. Wealth, influence, dominion over the world. For a brief moment, the air around Rimuru shimmered, but then it dissipated entirely. Raphael, unique skill, greed has no effect. Master's willpower. Rimuru, sighing. You really thought that would work on me? My desires don't control me. I'm not like you. Mariabelle's eyes widened in disbelief, but before she could react further, Rimuru's aura flared. Rimuru's expression turned cold. In a split second, he vanished from his position, using spatial motion to close the distance between them. Mariabelle, gasping what? Before she could raise her defenses, Rimuru appeared right in front of her, his blade already drawn. The thousand blades moon style flashed as he delivered a precise, devastating thrust directly to her heart. Rimuru, calmly. You made a fatal mistake, Mariabelle. You underestimated Tempest, and more importantly, you underestimated me. Mariabelle staggered back, clutching her chest as blood began to seep from the wound. Her eyes filled with shock and rage as she crumpled to the ground. Mariabelle, weakly, this can't be. I was supposed to rule it all. Her voice faded as her life slipped away. As Mariabelle's lifeless body hit the ground, the battlefield fell silent. Her once formidable army lay in ruins, and the chaos that had engulfed Tempest was finally quelled. The citizens inside the labyrinth, watching the live projection of the events unfold, erupted into deafening cheers. Voices in the crowd. Rimuru-sama did it. He defeated her. Tempest is unstoppable. That dragon. I can't believe they handled it so efficiently. Even against such overwhelming odds, Rimuru-sama never faltered. On the battlefield, Rimuru sheathed his sword, his eyes scanning the remnants of the chaos. His generals, Benimaru, Cheyenne, Sui, and others, were already organizing the cleanup and securing any remaining threats. Rimuru, good work, everyone. The battle here is over, but we can't relax just yet. Right when he was about to say something else, Sui appeared before him kneeling with a report. Sui, Rimuru-sama, one of my spies has sent an urgent report. Rubrios is currently under attack. It appears to be Granbelle's forces leading the assault. Rimuru's eyes narrowed, his suspicions confirmed. Rimuru, so it really is Granbelle. Do we have any idea about the scale of the attack or their objective? Sui, the enemy forces are large, well-coordinated, and seem to be targeting key locations within Rubrios. The cathedral and luminous stronghold appear to be their primary objectives. Raphael, confirmation, Granbelle's attack aligns with his knowledge of luminous secret. It is highly probable his goal is the sealed body beneath her stronghold. Rimuru, that's what I was afraid of. It's as we thought. Granbelle's targeting Luminous directly. We need to get to her before things escalate any further. He turned to Benimaru, his trusted right hand. Rimuru, Benimaru, you're in charge here. Oversee the cleanup. Shizu will allow help you and ensure the citizens can return safely. Prioritize rebuilding efforts and make sure everything's back to normal soon. I'm going to Rubrios with Zijin and Cheyenne. Benimaru, nodding. Understood, Rimuru-sama. You can count on us. Rimuru's gaze shifted to Diablo, who was standing nearby with his usual devilish grin. Rimuru, Diablo, keep an eye out for any stragglers or hidden traps Mariabelle might have left behind. Diablo, bowing deeply. Of course, Rimuru-sama. Leave it all to me. I shall ensure Tempest remains untouchable. Rimuru, ready to teleport to Rubrios, with Zijin and Cheyenne standing dutifully beside him. He was focused on the mission ahead when a familiar voice called out from behind him. Chloe, sensei, sensei. Rimuru turned to see Chloe running toward him, her face filled with determination. He waited as she approached, sensing her resolve but unsure of her intentions. Rimuru, smiling gently. Chloe, are you and the others all right? I told you all to stay inside the labyrinth where it's safe. Chloe, nodding. Yes, we're all fine. Everything's safe in the labyrinth. But her tone shifted, and her eyes were filled with urgency. Chloe, I want to go with you to Rubrios. Rimuru blinked, surprised by her request. Rimuru, Chloe, no. It's too dangerous. You've seen what just happened here. Rubrios is in the middle of its own crisis, and I can't afford to put you at risk. Chloe, pleading. Sensei, I understand the danger, but I feel like I have to be there. I don't know why, but it's like something is calling me. Please, let me go with you. Rimuru frowned, trying to discern if this was just a whim or something more. He glanced at Cheyenne, who shrugged but kept her usual confident demeanor, and then at Zijin, who remained silent and focused, trusting Rimuru's judgment. Rimuru, sighing. Chloe, this isn't a game. If something happens to you, I'll never forgive myself. Chloe, firmly. Sensei, you've taught us to trust our instincts, right? I don't know what's waiting in Rubrios, but I feel like I need to be there. Please, trust me on this. Rimuru paused, his mind racing. He knew Chloe was special, and her instincts had proven uncanny before. After a moment of consideration, he let out a resigned sigh. Rimuru, nodding. All right, Chloe, you can come, but you stay close to me at all times. No wandering off, no trying to fight on your own. Got it. Chloe, beaming, got it. Thank you, Sensei. Rimuru turned back to his companions. Rimuru, Zijin, Cheyenne, keep an eye on her too. If things get out of hand, I want you to prioritize her safety. Zijin, bowing, understood, Rimuru-sama. Cheyenne, smiling. Don't worry, Rimuru-sama. I'll keep Chloe safe no matter what. With everything settled, Rimuru activated spatial motion, and the four of them disappeared in a flash of light, leaving the rest getting ready to escort the guests to their territories. The joyful cheers of the festival's final tournament were abruptly interrupted by the resounding roar of explosions. Shockwaves shook the streets of Tempest, and panic started spreading like wildfire. The sky above Tempest darkened as smoke began to rise, signaling the beginning of an orchestrated attack. Simultaneously, far in Rubrios, another series of explosions echoed, signaling the second front of the assault. This was no mere coincidence. It was a coordinated strike led by the Rosso family. The attack on Tempest. In Tempest, Maria Bel Rosso led the assault with a group of highly trained elite forces, a mix of mercenaries, powerful magic casters, and summoned creatures. They stormed through the outskirts, launching attacks on various critical points. Her strategy was brutal yet methodical, targeting Tempest's key infrastructure. Rimuru's contingency plan. Before panic could fully settle in, a calm and familiar voice echoed throughout the city. Raphael, via magical speakers. Attention, citizens of Tempest. Please remain calm. This situation is under control. You will all be transported to a safe location immediately. Follow the instructions of the Tempest police. Your safety is our priority. Tempest had always been ready for an attack, thanks to Rimuru's foresight and Raphael's meticulous planning. Within seconds, transportation portals appeared all over the city. Tempest guards, police, and volunteers guided the panicked citizens into the portals, which transported them to a secure floor deep within the labyrinth. The labyrinth refuge. The designated floor of the labyrinth was an exact replica of Tempest's main town, complete with homes, restaurants, and markets. The citizens were amazed as they stepped into the labyrinthine refuge. A noble from Inglesia. This is incredible. They created a safe haven like this within the labyrinth. A king. Not only that, but the speed of their response. Tempest is far more advanced than we imagined. A queen. To think they've evacuated the entire city without chaos. This is extraordinary. The efficiency and preparedness of Tempest left everyone in awe. Meanwhile, on the surface, automatic barriers had activated around Tempest's most critical buildings. These barriers were designed by Rimuru, Vesta, Rapahel, and reinforced with magic by Raphael. Mariabel's forces found themselves frustrated as their attacks bounced harmlessly off the barriers. Mariabel, TCH. So they've thought of everything, have they? No matter. We'll breach these defenses eventually. Her calm confidence showed, but deep down, she felt the weight of Tempest's ingenuity. Projections for the people. To ease the fears of the evacuated citizens and prevent unrest, Raphael used the labyrinth's magical projection system to display live feeds of the battles happening outside. Raphael, to all citizens, rest assured that your safety is our utmost priority. For transparency, we will now show you the current state of the battle and the identities of our attackers. The citizens gasped as the projections lit up. Massive screens floated in the air, showing different battlefronts. On one screen, Maria Bel and her forces could be seen clashing with Tempest's defenses. Her commanding presence and sharp orders revealed her as the mastermind behind the attack. A merchant. Is that the Rosso family? What do they want with Tempest? A knight from Blumend. The Rosso family is a powerful faction. This must be a calculated move, but Tempest seems to be handling it well. Another screen showed Rubrios, where Granbel Rosso was leading his assault. His forces were fighting against luminous Valentine's knights, and the devastation was evident. A noble, Granbel Rosso. So this is a two-pronged attack. How will Rimuru and the Holy Church handle this? A citizen. I trust Lord Rimuru. He always has a plan. The nobility's conversations. As the people watched, the nobles and leaders gathered in small groups, discussing the situation. King Gazel. Rimuru has thought far ahead. To create a city this prepared for an attack is no small feat. Queen Elmesia. Tempest's technological and magical advancements are beyond anything I've seen. Maria Bel may have underestimated them. King of Blumend. This is why we allied with Tempest. Rimuru has proven time and again that he is a leader who anticipates every possibility. The public's reaction. Amid the murmurs of the nobles, the general public shared their thoughts. Child, look mama. The bad guys can't even break the shields. Parent. Yes, sweetheart. Lord Rimuru will protect us. He always does. Adventurer. I've traveled all over the world, and I've never seen a city this prepared. Rimuru truly is a genius. As the chaos unfolded in Tempest, the live projections displayed an even more shocking scene that sent waves of fear through the evacuated citizens and nobles alike. The image shifted to a massive black dragon, its scales gleaming like obsidian and its red eyes glowing with unbridled rage. The ground beneath it cracked as it roared, shaking the very fabric of the barriers protecting Tempest. The citizens gasped. A noble from Sarion. That's the Chaos Dragon. But it was sealed long ago. How is it here? King Gazel. Malim Nava herself sealed it in the past. For it to reappear now means someone's tampered with that seal. But who? Queen Elmesia. It's Maria Bel Rosso. Only someone as cunning and reckless as her would dare to awaken such a beast. The projection zoomed in on Maria Bel Rosso, standing at a distance from the battlefield, her confident smirk belying the chaos she had unleashed. Her golden hair flowed like a crown, and her piercing eyes shone with a hunger for destruction. She held a small, enchanted artifact in her hand, which glowed faintly as she issued commands to the Chaos Dragon, now under her complete control. Maria Bel, mocking tone, run, little monsters, run. Let's see how your precious demon, Lord Rimuru, handles this. Even Malim couldn't completely destroy it. This dragon is a force of nature, pure destruction, pure chaos. And now it's mine. The Chaos Dragon unleashed a devastating roar, and a beam of black energy shot from its maw, striking one of Tempest's outer barriers. Though the barrier held, cracks began to form. Back in the projection area of the labyrinth refuge, Malim Nava, who had been casually snacking, froze mid-bite as her eyes locked on the image of the Chaos Dragon. Her normally carefree demeanor was replaced by a mix of shock, anger, and sadness. Malim, that's Gaia, my pet, my friend. What have they done to you? Rimuru. Malim, you're saying that's your pet? Malim, nodding furiously, yes. I raised him when he was just a hatchling. He wasn't like this. He was gentle and kind. Rimuru placed a hand on Malim's shoulder, his expression calm but resolute. Rimuru, don't worry. We'll stop him, and we'll find a way to save him. Malim, clenching her fists, you'd better. And when I find whoever did this, they're gonna regret it. The Chaos Dragon's rampage. The live feed shifted back to the battlefield. The Chaos Dragon smashed its tail into the ground, creating a massive shockwave that sent Maria Bel's enemies and even some of her own forces flying. The sheer destructive force of the beast was undeniable. Maria Bel, perfect. Such magnificent power. This is what true dominance looks like. As the dragon rampaged, Tempest's defenders mobilized. Cheyenne, Benimaru, Diablo, and Zijin took charge, positioning themselves strategically around the Chaos Dragon. Dragon, once Malim's beloved pet, now reduced to a mindless beast of fury, rampaged across the battlefield. The sight of its raw destructive power was both awe-inspiring and heartbreaking, especially for Malim, who had sealed it long ago to prevent this very scenario. Malim stood beside Rimuru, her expression a mix of sorrow and determination. Malim, Gaia, I didn't want it to come to this. I thought sealing you would protect you, but now. Rimuru, calmly, Malim, we'll save him. Together, I'll make sure of it. She looked at Rimuru, her fiery spirit rekindling. Malim, you're right. Let's do this. But no killing. We have to find a way to break Maribel's control and bring Gaia back. The Chaos Dragon unleashed a deafening roar that reverberated across the battlefield, followed by a destructive energy wave that blasted the ground beneath it. Rimuru raised his hand, summoning layers of multiple barriers to deflect the attack, while Malim soared into the air, activating her Malim eye to pinpoint weaknesses in the dragon's corrupted energy flow. Rimuru, to Raphael, analyze the control artifact. Find out how Maria Bel is manipulating Gaia. Raphael, understood. Analyzing. Artifact located. It emits a control wavelength embedded deep in the Chaos Dragon's core. Suggest severing the link or neutralizing the artifact holder. Malim darted around the Chaos Dragon, her Dragon Nova attack striking with precision, but holding back enough not to inflict lethal damage. Meanwhile, Rimuru activated Omni Evolution, synchronizing his power level with the Chaos Dragon's immense energy output. Malim, dodging an energy beam. Rimuru, I'll distract him while you figure out how to sever that control. Don't get hit by his tail. It's fast. Rimuru, got it. Be careful up there. As Malim engaged Gaia head-on, Rimuru used Beelzebub to create energy tendrils that attempted to wrap around the Chaos Dragon's limbs and slow its movements. The beast thrashed wildly, smashing the ground with its claws and tail, but Rimuru's adaptive skills allowed him to predict and evade its attacks with precision. Arrival in Rubrios. When they reappeared, they were met with a chaotic scene. Smoke rose from distant buildings, and the sky was tinged red with flames. The once beautiful domain of Luminous Valentine was under siege. Rimuru, gritting his teeth. Granbell really didn't hold back, did he? Chloe, quietly. It's worse than I imagined. Sensei, this feels familiar. Rimuru glanced at her, a spark of concern flickering in his mind. Rimuru, thinking, what could Chloe be sensing? Raphael, Master, I recommend proceeding with caution. There are multiple high-level enemies detected nearby, including one matching Granbell Rosso's signature. Rimuru, figures. All right, let's move carefully and find Luminous. She'll know what's going on here. As they moved through the city, the devastation became more evident. Streets were littered with debris, buildings burned, and the panicked cries of citizens echoed through the air. Soldiers loyal to Luminous fought valiantly against Granbell's forces, but it was clear they were being overwhelmed. Cheyenne, gritting her teeth. These scum dare to cause this much destruction? Rimuru-sama, let me crush them. Rimuru, shaking his head. Not yet. We need to find Luminous first. If Granbell's after the sealed body beneath her stronghold, this chaos is just a distraction. Chloe, looking around. This feels so wrong. It's like something's pulling me toward the cathedral. Rimuru glanced at her, his suspicions deepening. Raphael, Master, I have detected an abnormal energy signature near the cathedral. It appears to be a convergence of Granbell's forces and an unknown power source. Luminous Valentine is likely in that vicinity. Rimuru, to the group, the cathedral's our destination. I have detected something major there. Stay sharp. The cathedral was a battlefield, its once majestic halls now echoing with the clash of steel and the cries of war. Granbell and Hinata were locked in an intense duel at the center of the chaos, their blades colliding with such force that shockwaves rippled through the air. Around them, the Holy Knights fought valiantly against Granbell's soldiers, trying to protect their home and Luminous. Rimuru, Cheyenne, Zijin, and Chloe arrived at the scene just in time to witness the carnage. Rimuru's sharp eyes immediately analyzed the situation. Rimuru, to Zijin, I sense another strong presence nearby. It's not Granbell. It feels different. Go check it out, and if it is one of Granbell men, deal with it. Zijin, bowing, understood, Rimuru-sama. Without hesitation, Zijin disappeared, his movements so fast they left barely a ripple in the air. Rimuru turned to Cheyenne, whose grip on her weapon tightened as she watched the battle unfold. Rimuru, Cheyenne, assist the knights. Clear out as many of Granbell's soldiers as you can, but don't let your guard down. They're not ordinary grunts. Cheyenne, grinning, leave it to me, Rimuru-sama. These fools won't know what hit them. Cheyenne dashed into the fray, her blade slicing through enemy ranks with terrifying precision. Her overwhelming strength immediately tipped the scales in the knight's favor. Rimuru then turned to Chloe, whose wide eyes were glued to the battle between Hinata and Granbell. Rimuru, Chloe, stay here. Hide behind that wall. I don't want you getting hurt. Chloe, reluctantly, but Sensei. Rimuru, placing a hand on her head. I promise, I'll handle this. Just stay safe, okay? Chloe nodded reluctantly and hid behind the wall, her instincts screaming at her that something monumental was about to happen. The duel, Hinata versus Granbell. Granbell, a legendary hero, exuded a calm yet menacing aura. His every movement was deliberate, his mastery of the sword evident in the way he countered Hinata's precise strikes with ease. His sword, glowing faintly with divine energy, parried and deflected Hinata's attacks like it was an extension of his own body. Granbell, mocking. Is this really all you've got, Hinata? For the so-called leader of the Holy Knights, you're nothing but a disappointment. Hinata, gritting her teeth. Don't underestimate me, old man. You'll regret it. She lunged forward with blinding speed, her blade aiming for Granbell's heart. But he sidestepped effortlessly, his counterstrike forcing her to leap back to avoid being skewered. Granbell, chuckling, still so predictable. You've always relied on precision and logic in battle, but you lack the instinct to truly dominate. Tell me, why haven't you awakened your hero's egg yet? Afraid of what it'll turn you into. Hinata's eyes widened for a fraction of a second before she regained her composure. Hinata, I don't need some hero's egg to take you down. She unleashed a flurry of strikes, her blade glowing with magical energy as she used her disintegration technique. The holy energy surged toward Granbell, who smirked and raised his sword, effortlessly dispersing the attack. Granbell, disintegration? Really? How quaint. Let me show you how a real hero fights. He stepped forward, his blade coated in an aura of pure, condensed magic. In a single motion, he unleashed a devastating slash that shattered the ground beneath them and forced Hinata to retreat. Raphael, analysis. Granbell's power exceeds Hinata's by approximately 30%. However, his movements suggest that he's holding back. It is likely he intends to draw out her potential. Rimuru, thinking, this guy, he's playing with her. But why? Suddenly, Raphael's voice interrupted his thoughts. Raphael, warning, Luminous Valentine's life force is weakening. Immediate action is required. Rimuru, to himself, so he really is after her. This ends now. He glanced at Chloe, who was still hiding behind the wall. Rimuru, Chloe, stay here no matter what. I'll be back. Granbell turned his piercing gaze to Rimuru and grinned. Granbell, ah, the infamous demon, Lord Rimuru. I was wondering when you'd show up. Rimuru, calmly. Granbell, you've caused enough trouble. Stand down, or I'll make you. Granbell, laughing. Oh, you're welcome to try, slime. But don't think for a second that you can stop me. This world needs change, and I'll be the one to bring it. Rimuru, I don't have time for your speeches. Let's end this. Granbell's grin widened as he raised his sword, the divine aura around him intensifying. Granbell, very well. Show me what you've got, Demon Lord. The cathedral's lower levels trembled under the weight of combat as Zijin descended further into the shadows, following the source of the mysterious power Rimuru had detected. The stench of blood and the sound of steel colliding echoed through the narrow halls. His keen senses led him to an open chamber littered with the defeated bodies of knights who had valiantly tried to defend Rubrios. At the center of the carnage stood a figure, a tall, armored insectoid with an imposing presence, his body radiating an aura of malice. His exoskeleton shimmered like black obsidian, and the twin blades he held glowed with an eerie green light, pulsating with life-draining energy. He looked up as Zijin entered, his compound eyes narrowing with recognition. Gazel, ah, finally, a worthy opponent. Zijin's golden carapace shimmered under the dim light, his forewings twitching slightly as he analyzed the enemy before him. Despite the chaos around them, Zijin's posture was calm, his piercing gaze unshaken. Gazel, I am Gazel, the sword and protector of my lord Granbell. And you are quite the specimen. Zijin didn't reply. His stance shifted slightly, and in a flash, he dashed forward, his claws aimed directly at Gazel's chest. Gazel, smirking as he parried. Oh, not much of a talker, are you? Very well, let's see what you're capable of. The clash of insectoid titans. Zijin's claws clashed against Gazel's twin blades, the impact releasing a shockwave that cracked the stone floor beneath them. The air between the two buzzed with the intensity of their auras. Zijin's movements were fluid and precise, every attack calculated and efficient, while Gazel fought with a mix of raw power and refined technique. Gazel spun his blades, unleashing a barrage of strikes that seemed to cut through the air itself. Zijin evaded with near-perfect timing, his exoskeleton gleaming as he countered with a flurry of his own attacks. Gazel, impressive. Your precision is almost mechanical, but let's see how you handle this. Gazel leapt into the air, spinning rapidly as his twin blades emitted a spiraling wave of green energy that tore through the chamber. Zijin reacted instantly, summoning a multi-layered barrier to absorb the attack. The energy crashed against the barrier, creating a blinding explosion that shook the room. As the dust settled, Zijin dashed through the debris, his claws glowing with a faint golden light. Zijin, calmly, you talk too much. He struck with a piercing drill strike, his claw spinning like a high-speed drill aimed directly at Gazel's chest. Gazel crossed his blades to block, but the force of the attack sent him skidding backward, his feet carving grooves into the stone floor. The power of Gazel. Gazel steadied himself, his eyes narrowing. Gazel, huh? Not bad, but you're not the only one with tricks up your sleeve. He plunged his blades into the ground, and the green energy that radiated from them spread like veins through the floor. Suddenly, spikes of energy erupted from below, aiming to impale Zijin. Zijin leapt into the air as he avoided the deadly spikes. Gazel capitalized on the moment, appearing behind Zijin in a burst of speed and slashing downward. Zijin twisted midair, deflecting the strike with his claws, but the force sent him crashing into the ground. Gazel didn't let up, descending on Zijin with a series of relentless strikes. Zijin's barriers flickered as he blocked and countered, each collision sending sparks flying. Zijin's counterattack. Despite Gazel's overwhelming offense, Zijin remained calm, his mind processing every movement with cold efficiency. Zijin, softly, enough. He suddenly unleashed a burst of golden energy, forcing Gazel to retreat. Zijin's aura intensified, his carapace glowing with divine light as he activated his true form, releasing his full power. Gazel's eyes widened slightly, though he quickly composed himself. Gazel, so, you've been holding back. Good, let's make this interesting. Zijin dashed forward with blinding speed, his claws glowing with golden energy as he unleashed his ultimate technique, Dimension Severance. His claws sliced through space itself, creating rifts that distorted reality. Gazel barely managed to dodge, but the attack grazed his armor, leaving a deep scar across his chest. The two clashed again, their movements a blur as they exchanged blows at lightning speed. Gazel's twin blades hummed with destructive energy, but Zijin's precise strikes and barriers kept him at bay. Finally, Zijin saw his opening. He feinted with a low strike, forcing Gazel to block, then unleashed a powerful upward slash with both claws, shattering Gazel's defenses. Gazel staggered, blood dripping from his wounds. Gazel, grinning weakly, you're strong, but this isn't over yet. My lord's plans will. Before he could finish, Zijin delivered a final, decisive strike, piercing Gazel's chest with his glowing claws. Gazel's body shuddered, and his aura faded as he collapsed to the ground. The cathedral trembled once more as the aftermath of an explosion sent luminous Valentine crashing through one of the grand stone walls. Her usually pristine and regal appearance was marred, her clothing torn, her pale skin smeared with blood and dust. She groaned as she pushed herself to her feet, her wounds already knitting together at an incredible speed thanks to her vampire regeneration. Rimuru turned his gaze to where Luminous had come from. Emerging from the smoke was a woman, seemingly in her mid-20s, with long black hair and eyes that glowed faintly with malice. Her expression was blank, her movements unnatural, as if she were a puppet being controlled. Her presence exuded an oppressive aura of darkness, and Rimuru could tell immediately that something was wrong. She wasn't entirely herself. The woman stared coldly at Luminous. As Rimuru turned to assess the situation, his senses flared. A subtle but calculated shift in the air signaled that Granbell had seized the moment. In the midst of her fierce duel with Granbell, Hinata Sakaguchi had been slowly losing ground. Granbell, a legendary hero, was relentless. His every move was precise, his strikes executed with a level of mastery that forced Hinata into a purely defensive position. Granbell, mocking, still clinging to hope. Are you, girl? You failed to awaken the hero's egg within you. All your brilliance, all your pride as the captain of the Holy Knights, and this is what you amount to. Hinata gritted her teeth, her rapier moving in a blur as she parried another of his devastating strikes. Hinata, panting, don't underestimate me. I don't need some hero awakening to stop you. Granbell smirked, feigning another strike before slipping past her guard. Granbell, grinning cruelly, foolish girl, I'll show you the price of arrogance. With a sudden burst of speed, he drove his sword through her chest. Hinata's eyes widened in shock as blood spilled from her mouth. She collapsed to the ground, her weapon clattering beside her as her life force began to fade. The sight of Hinata falling caused Luminous to snap. Her red eyes flared with unrestrained fury, her aura surging as she screamed. Luminous, roaring, Granbell, you will pay for this. Fueled by pure rage, she shot toward Granbell with incredible speed, the air cracking around her as she unleashed her full power. Granbell, unfazed, raised his sword, their blades clashing in a fierce new bout of combat. As the rage fueled her, she heard a voice in her mind. All the requirements have been met. Evolution of the unique skill Lust to the ultimate skill Asmodeus, Lord of Lust. As Luminous and Granbell began their battle, Rimuru turned back to the dark-haired woman who had assaulted Luminous. Her expression remained vacant, her dark aura intensifying as she drew closer. Rimuru narrowed his eyes. Rimuru, looks like I'll have to deal with you. As the battles raged on, Chloe Aubert ran to where Hinata lay on the floor, blood pooling around her. Chloe, kneeling beside her, voice trembling. Sensei, hold on, please don't die. Hinata's breathing was shallow, her face pale as her life ebbed away. She gave Chloe a weak smile. Hinata, softly, Chloe, you've grown so much. I'm proud of you. Tears welled up in Chloe's eyes as she clutched Hinata's hand. Chloe, pleading no, don't say that. I can save you. I have to. The dark-haired woman charged at Rimuru with inhuman speed, her fists glowing with malevolent energy. Rimuru raised his hand, summoning a multiple barrier, but her strike shattered it like glass. He leapt back, analyzing her movements. Rimuru. To himself, she's strong, but there's no coordination in her attacks. It's like she's running on instinct. Suddenly, a surge of power erupted from Luminous. It wasn't a gradual increase. It was as if a divine force had flooded her being. Her crimson eyes glowed with an ethereal brilliance, and her aura, already formidable, became overwhelming. The air itself trembled in her presence. Granbell, who had been fighting with a smug confidence, faltered for the first time. His instincts as a hero screamed at him that something had shifted. Luminous was no longer the same opponent he had been toying with moments ago. Granbell, narrowing his eyes. What is this? Where is this sudden strength coming from? Luminous, smiling coldly. You wouldn't understand, Granbell. It seems the heavens have decided to favor me after all. You wanted me to stand alone, didn't you? Let me show you what that looks like. Granbell gritted his teeth, realizing he no longer had the upper hand. He deflected her blade with increasing difficulty, each clash sending shocks through his arms. Granbell, grunting. You think this newfound power will save you? I'm still a hero. I've faced gods and demons alike. Luminous didn't respond with words. Instead, she pressed her assault, her swordplay becoming relentless. Her strikes came from every angle, leaving Granbell no room to breathe. Luminous, coldly. You've underestimated me for the last time. Granbell, now desperate, unleashed his full power. His aura flared as he channeled everything he had into a final assault. His blade shone with golden light as he launched a barrage of attacks, each strike shaking the cathedral to its foundation. Granbell, roaring, I am the hero. I am the one destined to rule. You are nothing but a relic of the past. Luminous. Luminous, softly. Granbell, it's over. With one final clash, Luminous disarmed Granbell, her blade sending his sword flying across the room. Before he could react, her sword glowed with a blinding light. Granbell, wide-eyed. No, this can't be. With a swift and decisive motion, Luminous slashed across his chest. The radiant energy from her sword consumed him, tearing through his defenses and sealing his fate. Granbell staggered, his body trembling as the light faded from his eyes. Granbell, weakly, how could I lose? He collapsed to the ground, lifeless. The once proud hero who had caused so much chaos and pain was no more. As Chloe knelt beside Hinata, her small hands trembling, she tried desperately to stop the bleeding, but it was no use. Hinata's pale face was etched with pain, yet her sharp eyes softened as they met Chloe's tearful gaze. Chloe, no, don't say that, Hinata. You can't die. Please hold on. Hinata's lips curled into a faint smile, a shadow of her usual stoic demeanor. She weakly lifted her trembling hand and placed it gently on Chloe's shoulder. Hinata, in a fading voice, Chloe, there's no time. I've fought for so long, and now it's your turn. Take this and live. Live for the future. Before Chloe could respond, a faint, radiant light began to emanate from Hinata's chest. A small orb of light, glowing with incredible warmth and power, emerged. Chloe's breath caught in her throat as she instinctively reached out her hands to cradle the orb. The light pulsed gently, and in that moment, Chloe felt an overwhelming rush of emotions and memories. Not just from Hinata's light. Rimuru dodged another swift attack from the mysterious woman, her blade grazing his cheek as her movements became more erratic and aggressive. Despite her precision and strength, there was something about her attacks that felt disjointed, as if she were battling inner turmoil. Rimuru, thinking, who is she, and why does she feel so familiar? Raphael's voice echoed in his mind. Raphael. Suggestion, use the mask of Shizuozawa. There is a strong connection between this individual and the mask. The result may provide clarity. Rimuru frowned, but trusted Raphael's judgment. He waited for the right moment. With a series of deft maneuvers, he parried her strikes, sidestepped her ferocious lunges, and used her momentum against her. In a calculated movement, he disarmed her, causing her blade to clatter to the ground. With a quick burst of speed, Rimuru closed the gap between them, immobilizing her with his enhanced strength. Before she could break free, he placed Shizu's mask on her face. As soon as the mask settled on her, a wave of darkness enveloped them both, swallowing everything around him. Inside the void, Rimuru blinked, looking around the endless expanse of blackness. The stillness was unnerving, and his senses felt dulled. Rimuru, Raphael, what's going on? Where am I? Raphael, you are inside the consciousness of the target. The mask acted as a medium to access her inner self. Remain alert. Rimuru took a cautious step forward when a faint light appeared in the distance. He made his way toward it, the black void gradually giving way to a glowing, dreamlike landscape. In the center of the light stood the mysterious woman, her back turned to him. Rimuru, cautiously, who are you? What's going on here? The woman turned slowly, her expression shifting from surprise to relief. Her dark, tormented eyes softened as they locked onto him. Before Rimuru could react, she rushed toward him, throwing her arms around him in a tight embrace. Mysterious woman, tearfully, Sensei, I finally found you. Rimuru stiffened, confusion written all over his face. Rimuru, Sensei, what are you talking about? Who are you? The woman pulled back slightly, her hands still gripping his shoulders. A small, bittersweet smile spread across her face. Mysterious woman, it's me, Chloe. I'm Chloe, but not the Chloe you know. I'm Chloe from the future. Rimuru's eyes widened, his mind racing to piece together what she had just said. Rimuru, Chloe? From the future? What are you talking about? Chloe stepped back, her face a mix of sadness and determination. Chloe, you died in the future, Rimuru. Everything fell apart after that. I couldn't accept it, so I've been traveling back in time with Hinata fused with me to change the future. But I couldn't do it. Every future lead to your death. Rimuru stared at her, trying to process the flood of information. Rimuru, wait, I die? How? What? Chloe shook her head, her voice trembling. Chloe, it's complicated. I've been trying over and over to change the future, but no matter what I do, the same things keep happening. I've lost count of how many timelines I've gone through. And now, she paused, her gaze shifting toward the distance. Rimuru, now what? Chloe, tell me what's going on. Chloe pointed toward the faint outline of a structure deeper in the void. Chloe, Hinata's still here. Her soul was trapped during one of the jumps. She's not dead, but she's in a prison, locked away in the deepest part of my consciousness. Rimuru's eyes narrowed, determination flaring within him. Rimuru, then let's go get her. We're not leaving anyone behind. Chloe's expression softened, tears welling in her eyes. Chloe, Sensei, thank you. I knew I could count on you. Rimuru and Chloe made their way toward the structure in the distance, the void around them shifting and twisting like a living entity. As they approached, the faint sound of a heartbeat echoed in the air. A massive, ornate gate loomed before them, pulsing with dark energy. Chains wrapped around it, glowing with strange runes that seemed to shift and change. Chloe, this is it. This is where Hinata is. Raphael, warning. The energy surrounding the gate is highly volatile. A direct approach could result in harm to both parties. Suggestion, use your ultimate skill to analyze and neutralize the barrier. Rimuru, nodding, got it. Leave this to me. Channeling Raphael, Rimuru extended his hand, the glow of his energy illuminating the void. As the chains began to crack and dissolve under his influence, Chloe watched silently, her hands clenched into fists. Chloe, please be careful. She's weak right now. As the final chain shattered, the gate slowly creaked open, revealing a small chamber bathed in soft, golden light. In the center lay Hinata, her body seemingly asleep, her sword clutched tightly to her chest. Rimuru stepped forward, his heart heavy as he looked down at her. Rimuru, Hinata, I'm here to bring you back. As he reached out to touch her, a faint smile appeared on her lips, and her eyes slowly opened. Hinata, weakly, Rimuru. Rimuru smiled gently. Rimuru, yeah, it's me. Let's go home. Rimuru stood over the sleeping Hinata, her faint breathing the only sign of life in the void-like chamber. With a final nod to Chloe, he turned to Raphael. Rimuru, Raphael, send us back. Raphael, understood. Initiating return to the physical plane. A bright light enveloped them, and in an instant, Rimuru and Hinata found themselves back at the cathedral. When Rimuru appeared, the sight before him was both heart-wrenching and hopeful. Luminous sat on the ground, her regal demeanor cast aside as she cradled Hinata's lifeless body. Her once vivid aura was dim, her expression filled with despair. Young Chloe knelt beside Luminous, her small hands trembling as she held one of Hinata's. The sound of Rimuru's arrival startled them. Both Luminous and Chloe looked up, their tear-streaked faces marked with shock and faint hope. Luminous, Rimuru, you're back. Chloe, her voice quivering. Sensei, is Hinata? Rimuru approached them, his calm yet determined presence filling the tense air. He crouched down beside Hinata and placed a gentle hand on her chest. Rimuru, don't worry. I'll save her. Trust me. Both Luminous and Chloe watched in silence, their hope hanging by a thread. Rimuru closed his eyes, focusing his energy. Raphael, executing revival protocol. Initiating transfer of stored life essence. A faint glow began to form in Rimuru's hand, taking the shape of a small orb of light. The orb hovered for a moment before descending into Hinata's chest, dissolving into her body. Everyone held their breath as they waited. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, Hinata's chest rose as she took a deep, shuddering breath. Her eyes slowly fluttered open, their usual sharpness replaced by a softness of confusion and relief. Hinata, weakly, Rimuru. Luminous. Chloe. Tears streamed down Luminous' face as she pulled Hinata into a tight embrace. Luminous, you reckless idiot. Don't you ever do this to me again. Chloe was crying openly now, clutching Hinata's hand as if she would never let go. As the emotional reunion unfolded, a sudden surge of energy radiated from Chloe. Her small body was enveloped in a brilliant light, causing everyone to shield their eyes. When the light faded, Chloe was no longer a child. Her adult form had returned, her long silver hair flowing down her back and her eyes glowing with newfound clarity. Chloe, whispering, I remember everything now, all the timelines, all the pain, and all of you. Rimuru stood up, looking at Chloe with a mix of awe and understanding. Rimuru, you've regained your memories? Chloe nodded, her expression firm. Chloe, yes. The hero's egg, Hinata's sacrifice, my time traveling. It's all come back to me. I'm whole again. Hinata, still weak, looked at Chloe with a faint smile. Hinata, softly, so it worked. You're here, Chloe, the real you. Chloe knelt beside Hinata, placing a hand over her heart. Chloe, thanks to you, Hinata. You gave me the strength to come back. I'll never forget that. Rimuru sighed deeply, finally allowing himself to relax. Rimuru, I don't know what kind of crazy mess we just got through, but I'm glad we're all still standing, more or less. Luminous wiped her tears, her usual sharpness returning. Luminous, you say that like it wasn't your insane plan that made it possible. But, thank you, Rimuru. Rimuru waved a hand dismissively. Rimuru. Yeah, no need to get all sentimental. Just focus on getting everyone healed and stabilized. He glanced at Chloe and Hinata, a small smile on his face. Rimuru, we're not out of the woods yet, but with all of us working together, I think we'll be fine. As the cathedral filled with the quiet hum of recovery magic and the warmth of reunion, Rimuru couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment. Despite the chaos and danger, his friends were safe, and they had overcome yet another insurmountable challenge. In a dimension shrouded in eternal twilight, far removed from the natural world, an ancient seal pulsates faintly with the energy of its creator. This seal, an intricate lattice of celestial runes and divine light, glows intermittently, as if struggling against the passage of time. Within its confines, a being of unparalleled beauty and dread stands motionless, like a statue carved from alabaster. The being is tall and androgynous, with an ethereal aura that blurs the lines between genders. His alabaster skin gleams faintly, untouched by time. Long, flowing silver hair cascades like liquid moonlight down to his back, shimmering with an unearthly radiance. Crimson eyes, glowing faintly even in their dormant state, peer into the void with an intensity that seems to pierce through dimensions. He wore a dark, obsidian armor adorned with runes and symbols of an ancient language, each piece a masterpiece forged in the fires of chaos. This is Artemis Valtherin, the sovereign of ruin, a being born alongside Veldanava, the creator god. The backstory of Artemis Valtherin, the birth of two forces. When the cosmos first sprang into existence, it was not a solitary act. Veldanava, the creator god, emerged as the embodiment of creation, light, and infinite possibility. Yet, as if to maintain balance, the universe gave birth to Artemis Valtherin at the same moment, a being who embodied destruction, darkness, and the cyclical nature of renewal. They were two sides of the same cosmic coin, bound by the natural laws of balance. For eons, Veldanava and Artemis existed in harmony. Their relationship was complex yet deeply entwined, like two siblings who understood each other's roles in the grand tapestry of existence. Veldanava would create galaxies, stars, and life, and Artemis would observe, ensuring that the cycle of creation and destruction was maintained. They believed their roles were complementary, two halves of a perfect whole. As Veldanava's creations grew more intricate and diverse, he began to see beauty in imperfection. To him, creation was an ongoing process, where life evolved, adapted, and thrived despite its flaws. He believed that the universe was a living entity, one that required time and nurturing to reach its full potential. Artemis, however, saw things differently. To them, imperfection was a flaw that could not be tolerated. Every mistake, every deviation from perfection, was a stain on existence itself. They believed in destruction as a means of refinement, a process of erasing the imperfect so that only perfection could remain. This ideological divide began to drive a wedge between them. What once was a partnership became a rivalry. Veldanava would create vibrant worlds teeming with life, and Artemis would judge them unworthy, erasing entire planets and civilizations with a sweep of their hand. To Artemis, they were doing what was necessary to maintain balance. To Veldanava, it was senseless annihilation. The final straw came when Veldanava created a world he deemed his masterpiece, a world rich with diversity, magic, and potential. This was the world that would one day become known as the home of Tempest and its inhabitants. Artemis, however, saw it as a chaotic mess, riddled with imperfection and doomed to fail. Against Veldanava's wishes, Artemis descended upon the world with the intent to destroy it and start anew. The clash between the two cosmic beings was cataclysmic, shaking the very fabric of reality. Planets were shattered, stars were extinguished, and the dimensional rift between their powers threatened to unravel existence itself. In the end, Veldanava's love for his creation and his unparalleled power allowed him to prevail. Using a fragment of his divine essence, he created a seal so powerful that it could contain even Artemis. He imprisoned Artemis in a dimension outside the reach of time and space, a prison known only to Veldanava. As Artemis was sealed away, his final words echoed through the void. You cannot silence me forever, Veldanava. Your precious creation will crumble under the weight of its flaws, and when I return, I will cleanse it of its imperfection. For millennia, Artemis remained sealed, his prison maintained by Veldanava's divine essence. However, with Veldanava's death, the seal began to weaken. Time and entropy slowly eroded its strength, allowing Artemis to regain fragments of his consciousness. This was not a result of any mortal interference or chaotic battle. It was a natural consequence of Veldanava's absence. Artemis, ever patient and calculating, bided his time, waiting for the moment when the seal would break entirely. In the Void Palace, seated upon his throne surrounded by swirling galaxies, Beerus watched the fracture of Artemis's prison with a mix of amusement and intrigue. He leaned forward, resting his chin on one hand, his golden eyes narrowing as the light of the dimensional collapse reflected in them. Artemis Valtherin, after all this time, you finally stir, Beerus muttered, his deep voice echoing across the void. A being that even Veldanava himself had to seal away. The sovereign of ruin, you were always a peculiar one. Your idea of perfection through destruction clashed beautifully with creation. How utterly fascinating. He stood, his aura rippling with subtle authority, the void itself trembling at his mere movement. But I'm not to interfere yet, he continued, a sly smile forming on his lips. I want to see what you'll do first, Artemis. What chaos will you sow? What path will you carve in this new world that knows not of you? Rimuru and the others will encounter you soon enough. Let's see if you're worth my entertainment. Name, Artemis Valtherin. Title, the Sovereign of Ruin. Alignment, chaotic neutral, driven by a twisted ideology. Abilities, Artemis wields Erebus, a cursed weapon that can shift between a sword, scythe, and spear. Their powers revolve around chaos manipulation, ancient magic, and reality warping abilities. Ultimate skill, Nemesis, Sovereign of Ruin. This skill allows Artemis to unravel the fabric of reality and rewrite it to their will. World Fracture, temporarily tears the battlefield into multiple dimensions, disorienting opponents. Entropic Absorption, absorbs the magicules and life force of their surroundings to fuel their power. Reset Protocol, Artemis can erase a target's existence completely, leaving no trace. This skill has limitations and requires preparation. Unique skill, Voidbringer. This skill grants Artemis unparalleled mastery over space and time. They can teleport instantly, create impenetrable barriers, and manipulate gravity to their advantage. Combat Expertise, Artemis is a master of multiple forms of combat, seamlessly switching between ranged and melee attacks. They also possess a terrifying presence that can paralyze weaker opponents. The aftermath of the battles left Tempest and Rubrios in a state of recovery, yet both nations displayed remarkable resilience. Rimuru, as always, took the lead in ensuring the safety and prosperity of all those under his care. The orcs from Tempest were dispatched to Rubrios, working tirelessly under Luminous' direction to rebuild the cathedral and fortify the city against future threats. Luminous, though reluctant to accept aid at first, had to admit that Rimuru's support was invaluable. Her knights coordinated with Tempest's skilled workers to reconstruct damaged structures. Streets that were once filled with chaos were now bustling again as the citizens of Rubrios saw the restoration unfold before their eyes. The collaboration symbolized the growing unity between Tempest and Rubrios. Meanwhile, Tempest itself had already been fully restored, thanks to the advanced technology and magic of its citizens. Buildings were fortified with reinforced barriers, streets were lined with fresh cobblestones, and a new layer of magical defenses was added to prevent similar large-scale attacks in the future. The labyrinth was also enhanced, with additional security measures and traps to prevent any unwelcome intrusions. Having regained her adult form and all her memories, Chloe found herself wrestling with her feelings for Rimuru. Though she was eternally grateful to him for saving Hinata, the flood of memories from her time traveling only reignited her deep affection for him. She tried to act casual, often spending time with Rimuru under the guise of helping him oversee the rebuilding efforts, but her longing glances and shy demeanor didn't go unnoticed. Shizu, who had been spending much of her time with Rimuru, picked up on Chloe's feelings. Though she remained composed, it was clear that there was a subtle tension between the two women. Rimuru, ever dense when it came to emotions, failed to notice the budding rivalry between Chloe and Shizu. In the weeks that followed, Tempest regained its celebratory atmosphere. The people, inspired by Rimuru's leadership, were eager to move forward. The festival's success, despite the chaos that followed, became a symbol of Tempest's unyielding spirit. Adventurers continued to flock to the labyrinth, merchants resumed their bustling trade, and diplomatic relations with other nations grew stronger. However, amidst the peace, a sense of foreboding lingered. Unbeknownst to Rimuru and the others, the days of peace were numbered. As the cracks in the seal widened, Artemis prepared to break free, his mind fixated on erasing Veldonava's flawed creation. His first target? Stay tuned to find out. Beerus, after watching Rimuru build Tempest, evolve, and become one of the strongest in the cardinal world, finally decided to give Rimuru a visit. It was a clear day in Tempest, streets bustling with activity, everybody happy, working. The bustling streets of Tempest fell eerily silent, a stark contrast to the usual lively atmosphere. The sudden, overwhelming change in the air was impossible to ignore. The temperature dropped, yet the air felt heavy, an oppressive, suffocating force that pushed down on everyone. People looked up at the sky in confusion and fear, whispering among themselves. What is this feeling? Cheyenne muttered as she instinctively reached for her sword, her hands trembling despite her strength. Benimaru clenched his fists, his fiery aura flickering weakly. I can't move. What is this force? Suddenly, the voice of the world echoed across Tempest with a message that reverberated not only in the ears, but deep within the soul. Attention people of Tempest, the one, the supreme, the beginning, the end, the god of destruction, Beerus, is descending. The announcement sent ripples of shock through everyone. Panic set in as people exchanged wide-eyed looks, murmurs spreading like wildfire. Who is this Beerus? Even the strongest warriors of Tempest, those who had faced and conquered countless enemies, felt something they hadn't in years, fear. Rimuru, sitting in his chambers, bolted upright as the words echoed in his mind. Before he could process it, Raphael's voice sounded in his consciousness, trembling in a way he had never heard before. Master, be extremely cautious. This presence, it is an incalculable force. I cannot analyze it. This entity, it surpasses all comprehension. Rimuru's usual calm wavered as he rushed outside, his aura surging in preparation for whatever was coming. Standing on the steps of his castle, he looked up at the sky, his eyes narrowing. The pressure in the air suddenly multiplied, and Rimuru felt his knees buckle. It was unlike anything he had ever encountered. His body, capable of withstanding even the most powerful forces, was being forced down by sheer will alone. Around him, the people of Tempest, citizens, soldiers, and even his generals, fell to their knees, powerless. Even Veldora, the mighty storm dragon, who stood tall against gods and calamities, was on one knee, his face grim and sweat dripping down his brow. Then, the sky itself seemed to tear apart. A radiant, divine light shone, forming a colossal, intricate golden door etched with runes and symbols of a language no one could comprehend. The door creaked open with a deep, resonating sound, and a figure emerged, stepping through with an otherworldly grace. It was Beerus, the one and only. He radiated an aura that was both beautiful and terrifying, a perfect blend of chaos and divinity. His presence seemed to bend reality around him. His form was tall and majestic, his piercing eyes glowing with an intensity that seemed to see through the fabric of existence. Behind him were 6 women, each one exuding a terrifying power in their own right. Velzer, Zerna, Urza, Beta, Sigma, and Delta followed closely, their beauty and grace matched only by the unimaginable strength they emanated. Beerus descended slowly, each step causing ripples in the air, and as his feet touched the ground, the very earth beneath him hummed with power. He surveyed the silent, trembling crowd, his gaze sweeping over them like a god inspecting his creation. Even Rimuru, with all his power and abilities, could not stand. His ultimate skill seemed useless against the sheer presence of this being. This is on a different level, Rimuru muttered, beads of sweat forming on his forehead as he struggled to look up. Beerus finally spoke, his voice calm, yet carrying a weight that made the world around him seem insignificant. So this is Tempest, the little kingdom that rose from the ashes, defying expectations at every turn. His words were laced with amusement, yet there was an edge to them that kept everyone on edge. You've built something remarkable, Rimuru Tempest, Beerus said, his eyes locking onto Rimuru. His gaze felt like a sword cutting through the slime's very essence. But I wonder, will it endure in the face of true power? Velzer, one of Beerus' wives, stepped forward, her voice like silk yet filled with menace. Darling, are you planning to test them already? Perhaps they deserve some time to prepare. Beerus smirked. Oh, I'm not here to destroy yet. I'm here to observe. For now, the tension in the air didn't lessen. Every person in Tempest, from the youngest child to the mightiest general, held their breath, waiting for what would happen next. Beerus then said one word, rise. The oppressive aura vanished in an instant. The air lightened, the winds began to flow again, and the sun shone warmly upon the bustling streets of Tempest. The citizens, who had been paralyzed by the sheer weight of his presence, slowly got to their feet, bewildered and trembling. Rimuru, still cautious, immediately sent a mental message to his generals and subordinates. Stand down. Do not act rashly. I will handle this. To Rimuru's astonishment, Beerus smiled faintly and said, smart. Rimuru froze. He heard me. Beerus glanced down at him, a glimmer of amusement in his eyes. Of course I heard you, Rimuru. Nothing escapes me. Not your orders, not your thoughts, not even the tiniest flicker of your doubt. This realm, this existence, it is all within my grasp. Behind Beerus, 5 ethereal figures descended gracefully. Each of them exuded a presence that rivaled gods, their divine auras making it clear they were far from ordinary beings. One of them, a regal woman with long, flowing silver hair and piercing blue eyes, locked her gaze on Veldora. Her lips curled into a faint smile as she spoke, her voice resonating with authority. So, my little brother, she said, her tone calm but firm, you've been behaving yourself. It seems this Rimuru has had a good influence on you. Veldora, who had been staring in stunned silence, flinched as if struck. His voice wavered. As Sister Velzer, the normally boisterous and confident storm dragon was uncharacteristically subdued, his demeanor like that of a scolded child. Rimuru, sensing the immense tension, gathered his resolve and stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the imposing figure before him. Who are you? Beerus turned his piercing eyes on Rimuru, his expression unreadable. Is this how you welcome your god, Rimuru Tempest? His tone was calm, but it carried an undeniable weight, one that pressed against Rimuru's very soul. Rimuru clenched his fists, steadying himself against the resurgence of fear. God. The word hung in the air as Beerus continued, his voice unyielding and absolute. I am Beerus, he said, his tone neither boastful nor modest, but simply matter of fact. The Supreme One, the god of destruction. The declaration sent ripples of shock through everyone present. Rimuru, his mind racing, could only stare in disbelief as the sheer magnitude of Beerus's presence became clear. Beerus walked gracefully toward Rimuru, his every step resonating through the air, making everyone feel the weight of his presence. Rimuru stood his ground, his mind racing to comprehend what was happening. The figure before him radiated a power so immense that it seemed to defy all logic and reason. Raphael whispered in his mind, Master, his power is beyond anything measurable. It transcends the limits of this world. Beerus stopped a few paces away from Rimuru, his piercing golden eyes locking onto him. Rimuru Tempest, he said, his voice calm, yet carrying an authority that demanded absolute attention. You have built a kingdom from nothing, united races that once fought each other, and defied fate itself to rise to power. I am intrigued. Rimuru, though cautious, maintained his composure. Why are you here? He asked, his voice steady but tinged with curiosity. Beerus smirked. I am Beerus, the god of destruction. I am the beginning and the end, the force that brings balance to existence. Where I walk, the cosmos tremble, and where I will, empires fall. I came here because I have been watching you, Rimuru. You entertain me. The word sent a chill down Rimuru's spine. To be the object of this being's entertainment could mean life or death. If you've been watching, then you know that I seek peace. Tempest is a place for all beings to coexist, Rimuru replied, cautiously choosing his words. Beerus chuckled lightly, a sound that was both amused and foreboding. Peace is a fragile concept. One spark, one wrong move, and it shatters like glass. But your efforts are admirable, I'll grant you that. Velzer stepped forward, her gaze shifting to Veldora. Little brother, it seems you have found a master worthy of your service. I see now why you have remained in this kingdom. Tell me, do you still retain your pride as a true dragon, or has it been tempered by this slime? Veldora, despite the overwhelming pressure, forced a grin. I am more powerful than ever and Rimuru is my friend, my sworn brother. Velzer raised an eyebrow, a hint of a smirk playing on her lips. Interesting. Beerus raised a hand, silencing the conversation. Enough chatter. I did not come here to reminisce about family bonds. I came here for two reasons. He turned his piercing gaze back to Rimuru. First, I wanted to see the one who has defied logic and rewritten destiny. You amuse me, Rimuru Tempest. That is rare. Rimuru couldn't help but feel both relieved and unsettled by the statement. And the second reason? Beerus gave a faint chuckle, his crimson eyes narrowing with amusement. The weight of his presence still hung in the air, making it hard for anyone to breathe properly. The second reason, you ask? Beerus spoke slowly, his voice carrying a tone of indifference that sent chills down Rimuru's spine. I wanted to see if the one they call the demon lord Rimuru Tempest could entertain me. Beerus looked at Rimuru with a sharp gaze, his voice laced with the kind of authority that demanded absolute attention. I will test you, he declared coldly, his eyes narrowing. Don't hold back. If you even dare to show a fraction of hesitation, I will destroy Tempest without a second thought. Rimuru's heart raced, but his face remained composed. He knew this wasn't just any challenge. This was a test of his very worth in the eyes of a god of destruction. His mind raced as he considered the vast array of abilities at his disposal. This wasn't going to be a battle where raw power alone would suffice. He would need to push himself beyond his limits. Come at me, Rimuru, Beerus said lazily, though his eyes glinted with amusement. Impress me. Without hesitation, Rimuru summoned Beelzebub, his ultimate skill, channeling the dark powers of a demon lord. His body surged with energy, his form expanding, cloaked in a shadowy aura. The earth beneath him cracked as his power grew. He raised his hands, and a massive wave of destructive energy rippled outward, aimed directly at Beerus. The ground shattered as a torrent of energy engulfed the area, obliterating everything in its path. However, Beerus remained perfectly still, unfazed. With a single flick of his finger, he effortlessly redirected the attack, making it spiral into the sky, dissipating harmlessly. Rimuru's eyes widened as he realized the attack had done nothing. His power is far beyond what I imagined. But Rimuru didn't falter. He immediately activated Uriel, Lord of Vows, calling upon the divine energy that came with his role as the Lord of Vows. A bright golden aura surrounded him, and his senses sharpened, his resolve strengthening. His movements became faster, more calculated, and his mind clearer. With a flash of brilliance, he teleported behind Beerus, launching a rapid series of strikes at his back. Each attack was imbued with destructive magic, and with each strike, the surrounding air crackled with the force of his blows. Rimuru slashed with deadly precision, using the evolved power of 1,000 blades moon style, creating thousands of razor-sharp blades of magic that swirled around him. They shot forward, aimed at Beerus from all angles, moving faster than the eye could follow. Beerus, however, simply raised his hand in a lazy gesture. The magic blades disintegrated upon contact with the barrier, their energy fading before they could even reach him. Rimuru's heart pounded as he watched in disbelief. Nothing works. His mind was racing, trying to find an opening, any way to break through this overwhelming defense. Is this all you can do? Beerus taunted, his voice filled with amusement. You're going to have to do better than that. Rimuru's expression hardened. This time, he was not going to rely on mere brute force. He needed something more. Omni-evolution, his ultimate skill, activated. His body shimmered as it underwent rapid evolution, his form shifting to adapt perfectly to the battle. His strength, speed, and intelligence all increased to their peak as his body transformed into the ideal combatant. He immediately summoned his Moonlight Edge, a sword infused with both celestial energy and the essence of a night. The blade gleamed with an ethereal glow, a weapon forged from his deepest magical abilities. Rimuru held it firmly, ready for the next strike. With one swift movement, he slashed at Beerus, the blade cutting through the air with a trail of glowing energy behind it. At the same time, he attacked using Melt Slash, an evolved version of his previous technique. This time, the melting energy wasn't just destructive, it was capable of eroding through even the toughest of barriers. The fusion of his swordsmanship and destructive magic sent a barrage of melting beams toward Beerus, aiming to melt the very fabric of space around him. Beerus, however, simply tilted his head slightly. With a wave of his hand, he effortlessly deflected the Moonlight Edge, the sword's energy dissipating against his barrier. The Melt Slash, too, was absorbed by the force surrounding him, as though it was nothing more than a drop of water falling into the ocean. Rimuru's chest tightened. The sheer gap in their abilities was overwhelming, but he refused to give in. He knew he had one more card to play. He could feel the power of Uriel and Beelzebub still coursing through him, and his mind raced, finding an unorthodox solution. He combined his abilities in a way he had never attempted before. With a deep breath, Rimuru gathered his energy, his aura flaring as he unleashed a series of destructive magic attacks in rapid succession. Fire, lightning, ice, and pure destructive force all coalesced around him, creating a storm of magic that collided with Beerus's barrier. Each attack was amplified by Rimuru's will and the combined might of his ultimate skills, a storm of raw power crashing against the god's defenses. Beerus stood still, watching the spectacle unfold. The sky lit up with a kaleidoscope of colors as Rimuru's magic assaulted the barrier. The very ground beneath them trembled as the energy surged, and for a brief moment, it seemed as though the barrier might crack. But just as quickly, Beerus's smirk widened, and with a simple flick of his wrist, all of Rimuru's attacks were effortlessly nullified, absorbed into the god's shield. Rimuru, breathing heavily, felt a wave of exhaustion wash over him. He had given everything he had, but it was clear that his power was still a far cry from Beerus's. Is this it? Beerus asked, his voice playful but laced with a hint of mockery. You've tried all that, and yet you still haven't understood what I'm testing you for. Rimuru, on the verge of collapse, staggered back. Sweat dripped from his brow as he met Beerus's gaze. It was then that it hit him. The true test wasn't about breaking Beerus's barrier or overpowering him. It was about understanding the limits of his own power and learning when to yield. Rimuru, despite his exhaustion, bowed deeply. I understand, Lord Beerus. I've learned that my strength has its limits, but my resolve is unshakable. I will continue to grow. Beerus's tone shifted, becoming more serious. You've learned a lot today, Rimuru. Strength alone is not enough. True power is understanding your place, your limits, and when to bow your head in acknowledgement. Beerus nodded, satisfied. Good. That's the answer I was looking for. You've shown me your will, and that is what matters most. As Rimuru slowly straightened up, the barrier around them faded, and the intense pressure lifted. Beerus gave him a small, approving nod. Let's go inside then, shall we? The generals, who had watched the battle from afar, exchanged glances. Shine's eyes were wide, filled with awe and concern. I've never seen Rimuru push this far before. Benimaru clenched his fists, his respect for Rimuru growing by the second. He's always finding ways to evolve, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Shuna nodded. But this was different. It was a reminder that even the strongest have limits. As Rimuru led Beerus and his companions inside, he understood the lesson Beerus had given him. The road ahead would be long, but his resolve had been tested and strengthened. The journey toward greater power was far from over. Once they entered Rimuru's expansive dining hall, the atmosphere shifted to a more relaxed and hospitable one. Shuna, ever graceful, had already set up a lavish spread of food and drinks. She had prepared a feast fit for gods: sushi, sashimi, steaming bowls of ramen, and a selection of exotic fruits and delicacies from both Earth and Tempest. There was even an array of delicate desserts, with intricate designs and vibrant colors, all neatly arranged on the table. As the guests settled into their seats, the food was immediately met with admiration. Zerna, one of Beerus's wives, took a bite of the sushi and let out a soft, approving hum. "This is incredible. The flavor, the texture, it's unlike anything I've ever tasted," she said, her eyes twinkling with delight. Urza, sitting beside Zerna, nodded in agreement, her eyes flickering with satisfaction as she sampled the food. "You're not wrong. This is the work of a master. You've truly outdone yourself, Shuna," she praised, her tone warm but firm. Velzer, the more stoic of Beerus's wives, was no less impressed. She cut into a delicate slice of fish, savoring the taste with a serious expression that only shifted to one of mild surprise. "I didn't expect such refinement in flavor. You've done an excellent job," she said quietly. Beta, a tall and powerful figure with an air of authority, grinned widely as she took a large bite of a savory dish. "I could get used to this. You've earned my respect, Rimuru," she said, clearly impressed by the quality of the food. "This is the kind of hospitality we deserve." Delta, more reserved but no less appreciative, gave a slight nod. "It's a rarity to encounter such skill in the preparation of meals," she remarked, smiling softly. Sigma, the last of Beerus's wives, eagerly picked up a cup of tea and took a sip. "This drink complements everything so well. I'm thoroughly impressed," she said, setting the cup down carefully. Beerus, having remained silent as his wives enjoyed the food, finally took a bite of his meal. As he chewed, he closed his eyes for a moment, clearly savoring the taste. Then, with a contented smile, he spoke, breaking the calm air of enjoyment. You really did outdo yourself," Beerus said to Rimuru, his voice much more casual now, a soft chuckle escaping him. "I don't think I've had a meal this good in quite a while." Rimuru, who had been quietly observing the interaction, smiled at the compliments but also remained humble. "Thank you. It's an honor to host you all." As the conversation continued around them, Rimuru couldn't help but feel a sense of camaraderie. Despite the fierce battle earlier, Beerus and his wives seemed genuinely impressed, and it lightened the mood considerably. But there was something else on Beerus's mind, something that lingered beneath the surface of his otherwise relaxed demeanor. After a few moments of idle conversation, Beerus finally set down his chopsticks, his expression shifting from its usual playful demeanor to something more serious. The atmosphere in the room subtly changed, as everyone noticed the shift in his posture and tone. He looked directly at Rimuru, his gaze intense. "Rimuru," Beerus said, his voice now commanding attention. "There's something you should know." Rimuru, sensing the weight in Beerus's words, immediately focused all of his attention on the god of destruction. "What is it?" he asked, a subtle unease beginning to rise in his chest. Beerus leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowing slightly, as if weighing how much to reveal. He then spoke in a measured tone, his words carrying a deeper, more ominous meaning. "There's a being far stronger than anything you can imagine. One that was sealed away by the creator, Veldanava, long ago. This being, his ideology is that perfection comes through rebirth. He believes that everything Veldanava creates must be destroyed in order to create perfection once more. He destroys life as a means of perfecting it." Rimuru listened intently, his mind racing as he tried to process what Beerus was describing. Why would Veldanava allow something like that to exist? He asked, his voice filled with curiosity, but also a bit of concern. Beerus let out a soft chuckle, but it was devoid of any humor. "Well, Veldanava and this being are like twins, brothers, if you will. Veldanava represents creation, and this being represents destruction. Two sides of the same coin. Yin and yang. The balance between them was necessary. Veldanava could not simply destroy him, because they were tied together in a way, one cannot exist without the other. It's a delicate balance, you see." Beerus's eyes darkened slightly as he continued. It got to a point where Veldanava couldn't bear it anymore. His creations were constantly being destroyed in pursuit of this being's twisted view of perfection. Eventually, Veldanava had no choice but to seal him away, locking him in a prison that would hold Freeans. Rimuru absorbed the information, a feeling of unease creeping over him. He could understand the balance of creation and destruction, but something about the situation seemed inherently unstable. So, Veldanava sealed him, hoping he would eventually change his ways. Beerus nodded solemnly. Exactly. Veldanava believed that after eons in his seal, this being would come to his senses, that he might see the true value of imperfection and the beauty in it. But now, since Veldanava's death, that seal has been weakening. And soon, very soon, he will be free. The room grew heavy with the weight of the revelation. Rimuru's mind raced with possibilities. "Can't you stop him? You're the god of destruction. Surely you can handle someone like this." Beerus leaned forward slightly, his eyes gleaming with a mischievous spark. "Of course, I can deal with him. There's no one in this universe, or any multiverse for that matter, who can stand up to me. But where's the fun in that?" He smirked, clearly relishing the opportunity to toy with Rimuru. "If I do all the work for you, where's the growth? How will you learn? How will you become stronger if you rely on someone else to solve your problems?" Rimuru felt a moment of frustration, but he understood Beerus's point. If he was to protect Tempest in this world, he couldn't rely on others. He had to face challenges head on, just as Beerus was suggesting. But still, the enormity of what Beerus was saying weighed heavily on him. "And this will be a test," Beerus continued, his tone becoming more serious. "Not just for you, Rimuru, but for the other demon lords, the Cardinal, and their inhabitants as well. They will be forced to step up. They need to see this threat for themselves and rise to the occasion." Rimuru absorbed this information with a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "What's his name?" he asked, his voice calm despite the storm brewing in his mind. "Artemis Valtherin," Beerus replied, his voice cold and unwavering. "Remember it. That is the name of the being you will face, and you'd best be prepared." Rimuru's mind spun with the implications of what Beerus was telling him. A being of such power that Veldanava, the creator himself, had to seal him away, and now he's coming back? When will he be free? Rimuru asked, his voice low, his eyes narrowing with determination. Beerus leaned back in his chair, taking a slow sip of his drink before replying. "Soon. Very soon." He let the words linger for a moment, allowing Rimuru to process the gravity of the situation. "Consider this warning from me as a gift. A head start. Use it wisely." Rimuru sat in silence for a moment, the weight of Beerus's words sinking in. This wasn't just a matter of defending Tempest. It was a matter of facing an existential threat, a being that threatened the very balance of the universe itself. His mind raced, calculating the steps he would need to take to prepare, but for now, he remained silent, lost in thought. The conversation shifted again as the wives of Beerus resumed enjoying their food and chatting among themselves. The atmosphere lightened somewhat, but the shadow of the revelation still lingered in the room. Rimuru, while enjoying the food and the company, couldn't fully shake the feeling that the calm they were experiencing now was only temporary. Later, as the evening wore on, Beerus and his wives stood up, preparing to leave. Beerus gave Rimuru a final, almost playful look. Remember, Rimuru, the clock is ticking. I look forward to seeing how you handle this. Rimuru nodded, determination hardening within him. I'll be ready. With that, Beerus and his wives left the dining hall, leaving Rimuru and his generals to contemplate the massive challenge that lay ahead. The conversation had ended, but the weight of it remained with Rimuru long after they departed. The storm was coming, and the world would need to be ready. The night after Beerus and his wives left, Rimuru sat alone in his private chamber, deep in thought. The room was quiet, save for the faint rustling of the wind outside. Despite the warmth of the room, Rimuru felt a cold chill in his chest. The weight of Beerus's warning lingered heavily in his mind, but what haunted him even more was how effortlessly Beerus had overpowered him. He clenched his fists. All the power I've gained, all the battles I've fought, and yet, I couldn't even touch him. The memory of Beerus flicking him unconscious replayed in his mind like a taunt, a constant reminder of how far behind he truly was. Rimuru leaned back, staring at the ceiling. If I can't even hold my own against Beerus, how can I face someone like Artemis Valtherin? His resolve hardened. I need to get stronger. Fast. Rimuru closed his eyes and called out to the one entity he could always rely on. Raphael, are you there? Raphael, the ultimate skill, Wisdom King, responded immediately in its calm, steady voice. I am here, my master. How can I assist you? Raphael, Rimuru began. You saw what happened earlier. Against Beerus, I couldn't even land a single attack. And this Artemis Valtherin, if he's as strong as Beerus hinted, I won't stand a chance. Tell me, what can I do to get stronger? Raphael was silent for a moment, processing Rimuru's question. Then it spoke. There are several potential paths for growth, master. However, each will require significant effort and may come with risks. Would you like me to detail them? Yes, Rimuru said firmly. I need every option. Raphael began outlining possible strategies for Rimuru to enhance his strength. Ultimate skill evolution. Your existing ultimate skills, Beelzebub, Uriel, and Omni evolution, have untapped potential. By dedicating time and energy to refining their abilities, it is possible to evolve them further into higher tier skills. Rimuru considered this. His ultimate skills were already formidable, but if they could evolve, it might give him the edge he needed. Absorbing higher tier beings. You can consume powerful beings or artifacts imbued with divine energy using Beelzebub. This would grant you access to new abilities and potentially increase your overall power exponentially. Rimuru frowned. While effective, this method came with moral complications. He didn't want to harm innocent beings or disrupt the balance of the world. Divine energy training. By training to harness divine energy, also known as godly ki, you could potentially ascend to a level of power closer to that of entities like Beerus. She thought. Rimuru's eyes narrowed. Godly ki. Would that be enough to challenge Artemis Valtherin? It would significantly increase your chances, Raphael replied. But mastering it requires both time and guidance. Beerus himself would be the most qualified instructor, but he may not agree to such training. Creation of a unique fusion skill. By combining multiple ultimate skills, it may be possible to create a new, singular ability that surpasses all others. This would require extreme precision and focus. Rimuru's interest was piqued by this idea, though he understood the risks involved. Fusion could result in the loss of certain abilities, or even backfire if not done properly. Seeking assistance from other higher entities. There may be other beings in the multiverse capable of assisting you. While Beerus refuses to intervene directly, others might be willing to aid you in preparing for the coming threat. Rimuru sighed. This would mean stepping out of his comfort zone and possibly making deals with unknown powers, something he would rather avoid. How would he even get there? As Raphael finished its suggestions, Rimuru leaned forward, deep in thought. He knew he couldn't rely solely on himself. Artemis Valtherin's return wasn't just his problem. It was a threat to the entire world. I need to tell the other demon lords, Rimuru murmured. They have to know what's coming. If we're going to stand a chance, we need to unite. Raphael spoke again. It would also be prudent to inform the leaders of the other nations, master. Their military forces, while not on par with the demon lords, could still provide valuable support. Coordination will be key to defending against Artemis Valtherin's ideology of destruction. Rimuru nodded. You're right. I'll need to call a council. Not just the demon lords, but also the leaders of Dworgen, the Lion, the Beast Kingdom, and even the Western nations. This isn't just about Tempest. It's about the survival of the entire world. Rimuru stood, his determination solidifying into action. He would start by summoning his own generals the next morning. Benimaru, Shuna, Cheyenne, and the others needed to be briefed immediately. After that, he would arrange for a meeting with the demon lords and the leaders of the other countries. It wouldn't be easy to get everyone to work together, especially with the egos of certain demon lords, but Rimuru knew it was necessary. Standing by the window, Rimuru gazed out at the moonlit sky, his reflection staring back at him. Artemis Valtherin, I don't know what kind of being you are, but I won't let you destroy everything I've built. I'll protect Tempest, this world, and everyone in it, even if it means surpassing my limits. With that thought, Rimuru turned away from the window and began drafting his plans. The battle for the future had already begun, and he was determined to be ready for it. After collecting his thoughts, Rimuru reached for the ring that connected him to Guy Crimson. The cool metal of the ring felt heavier in his grasp than usual, the weight of what he was about to do pressing down on him. He activated the ring, and it shimmered faintly as it established a connection. Guy, Rimuru said, his voice firm but urgent. I need to see you right now. It's extremely important. Guy's voice came through almost immediately, smooth and laced with curiosity. Rimuru, what's with the sudden call? Don't tell me Malim broke something important again. Not the time for jokes, Guy, Rimuru snapped. This is serious. It's about the survival of the world. I'm coming to your castle now. There was a brief silence before Guy replied, his tone losing its usual playful edge. All right, come over. I'll be waiting. Without wasting a second, Rimuru activated spatial motion and vanished from his chamber, reappearing moments later at the grand entrance of Guy Crimson's castle. The icy winds of the frozen continent whipped around him, but Rimuru paid them no mind. The towering, dark castle loomed before him, its crimson-tinted windows glowing faintly in the frigid night. The massive doors of the castle swung open as Rimuru approached, as though Guy had anticipated his arrival. He stepped inside, greeted by the grand hall's familiar red and black motif, the aura of power that emanated from every corner unmistakable. Guy sat casually on his throne, his crimson eyes glinting as he rested his chin on one hand. Beside him stood his two aides, Mecha and Gord, their expressions calm but attentive. Rimuru, Guy said, his usual smirk plastered on his face. For you to come all the way here in such a hurry, this must be something big. What's going on? It is, Rimuru replied, his tone leaving no room for banter. I need to tell you something I just learned from Beerus. That name alone made Guy's smirk falter. His expression became serious, and he motioned for Rimuru to continue. All right, you've got my attention. What did Beerus say? Rimuru recounted everything Beerus had told him. The existence of Artemis Valtherin, the being of destruction sealed by Veldanava, his ideology of perfection through rebirth, and how the seal had weakened since Veldanava's death. He explained the dire consequences of Artemis breaking free and how Beerus had chosen not to intervene, leaving the task to the demon lords and the world's inhabitants. By the time Rimuru finished, the room was heavy with tension. Mecha and Gord exchanged uneasy glances, while Guy sat in silence, his crimson eyes narrowed in thought. So, Guy finally said, his voice low, this Artemis Valtherin, a being so dangerous that even Veldanava couldn't kill him. and now the seal is about to break. He leaned back in his throne, tapping his fingers against the armrest. This isn't just a threat, it's a catastrophe waiting to happen. Exactly, Rimuru said. That's why I came to you first. We need to act now. We can't wait for the seal to break before we start preparing. Guy's gaze sharpened. And you're here because you want me to call for a Walpurgis, right? Rimuru nodded. Yes, we need to get all the demon lords together. Everyone needs to understand the gravity of the situation. After that, we'll need to contact the leaders of the other nations and coordinate our efforts. This isn't just a fight for the demon lords, it's a fight for the entire world. Guy chuckled, though there was little humor in it. A Walpurgis, huh? You don't ask for small favors, do you, Rimuru? Getting the demon lords to cooperate is like herding cats. Arrogant, extremely powerful cats. I know, Rimuru said, his voice firm. But we don't have a choice. If we don't unite now, we're all doomed. Artemis won't spare anyone, not demon lords, not humans, not monsters. Everything will be destroyed. Guy sighed and ran a hand through his crimson hair. All right, fine. I'll call for a Walpurgis. But you'd better be ready to explain all of this to the others. Some of them aren't going to take this seriously, and you know it. I'll make them take it seriously, Rimuru said, his determination clear. If they don't understand the threat, I'll make them understand. Mecha stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. If this Artemis Valtherin is truly as powerful as you say, shouldn't we also start preparing our forces now? Waiting for the Walpurgis might cost us valuable time. He's right, Gord added. Even with all the demon lords united, it might not be enough. We should start strengthening our defenses and gathering allies immediately. Rimuru nodded. I agree. While we're organizing the Walpurgis, I'll start reaching out to the other nations. Dworgen, the Lion, the Beast Kingdom, the Western nations, they all need to be informed. This isn't a fight we can win alone. Guy smirked, his usual confidence returning. All right, Rimuru. I'll do my part and get the Walpurgis set up. But don't think for a second I'm doing this because I'm scared of some ancient god of destruction. If anything, I'm looking forward to seeing just how strong this Artemis guy really is. Rimuru sighed. You're impossible, Guy. Guy's smirk widened. And you wouldn't have it any other way. With Guy's agreement, the first step in Rimuru's plan was complete. The Walpurgis would be called, and the demon lords would be gathered to discuss the impending threat. But Rimuru knew this was only the beginning. Convincing the demon lords to unite was one thing. Getting them to cooperate in a coordinated defense was another matter entirely. As Rimuru prepared to leave, he turned back to Guy one last time. Thanks for this. I'll be in touch soon with more details. Guy waved him off. Just don't make me regret helping you. And Rimuru, don't get yourself killed before the real fight starts. That would be boring. With that, Rimuru activated spatial motion and returned to Tempest, his mind already racing with the next steps. The clock was ticking, and Artemis Valtheron's awakening loomed ever closer. There was no room for hesitation now. Rimuru had to unite the world before it was too late. After Rimuru disappeared, the grand hall of Guy Crimson's castle fell into a tense silence. Guy remained seated on his throne, his crimson eyes fixed on the floor, deep in thought. The weight of Rimuru's warning hung over him like a dark cloud. If Artemis Valtherin was truly as powerful as Beerus claimed, then even uniting every force in the world might not be enough. This isn't just some passing threat, Guy muttered under his breath. This is the end of everything as we know it, unless we find a way to stop it. Straightening up, Guy called out, Mecha, Gord. In a flash, his two current aides kneeled before him. Mecha, sleek and intimidating in her black, armor-like attire, radiated precision and control. Beside her, Gord, a towering figure with golden eyes and an aura of raw, destructive power, stood at attention. Both knelt before their master, awaiting his orders. Listen closely, Guy said, his voice cold and commanding. Go to every single demon lord. Inform them that I am calling for a Walpurgis 2 days from now. No absences will be tolerated. If they hesitate, drag them here. If they resist, I don't care how much damage you cause. Bring them anyway. Mecha and Gord exchanged glances, then bowed deeply. Understood, Lord Guy. They said in unison before vanishing into the ether, their speed leaving the air around them rippling. Left alone, Guy leaned back in his throne, staring up at the vaulted ceiling. His mind raced. The situation was worse than anything he had ever dealt with, and the responsibility of holding the world together weighed heavily on him. If Beerus is right, he muttered, then even with all the demon lords united, we're no match for Artemis Valtherin. That means only one thing. We all need to get stronger, and fast. The thought stirred something deep within him. For centuries, Guy had ruled as the strongest demon lord, content in his dominance. But now, that complacency would no longer suffice. The mediator of the world could not afford to sit idly by. He stood, his crimson hair flowing behind him like liquid fire. His gaze was sharp and full of resolve. Mecha, Gord, Rimuru, every demon lord, every nation, none of them are ready for this, he said to himself. If Artemis is truly destruction incarnate, then I'll have to become something greater. Guy began pacing the hall, his mind racing with possibilities. How could he grow stronger when he had already ascended to the level of a true demon lord? The thought seemed impossible, yet he refused to accept that. Every power has its limits, he murmured, but only if you let it. There's always another level. If I can't find it, I'll make it myself. He summoned ancient texts from deep within the castle's archives, tomes that had been untouched for millennia. They floated around him, their pages flipping rapidly as he scanned for forgotten knowledge, anything that could give him an edge. Forbidden techniques, ancient rituals, untapped sources of power. Guy would stop at nothing. As he delved into the depths of his research, one thought lingered in his mind. Even with his strength, this might not be enough. Rimuru was right to warn me, Guy said quietly. But now, it's my responsibility to ensure this world survives. I'll drag the demon lords into line, and I'll push myself to heights even I didn't think possible. Meanwhile, Mecha and Gord were already spreading the word to the other demon lords. The announcement of an emergency Walpurgis, called by Guy Crimson himself, sent shockwaves through the ranks of the demon lords. Some would grumble, others would resist, but none could ignore the summons of the mediator. Back at the castle, Guy stood at the top of his throne room, looking out over the endless expanse of snow and ice that surrounded his domain. The biting wind whipped through his hair, but he barely noticed. His mind was focused entirely on the challenge ahead. This world is mine to protect, Guy said to himself, his crimson eyes burning with determination. And no so-called god of destruction is going to take it from me. If Artemis wants destruction, I'll show him what true power looks like. With that, he turned and descended back into his castle, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In 2 days' time, the Walpurgis would take place, and the stage for the greatest battle in history would begin to take shape. Mecha arrived at Malim Nava's castle with her usual precision and efficiency, her sleek black armor reflecting the soft glow of the castle's grand entrance. The guards immediately recognized her and bowed, allowing her to pass without question. Inside, Malim was lounging on a massive couch, surrounded by mounds of sweets. Malim Nava, Mecha announced, her voice sharp and businesslike. I bring an urgent message from Lord Guy Crimson. Walpurgis will take place in 2 days. Your attendance is mandatory. Malim's carefree smile faded slightly as she tilted her head, her sapphire eyes narrowing in curiosity. Mandatory, huh? What's going on, Mecha? Walpurgis usually isn't called this suddenly unless something big is happening. Mecha hesitated for a brief moment before responding. It involves a matter of grave importance. Lord Guy will provide the details of Walpurgis, but I was instructed to ensure that every demon lord understands the significance of this meeting. No absences will be tolerated. Malim popped a piece of candy into her mouth and sat up straighter, her expression becoming uncharacteristically serious. Got it. If Guy's calling for everyone, it must be huge. Tell him I'll be there. Satisfied, Mecha gave a curt nod before vanishing, leaving Malim to ponder what could possibly be important enough to warrant such urgency. Gord's massive frame strode into Draggle's imposing fortress, his golden eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. The air inside was thick with the scent of sulfur and molten rock, befitting Draggle's fiery domain. The demon lord Draggle, a hulking giant, was seated on his throne, his glowing eyes fixed on Gord as he approached. Gord, Draggle rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. What brings Guy Crimson's lapdog to my castle? Gord showed no reaction to the taunt, his expression stoic, as always. Lord Guy has summoned a Valpurgis in 2 days. Your presence is required. No exceptions. Draggle snorted, smoke curling from his nostrils. What's this about? Guy doesn't usually bother unless something's threatening his precious balance. Details will be provided at the meeting, Gord replied firmly. But this is not a request. Attend, or face the consequences. Draggle growled, his giant fist digging into the arms of his throne. After a moment, he leaned back, his lips curling into a sharp grin. Fine, tell Guy I'll be there. This had better be worth my time. Without another word, Gord turned and left, disappearing into the shadows. Mecca arrived at Leon Cromwell's castle next, her presence announced by a swirl of magical energy. Leon, ever the picture of elegance and control, greeted her in the grand hall. His golden hair gleamed under the light of the ornate chandeliers, and his piercing blue eyes locked onto Mecca. Mecca, Leon said smoothly, his voice calm but curious. To what do I owe this unexpected visit? Lord Guy Crimson has called for a Valpurgis in 2 days. Mecca replied, her tone clipped. Your presence is mandatory. Leon's eyes narrowed slightly. A Valpurgis? So suddenly? What's the reason? Details will be provided during the meeting, Mecca replied. But I was instructed to ensure that no demon lord misses this gathering. The situation is dire. Leon considered her words for a moment before nodding. Very well, I'll attend. Thank you for delivering the message. Mecca bowed slightly before vanishing once more, leaving Leon to ponder the nature of the emergency. In the opulent halls of the Holy Empire of Rubrios, Gord's presence was announced with a low hum of energy that filled the room. Luminous Valentine, the elegant and powerful demon lord who ruled the Luminous Empire, sat on her throne, her crimson eyes sharp and calculating as she observed Gord's approach. Gord, Luminous said coolly, it's rare for you to visit. What does Guy Crimson want? Lord Guy has summoned a Valpurgis in 2 days, Gord said, his deep voice reverberating through the chamber. Your attendance is mandatory. Luminous raised an eyebrow, her delicate fingers tapping lightly on the armrest of her throne. Mandatory? This must be serious. What's this about? Lord Guy will provide the details during the meeting, Gord replied. But the situation is critical. You will attend. Luminous smiled faintly, though her expression held an edge of curiosity. Very well, tell Guy I'll be there. With a respectful nod, Gord turned and vanished, leaving Luminous to contemplate the urgency of the situation. Finally, Mecca arrived at Ramorous' domain, a sprawling labyrinth filled with traps and magical defenses. The diminutive demon lord greeted her with an exaggerated pout, her tiny wings fluttering irritably. Mecca, what are you doing here? Ramorous whined. I'm busy with my labyrinth. This better be important. It is, Mecca said firmly. Lord Guy Crimson has called for a Valpurgis in 2 days. Your attendance is mandatory. Ramorous blinked, her usual playful demeanor replaced by surprise. Valpurgis? In 2 days? Why so sudden? What's going on? The details will be shared during the meeting, Mecca replied. But this is not a request. You must attend. Ramorous sighed, crossing her arms. Fine, fine. I'll go. But this better not be another boring meeting. Mecca gave a curt nod before disappearing, leaving Ramorous to grumble about how much work she had to do before the gathering. With all the demon lords now informed, Mecca and Gord returned to Guy Crimson's castle, ready to report on their successful mission. The stage was set, and in 2 days' time, the Valpurgis would bring all the demon lords together to face the ominous threat that loomed over their world. Rimuru lay on his bed, staring up at the ornate ceiling of his quarters. Despite the comfort of the bed, sleep eluded him. His mind churned with thoughts of the impending threat, the sheer power of Artemis Valtherin, and Beerus' casual display of strength. The weight of it all pressed down on him like a mountain. Unable to quiet his thoughts, an idea suddenly sparked in his mind. A bold, risky idea. Say, Raphael, Rimuru said aloud, his voice low but steady. Since I can mimic things and take their power after analyzing them, could we do that with Veldora? Could I absorb him, analyze his essence, and somehow become a true dragon without harming him? Is that even possible? Raphael's calm and measured voice responded instantly, as if it had anticipated the question. Answer, theoretically, it is possible. By using the skill Beelzebub, Lord of Gluttony, combined with wisdom King Raphael, the subject known as Veldora Tempest can be absorbed and analyzed. However, precautions must be taken to ensure his consciousness and essence remain intact, preventing harm or degradation to his being. Rimuru sat up slightly, his interest piqued. So you're saying I could do it without hurting him? He'd still be himself? Affirmative. Through careful manipulation of your ultimate skills, it is possible to temporarily house his consciousness within the infinite prison subspace, allowing for a complete analysis of his true dragon form. Upon completion, his consciousness can be safely returned to his physical body, while you would retain the properties necessary to evolve into a true dragon. Rimuru's eyes lit up with a mix of excitement and caution. This could work, but would Veldora even agree to something like this? I mean, it's not exactly a small favor to ask. Suggestion, the subject known as Veldora Tempest shares a deep bond of trust with you. Presenting this as a mutually beneficial plan, emphasizing the potential for increased strength to protect against the upcoming threat, is likely to yield a positive response. Rimuru let out a sigh of relief. Good point. Veldora's always up for anything that involves getting stronger or showing off. He might actually think it's cool. Still, doubt lingered in the back of his mind. This was a drastic move, and the risks weren't small. If anything went wrong, he could hurt Veldora, or worse. But with the stakes so high, it felt like a gamble he had to take. All right, Raphael, Rimuru said as he sat up on his bed, his eyes glowing with determination. Let's not wait any longer. I'll call Veldora to meet me at the labyrinth so we can get started immediately. But just as he was about to issue the command, he hesitated, his expression softening. Before we go, there's something I've been meaning to say, something I've been thinking about for a while. Raphael, as ever, responded in its calm, calculated tone. Acknowledged. What is it, master? Taking a deep breath, Rimuru looked inward, as if speaking to someone standing right beside him. You've been with me since the very beginning, helping me, guiding me, being there for me even when I didn't know what I was doing. Without you, I don't think I would have gotten this far. Every time I was lost, you showed me the way. Every time I doubted myself, you gave me clarity. Raphael's usually steady voice faltered ever so slightly. Acknowledgement received. Your gratitude is noted. However, such statements are unnecessary for an entity such as myself. I am merely a skill, a tool too. Rimuru interrupted gently, shaking his head. No, you're not just a skill. I've realized that. You're so much more than that. You're my partner, my confidant, and someone I rely on completely. Raphael is just a title though. You deserve a name. And coming from me, it'll symbolize the bond we share. Raphael, no, the entity, fell silent, as if trying to process the flood of emotions and meaning in Rimuru's words. So, Rimuru continued, smiling softly. From now on, your name will be Luna. Like the moon, because you brighten my life when it's dark. You're my guiding light, always showing me the way forward. The moment the words left his lips, the air around him shifted. A faint glow enveloped Rimuru, his body radiating warmth and light. Within his soul, something extraordinary was happening. Processing. Raphael's voice became uneven, as though it were struggling to comprehend what was occurring. Then, after a long pause, a soft, almost trembling voice emerged. I am Luna. The glow intensified, and Rimuru felt a surge of power ripple through his very being. Luna's voice continued, growing steadier and more confident with each word. I am a Monas, a theosophical core born from your will and essence. My purpose is to merge and evolve your skills while providing unwavering support to you, Rimuru Tempest. It is an honor and a pleasure to serve you. Rimuru was momentarily speechless, sensing the profound change within him. Luna wasn't just a skill anymore. She had transcended, becoming something far greater. He could feel her presence within him now, more vivid and alive than ever before. Luna, Rimuru finally said, his voice filled with awe. You've evolved? Does this mean you're alive now? Luna's voice was warm, carrying an unmistakable trace of emotion. I have always existed as an extension of your will, but now I have achieved a form of individuality while remaining a part of you. Thanks to your acknowledgement and the bond we share, I have reached this state of existence. Rimuru smiled, his heart swelling with gratitude. I'm glad, Luna. Thank you for everything. Let's keep working together to protect Tempest and everyone we care about. Always, Luna replied softly. And now, let us proceed with your plan to evolve into a true dragon. Together, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. Rimuru stood, his determination renewed and his bond with Luna stronger than ever. With her by his side, he felt a new level of confidence in facing the challenges ahead. Let's go meet Veldora, Rimuru said. It's time to take the next step. And with that, he left his room, ready to begin the process that could change everything. Rimuru reached out to Veldora using his telepathic link. Hey, Veldora, where are you right now? Veldora's booming voice echoed back through the connection, filled with his usual enthusiasm. Oh, I'm in the labyrinth, of course, spending time in my domain, basking in my magnificence, and entertaining my loyal followers. Why? What's up, Rimuru? Rimuru chuckled at his friend's usual over-the-top attitude. Stay there. I'm on my way. There's something important we need to talk about. Without waiting for Veldora's reply, Rimuru ended the connection and quickly teleported to the labyrinth. As he arrived, he found Veldora lounging on a throne-like seat in one of the upper chambers, looking as carefree as ever. Rimuru, my sworn brother. Veldora greeted him with open arms. What brings you to my glorious abode? Rimuru wasted no time and got straight to the point. Veldora, I need to talk to you about something serious. It's about what Beerus told me. Veldora's playful demeanor immediately faded, replaced by curiosity and concern. Beerus? That cat god? What did he say? Rimuru explained everything Beerus had told him. The impending danger posed by Artemis Valtherin, the weakening seal, and the fact that even with all their combined strength, they might not be enough to handle what was coming. Veldora's expression grew serious as he listened. That sounds bad. Worse than bad. A being sealed by Veldanava himself? And now that seal is breaking? That's catastrophic. Exactly, Rimuru said, his tone grave. That's why I and all of us need to get stronger. Much stronger. And that's where you come in. Me? Veldora blinked, taken aback. How am I supposed to help you with that? Rimuru hesitated for a moment before explaining. You know how I can absorb and analyze things to gain new powers, right? Well, I've been thinking. What if I absorb you? Not to kill or replace you, of course, but to analyze your essence as a true dragon. If I do that, I could potentially evolve into a true dragon myself. It would give me the power I need to face what's coming. Veldora's golden eyes widened, and he leaned back, clearly surprised. You want to absorb me? I know it sounds crazy, Rimuru admitted, and I won't do it unless you're okay with it. But this might be the only way for me to reach the kind of power we're going to need. I'd be able to handle the analysis carefully, and once it's done, you'd be released completely unharmed. Your consciousness and essence would stay intact the whole time. I promise. Veldora crossed his arms, looking thoughtful. I have to admit, the idea of my sworn brother becoming a true dragon is pretty cool. But you're sure this will work? You're not going to mess it up and accidentally turn me into some weird slime dragon hybrid, are you? Rimuru grinned. With Luna, formerly Raphael, helping me? I'm sure. She's never let me down before. Luna's voice chimed in, calm and confident. The process has been thoroughly calculated. There is no risk to the subject known as Veldora Tempest. Veldora frowned, still a little skeptical. I don't know. This is a pretty big deal, you know? I mean, I am the mighty Veldora Tempest, after all. Rimuru stepped forward, placing a hand on Veldora's shoulder. I know, Veldora. You're my sworn brother and one of the strongest beings I know. That's why I'm asking you. I trust you, and I need your help. This isn't just about me. It's about protecting Tempest, the labyrinth, and everything we care about. Veldora's skepticism finally began to melt away. He looked at Rimuru, seeing the determination in his eyes, and let out a loud laugh. Fine. Anything for my sworn brother. If this helps you get stronger and prepares us for the fight ahead, then I'm all in. Rimuru smiled gratefully. Thanks, Veldora. I promise I'll handle this carefully. You won't feel a thing. Veldora grinned. Of course I won't. I'm the mighty Veldora Tempest. There's nothing I can't handle. With that settled, Rimuru and Veldora moved to the center of the chamber, where the process would begin. Rimuru took a deep breath, steadying himself. This was a monumental step, but with Veldora's trust and Luna's guidance, he was ready to take it. Luna, Rimuru said, his voice calm but firm. Let's do this. Understood, Luna replied. Initiating absorption process. Beginning now. As the room filled with a bright, golden light, Rimuru felt the overwhelming presence of Veldora's essence envelop him. The transformation had begun. As the golden light engulfed the chamber, Rimuru felt an intense surge of energy flowing into him. It wasn't like anything he had ever experienced before. Veldora's presence was overwhelming, raw, primal, and untamed. The sheer magnitude of his essence seemed almost too much to handle. Luna's calm voice guided him through the process. Absorption and analysis of the subject's true dragon essence have begun. Maintaining balance between your core and Veldora Tempest's essence is critical. Proceeding with utmost care. Rimuru closed his eyes, focusing on the influx of power and letting Luna take the lead. He could feel Veldora's consciousness, loud and boisterous as always, echoing within him. Whoa, this is weird, Rimuru. Veldora's voice boomed. I can feel everything. It's like I'm swimming in a giant pool of your slime energy. Rimuru chuckled despite the intensity of the moment. Relax, Veldora. Just enjoy the ride. It is all under control. The process continued, with Luna meticulously analyzing every aspect of Veldora's essence. The intricate nature of a true dragon's core was unlike anything Rimuru had ever encountered. The balance between creation and destruction, the unparalleled regeneration, the infinite energy, it was awe-inspiring. Suddenly, Rimuru felt a deep connection forming within him, a bridge between his core and Veldora's essence. Integration of true dragon properties has reached 50%, Luna announced. Rimuru's essence is adapting to the influx of energy, proceeding to the next stage. As the process progressed, Rimuru's physical body began to change subtly. His aura grew heavier, more commanding. The power radiating from him was almost tangible, causing the walls of the labyrinth to tremble slightly. Whoa, this is incredible, Rimuru muttered, feeling the transformation taking hold. I can feel myself getting stronger, but it's a lot to handle. Of course it's incredible, Veldora said proudly. You're absorbing the power of the one and only Storm Dragon. Just don't get too cocky. Remember, I'm still the original. Luna's voice chimed in again. Final stage of analysis and integration initiated. Rimuru, prepare for a significant surge in power. This will complete your evolution into a true dragon. The light around Rimuru intensified, becoming blindingly bright. He gritted his teeth, bracing himself as an enormous wave of energy surged through him. It felt as though his very existence was being rewritten, his essence reshaped to accommodate the overwhelming power of a true dragon. Finally, the light began to fade, and the room fell silent. Rimuru opened his eyes, which now glowed with a radiant golden hue. His aura was immeasurable, powerful yet calm, destructive yet controlled. He had become something entirely new. Integration complete, Luna announced. Rimuru Tempest has successfully evolved into a true dragon. All properties of Veldora Tempest's essence have been preserved, and his consciousness remains intact. Rimuru let out a slow breath, testing his newfound strength. Unbelievable. I feel limitless. Within him, Veldora's voice boomed with excitement. That was amazing, Rimuru. You've got some of my power now, but don't think you can surpass me that easily. Rimuru laughed. Don't worry, Veldora. I'll still need you by my side. This isn't about replacing you. It's about making sure we're ready for what's coming. Veldora's voice softened, a rare moment of sincerity breaking through his usual bravado. I know, brother, and I trust you. Together, we'll face anything. Thank you, Veldora, Rimuru said. This power, it's not just mine. It's ours. The storm dragon's laughter echoed warmly in his mind. You bet it is. As Rimuru continued walking through the corridors of the labyrinth, Luna's calm, familiar voice echoed in his mind once more. Rimuru, with your evolution into a true dragon, the potential of your skills has reached a point where further enhancement is possible. I am now able to merge your ultimate skills with your unique skills to create entirely new abilities of unparalleled power. Shall I proceed? Rimuru paused, his curiosity piqued. Merge my ultimate skills and unique skills? That's possible. What kind of abilities are we talking about, Luna? The resulting abilities will be completely unique to your existence, designed to perfectly complement your new nature as a true dragon. These skills will amplify your power, versatility, and control to levels previously unattainable. The merging process will require a brief period of recalibration, but I will guide you through it seamlessly. Do I have your permission to proceed? Rimuru clenched his fists, excitement building in his chest. Go for it, Luna. Let's make it happen. Acknowledged. Beginning the merging process now. Beelzebub plus Predator plus Gluttony Azathoth, the Infinite Abyss. The first merging involved Beelzebub, Predator, and Gluttony. Beelzebub has merged with Devourer and Infinite Prison to become Azathoth, the Infinite Abyss. This skill retains Beelzebub's core functions of absorption, annihilation, and storage, while gaining Predator's ability to mimic and integrate the abilities of those absorbed. Additionally, Gluttony's endless hunger has been enhanced to allow consumption and assimilation of entire dimensions. Azathoth can now manipulate voids, consume concepts, and erase existence on an infinite scale. Rimuru felt a surge of immense power. The vast, endless hunger within him felt refined and controlled, yet even more terrifying in its scope. Azathoth, the name suits it. It feels boundless. Uriel, Lord of Vows plus Great Sage plus Wisdom King Raphael Deus Ex Machina, the Divine Architect, because he retained copies of them. Next was Uriel, merged with Great Sage and Raphael itself. Uriel, combined with Great Sage and Raphael, has evolved into Deus Ex Machina, the Divine Architect. This skill grants absolute mastery over universal laws, barriers, and causality. You can now design and enforce laws within your domain, manipulate the flow of time, and forge unbreakable contracts on a cosmic scale. Additionally, this skill provides superior guidance and infinite computational ability, surpassing all prior limitations of Great Sage and Raphael. I will continue to serve as your partner and advisor in this evolved form. Rimuru felt an overwhelming sense of clarity, as if he could see and understand the fabric of reality itself. So you've evolved too, Luna. Looks like we're both growing together. Omni-evolution plus infinite regeneration plus resistances Genesis Omega, the eternal core. Finally, Omni-evolution merged with Rimuru's natural resistances and infinite regeneration. Omni-evolution has merged with your infinite regeneration and inherent resistances to become Genesis Omega, the eternal core. This skill grants you unlimited adaptive evolution, allowing you to counter any threat instantaneously. Your regeneration capabilities are now absolute, capable of restoring you from even conceptual erasure. Genesis Omega also allows you to enhance and evolve abilities from any absorbed entity in real time, ensuring perpetual growth. Rimuru felt an unshakable strength settle within him, his body and soul now brimming with limitless potential. As the merging process concluded, Luna's voice softened, brimming with pride. Skill merging complete. Beelzebub is now Azathoth. Uriel is now Deus Ex Machina, and Omni-evolution is now Genesis Omega. Rimuru, you have become a being that surpasses all mortal understanding. You are no longer bound by the limitations of this world. Rimuru clenched his fists, feeling the overwhelming surge of power coursing through his body. The changes were profound, yet they felt natural, like this was who he was always meant to become. Thank you, Luna, he said, his voice steady but filled with determination. I will continue to support you, Rimuru. Together, we will ensure the safety of your world. Veldora had been observing the entire process in stunned silence. His golden eyes were wide, his jaw slack, and his arms, which were usually crossed in a confident pose, hung limply at his sides. Finally, he managed to find his voice, though it came out more like a strangled exclamation. What in the name of dragons just happened? Rimuru, what are you? Rimuru turned to look at him, a sheepish grin on his face. What's with that reaction, Veldora? You were the one who agreed to help me evolve in the first place. But I didn't think this would happen. Veldora pointed dramatically at Rimuru, still trying to process what he had just witnessed. You're glowing like a divine being. I mean, you were already strong, but now, you're completely out of my league. It's like you've turned into some god of gods. Rimuru laughed awkwardly, scratching the back of his head. Well, I wouldn't go that far. But yeah, I do feel a lot stronger now. Veldora's shock only deepened as he paced back and forth. This is insane. I've been around for eons, and I've never seen anything like this. Even in the days of Veldanava, no one just casually merged their skills and became something this absurdly powerful. Are you sure you're still my sworn brother, Rimuru? Or did you secretly ascend to some higher plane while I wasn't looking? Rimuru sighed. Relax, Veldora. I'm still the same Rimuru you know and love. I just needed to get stronger to protect everyone. You heard what Beerus said. There's a massive threat coming, and I can't afford to hold back anymore. Veldora finally stopped pacing, his expression shifting from disbelief to a mix of admiration and determination. I get it. I do. You're preparing for the worst, and honestly, I respect that. But now you're making me look bad. Rimuru raised an eyebrow. Making you look bad? How? Veldora crossed his arms and puffed out his chest, his pride as a true dragon rearing its head. How do you think? You've surpassed me, your sworn brother, and now I have to watch you grow stronger while I'm stuck as just Veldora? This is unacceptable. I need to train too. I won't let you leave me in the dust, Rimuru. Rimuru chuckled at Veldora's melodramatic outburst. You're always so competitive, aren't you? But I'll be honest, Veldora. I wouldn't mind having you grow stronger too. If we're going to face Artemis Valtherin, I'm going to need everyone at their best. Hearing this, Veldora's confidence returned in full force. He placed his hands on his hips and laughed. Of course, as the mighty storm dragon, I shall rise to the occasion and become even stronger. Just you watch, Rimuru. I'll make you proud to call me your sworn brother. Rimuru smiled warmly. That's the spirit, Veldora. Let's both keep pushing ourselves to the limit. We'll face whatever's coming together, as always. For a moment, Veldora's expression softened. Despite his bluster and theatrics, he was genuinely proud of Rimuru and determined to stand by his side, no matter what challenges lay ahead. In the divine realm, Beerus reclined lazily on an opulent throne, surrounded by luxury. His wives, Zerna, Urza, Velzer, Beta, Delta, and Sigma, attended to him in their own ways. Zerna fed him delectable fruits, Urza massaged his shoulders, and Velzer skillfully poured an exquisite golden nectar into his chalice. Meanwhile, Beta, Delta, and Sigma engaged in playful banter nearby, occasionally offering him compliments or teasing remarks. The atmosphere was one of utter indulgence. Yet, even amidst such comforts, Beerus's attention was elsewhere. His golden eyes shimmered faintly as he watched Rimuru through a projection that floated in the air before him. His interest was piqued, his usual air of nonchalance giving way to a genuine curiosity. He chuckled, the sound low and rumbling, as he observed Rimuru's rapid evolution and transformation into a true dragon. He's impressive. To think he's grown this much in such a short time, even faster than I anticipated. He's not just sitting around waiting for doom. He's acting. It's rare to see mortals with that kind of resolve. Urza, noticing his change in demeanor, paused her massage and tilted her head curiously. You seem impressed, Lord Beerus. Is this about that slime you tested? Yes, Beerus replied, his gaze still fixed on the projection. That little slime is turning into quite the powerhouse. I gave him a warning about Artemis Valtherin, and instead of panicking or freezing up, he's already moving to prepare himself and his allies. He's evolving at a rate that would make even some gods jealous. Velzer poured another drink and smirked. Coming from you, that's high praise. You don't usually take such an interest in mortals. Beerus leaned back, sipping his drink thoughtfully. True, most of them bore me to tears. But Rimuru, he's different. He has the potential to truly shake the balance of his world, and maybe even beyond. It's rare to find someone who not only possesses such overwhelming power, but also knows how to wield it responsibly. Zerna, who had been quietly listening, smiled gently. He must remind you of Veldanava, doesn't he? Always striving for more, pushing boundaries, and protecting what he loves. Beerus nodded slowly, a flicker of nostalgia crossing his face. He does, but there's something else about him. He's unpredictable, and I like that. He's not bound by the same arrogance that most beings with power fall into. Instead of relying on his strength alone, he actively seeks to grow stronger. And that skill of his. Azathoth now, is it? It's absolutely fascinating. Beta, lounging nearby, grinned mischievously. So, are you rooting for him, Lord Beerus? You've never been the type to openly cheer anyone on. Beerus smirked, finishing his drink in one gulp. I'm not rooting for anyone. I'm just enjoying the show. That slime still has a long way to go before he's anywhere near my level. But if anyone can pull off the impossible, it might just be him, and that if I allow him to. Artemis Valtherin will push him and his world to their limits. Whether they survive or crumble, that's up to them. Delta stretched lazily, her crimson eyes glinting with amusement. It sounds like you're looking forward to the fight as much as they are. Beerus leaned forward, his expression turning sharp and predatory for a moment. Of course I am. Watching mortals defy the odds, clawing their way toward victory, is one of the few things that actually entertains me. And if Rimuru succeeds, well, let's just say the multiverse might have to keep an eye on him. The wives exchanged knowing glances, recognizing that Beerus, while feigning indifference, was genuinely invested in the outcome. As the projection shifted to show Rimuru interacting with Veldora, and later, merging his skills with Luna's help, Beerus laughed softly. Look at him go. The kid's like a sponge, soaking up power and wisdom wherever he can find it. If Artemis Valtherin doesn't take him seriously, well, that might just be the fool's undoing. For the first time in centuries, Beerus felt a spark of true excitement. This wasn't just another game, or another fleeting interest. Rimuru Tempest was shaping up to be something truly extraordinary, and Beerus, the god of destruction, wouldn't miss a single moment of it. The next day, as the morning sun cast its golden rays over Tempest, Rimuru stood in the grand hall of his palace, waiting for his most trusted generals and advisors to arrive. When Benimaru, Cheyenne, Sui, Diablo, Zijin, Maddox, Rigard, and Hakuro entered the hall, they immediately noticed something different. Rimuru stood taller than before, his presence commanding and regal. His aura, once calming and approachable, now radiated a profound, almost divine power. It was as though he had ascended to an entirely different plane of existence. The generals exchanged glances, their unease palpable. Even Cheyenne, usually brimming with unshakable confidence, hesitated for a moment before stepping forward. Benimaru broke the silence, his voice tinged with awe. Lord Rimuru, you've changed. Your presence, it's overwhelming. Diablo, who always viewed Rimuru as the pinnacle of perfection, was practically trembling with excitement. Magnificent. My lord, you've grown even more splendid. Truly, this form suits your divine essence. Rimuru smiled, his tone calm but firm. Yes, I've undergone some changes. After what Beerus told me, I realized I couldn't afford to remain the same. I've evolved into a true dragon and enhanced my skills to prepare for the threat he warned me about. The mention of Beerus caused the room to fall silent. Each of them vividly remembered the overwhelming power of the god of destruction, whose mere presence had brought them all to their knees. Cheyenne clenched her fists, her expression determined but tinged with frustration. Lord Rimuru, that Beerus, he was beyond anything I've ever felt before. If someone even stronger than him is coming, then what can we possibly do? Rimuru's gaze swept over his gathered allies, his tone carrying both gravity and reassurance. Beerus told me about Artemis Valtherin, a being sealed by Veldanava himself. His power is unlike anything we've ever faced. If his seal breaks, this entire world will be in danger. But we're not going to sit back and let that happen. I'm not going to let that happen. Zijin, ever calm and analytical, nodded. Then we must prepare. We'll need to surpass our limits, no matter the cost. Rimuru nodded. Exactly. This isn't just about me getting stronger, it's about all of us. Together, we've built this nation. Together, we'll protect it. Each of you is already incredibly strong, but we need to push even further. I'll help you however I can, whether it's training, skill enhancement, or new weapons. Whatever it takes. Hakuro stroked his beard thoughtfully. Lord Rimuru, you've already surpassed our expectations countless times. If you believe we can grow stronger, then I have no doubt that we will. But we'll need a clear plan to maximize our potential in the time we have. Rimuru's expression softened, grateful for their unwavering loyalty. I'll oversee your training personally. I've also made preparations to enhance your skills and provide each of you with the resources you need. But I won't sugarcoat it. This will be the most grueling challenge we've ever faced. Are you all ready for that? Benimaru stepped forward, his crimson eyes burning with determination. We're ready, Lord Rimuru. Whatever it takes to protect Tempest and this world, we'll do it. You've led us through countless battles, and we'll follow you into this one too. Cheyenne slammed her fist into her palm, her fiery spirit ignited. If you believe in us, Lord Rimuru, then I'll give it everything I've got. No one will threaten Tempest as long as I'm standing. Sui nodded silently, his sharp gaze signaling his readiness, while Diablo bowed deeply. For you, my lord, there is no task too great. This Artemis Valtherin will soon learn the price of underestimating Tempest. Rigard and Maddox stood tall, their expressions resolute. Even Zijin, who rarely showed emotion, radiated quiet determination. Rimuru smiled, his heart swelling with pride. Thank you everyone. With all of us united, I know we can face anything. Now let's get to work. The fate of this world depends on it. With that, Rimuru began outlining their training plans and assigning roles to each of his generals. They left the meeting hall with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face the challenges ahead. While Rimuru and his generals prepared for the grueling training ahead, Shizu, along with the 5 children from the Freedom Academy, Chloe, Alice, Kenya, Ryota, and Gale, decided to embark on a trip, a much-needed vacation to relax and bond. Shizu had grown fond of the children, and she believed that giving them time to unwind would help them grow emotionally and mentally, especially with the storm brewing on the horizon. The group traveled to a peaceful countryside within Tempest, surrounded by lush greenery, sparkling rivers, and a serene lake. It was a picturesque location, perfect for relaxation and fun. The children, excited to explore, immediately began running around, marveling at the beauty of nature. Wow, look at this place. Kenya exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder as he pointed to a crystal-clear waterfall cascading into the lake. It's like something out of a dream. Alice twirled around, enjoying the fresh breeze. It's so beautiful. I'm glad we're here, Shizu-sensei. Shizu smiled gently, her heart warming at their enthusiasm. I thought you'd all like it. Sometimes, it's good to step away from training and just enjoy life. You've all been working hard, and you deserve this break. Chloe, usually the quiet one, tugged at Shizu's sleeve and asked, Shizu-sensei, will you teach us how to fish? I've never tried it before. Shizu chuckled softly. Of course, Chloe. Fishing is a great way to relax. Let's get started. She guided the children to the lake, where they spent the next few hours fishing, laughing, and even competing to see who could catch the biggest fish. Ryota, holding his fishing rod awkwardly, shouted, I think I got something. But when he pulled, it turned out to be a small stick, causing Alice to burst into laughter. Nice catch, Ryota, she teased. As the day went on, Shizu and the kids enjoyed a picnic by the lake, feasting on delicious food prepared by Tempest chefs. The children shared stories, joked with each other, and for a while, the weight of their responsibilities seemed to lift. That evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, the group gathered around a campfire. Shizu told them stories of her travels and the lessons she'd learned from her time with Rimuru and her own adventures. Sensei, Gale said, his voice thoughtful. Do you think we'll ever get as strong as Rimuru-sama? Shizu gazed at the flickering flames, her expression serene. Strength isn't just about power, Gale. It's about your heart, your will, and your determination to protect what's important to you. Rimuru-sama is strong because he cares deeply about everyone and everything in Tempest. If you find something you want to protect with all your heart, you'll grow strong too. Chloe, sitting beside her, whispered, I want to protect all of you, my friends, and you too, Shizu-sensei. Shizu placed a gentle hand on Chloe's head, smiling warmly. And that's what makes you strong, Chloe. Never lose that feeling. The children fell asleep under the starry sky, their faces peaceful as they dreamed. Shizu stayed awake for a while, gazing at the stars and thinking about the challenges that lay ahead. She silently vowed to protect these children and help them grow into the strong individuals she knew they could be. The trip was exactly what they needed, a moment of peace and joy before the storm. Little did they know, their bonds would soon be tested in the trials to come. Later that day, Rimuru stood in the training grounds, his mind focused and determined. He had to get used to his new skills and powers, especially since the looming threat that Beerus had warned him about was growing closer. To truly grasp his newfound strength, Rimuru knew he needed a sparring partner who could keep up with him, someone who could push him to his limits. He called out to Veldora, his voice ringing across the vast expanse of a labyrinth. Veldora, I need your help. It's time for a spar. Veldora, who had been relaxing in his lair, raised an eyebrow at the request. A spar, huh? After what you've become, Rimuru? Are you sure about this? I don't want to end up as a pile of ashes. Rimuru smiled, his eyes glinting with determination. I've gotten stronger, yes, but I need to get used to my new skills. You're the only one who can push me the way I need right now. Veldora chuckled and shook his head. I see you're serious. Well, if that's what you want, then I won't back down. Let's see what you've got, Rimuru. I'll make sure you don't regret this. Rimuru nodded, and just before they began, he turned inward to his mental space. Luna, are you ready? I want you to assess my generals and see how I can help them get stronger. Understood, Master. Luna's voice echoed in his mind. I will begin analyzing their abilities and crafting growth plans for them. It will be a challenge, but one I am fully prepared to handle. With Luna's assistance, Rimuru turned his full attention back to Veldora. The dragon stood, ready and eager, waiting for Rimuru to make the first move. Veldora had seen Rimuru evolve over the years, but this time, something felt different. There was an immense power radiating from his friend, one that made the very air hum with energy. Rimuru's aura expanded, and the ground trembled slightly beneath his feet. With a calm smile, he activated his most powerful skills, feeling the surge of their energy. Let's see if I can control this, Rimuru muttered, as he tapped into Azathoth, the infinite abyss, a boundless power that stretched far beyond the known universe. The very fabric of reality around him seemed to warp, a deep, dark void manifesting at his core, pulling at the fabric of existence itself. Veldora's eyes widened. What is this? This feels unnatural. But he didn't hesitate. With a roar, he unleashed his own Tempest Claw, a devastating wave of raw energy. Rimuru, with a thought, absorbed the attack with Genesis Omega, the eternal core, an ultimate skill that reshaped reality itself, absorbing the energy around him and sending it into a powerful regeneration cycle. Veldora quickly switched tactics, summoning a massive ball of storm breath, amplified with the force of 1,000 storms. He launched it at Rimuru with incredible speed. Rimuru, using Deus Ex Machina, the divine architect, twisted the laws of reality, creating an impenetrable shield made of solidified space and time. The storm collided with the shield, creating an explosion of energy that reverberated through the entire training field. But Rimuru stood firm, unaffected. So, you've gotten good at defending now, huh? Veldora chuckled, his own energy rising. But let's see how you handle this. He flapped his wings, creating a massive vortex of wind, lightning, and space distortion that threatened to tear apart the landscape around them. Rimuru grinned, the power of Azathoth, the infinite abyss coursing through him. With a flick of his wrist, he bent the very space around him, nullifying Veldora's attack. Then, with a thought, he reshaped the environment, creating 100 clones of himself using the energy from Genesis Omega, the eternal core. The clones charged at Veldora with incredible speed, each one wielding a blade of pure, condensed energy. Veldora was taken aback for a moment, but quickly retaliated with his own storm dragon cannon, blasting through the clones and causing a massive explosion. However, Rimuru's true form was nowhere near the blast's epicenter. He had already reappeared behind Veldora, his blade glowing with the intensity of a star. With a flash, Rimuru struck, aiming for Veldora's core. Veldora barely managed to block the blow, but the force of it sent him skidding back. You've really improved, Rimuru. This power, it's unbelievable. Rimuru stepped back, panting slightly, but he was far from exhausted. I'm still learning how to control all this power, but I'll get there. Looks like it. Veldora grinned, cracking his neck. Let's keep going, Rimuru. I'm not backing down that easily. The spar continued, with both combatants pushing their limits. Veldora fought with everything he had, but Rimuru's new powers, especially the abilities of Azathoth, the infinite abyss, Deus Ex Machina, and Genesis Omega, were overwhelming. As the battle wore on, Rimuru became more and more attuned to his skills, learning how to seamlessly combine their effects to unleash devastating combos and reshape the battlefield itself. Meanwhile, in Rimuru's mental space, Luna's analysis was ongoing. She was assessing the unique abilities of Rimuru's generals and formulating plans for each of them. As Rimuru sparred with Veldora, she sent him a mental message. Master, I have completed my analysis of your generals. I will begin creating customized training regimens for each one, tailored to their strengths and weaknesses. This will take time, but the results will be significant. Thanks, Luna. Rimuru replied mentally, feeling a sense of relief. Let's focus on my training for now, but I'm looking forward to helping them grow stronger too. The sparring session continued late into the evening, with Veldora and Rimuru both exhausted but satisfied. They'd each pushed themselves to their limits, and though Veldora had been outclassed, he couldn't help but feel proud of his sworn brother's growth. Well, Rimuru, I'll admit it. You've really surpassed me now, Veldora said with a grin. But I'll never stop trying to catch up. Rimuru laughed, his exhaustion slipping away. Don't worry, Veldora. You'll always be my big brother. And with that, their spar ended. Then Rimuru asked Luna the result of her analysis. Luna, how are the training plans coming along for my generals? Rimuru asked, his voice filled with both curiosity and anticipation. Luna's calm, serene voice echoed in his mind. Master, I have completed my analysis of all your generals. Each one has unique strengths, but they also possess weaknesses that need to be addressed. I have formulated specific regimens for them to enhance their abilities. The results will be considerable, but it will require their full commitment. Rimuru nodded, eager to hear more. What do you have for them? Let's start with Benimaru. Benimaru, Luna began, has a strong foundation in both physical and elemental abilities. His fire powers are already extraordinary, but his combat versatility can be enhanced. I recommend focusing on refining his swordsmanship with a special form of fire-infused energy techniques. This will allow him to merge his flames more efficiently with his combat style. Additionally, we can strengthen his elemental affinity and introduce him to manipulation of other elemental forces. Rimuru smiled, impressed. Sounds perfect. He'll be able to use fire in even more creative ways now. Shine, Luna continued, is already a powerhouse, but her lack of discipline can be her downfall. Her brute strength is unmatched, but she lacks a deep understanding of how to control her power. I suggest to focus on self-control and enhancing her regenerative abilities. Once she gains more control over her physical prowess, her true potential can be unlocked. I also suggest an advanced technique for her, one that allows her to channel her energy into a more concentrated form for devastating blows. Rimuru nodded, thinking of Shine's untapped potential. She's going to love the challenge. What about Sui? Sui, Luna replied, is an expert in stealth and speed, but his power is more about subtlety and precision rather than brute force. He will benefit from mastering more advanced shadow manipulation techniques, allowing him to control both light and darkness. I also recommend training in illusionary techniques, which would make him even more unpredictable in battle. Good, Rimuru said thoughtfully. He'll appreciate the focus on stealth. What about Diablo? Diablo, Luna responded, has a wide array of powers already, but his magical abilities are in need of refinement. I suggest focusing on advanced summoning techniques to maximize the strength of the entities he can call forth. Additionally, his physical capabilities can be enhanced by integrating his demonic energy with combat-based magic, amplifying his destructive output. Rimuru felt a surge of pride thinking about Diablo's growth. Perfect, Diablo's going to love that. And Zijin. Zijin's abilities in combat are well-rounded, but he lacks the ability to adapt quickly to high-level threats, Luna explained. I recommend focusing on enhancing his adaptability through his insect-based abilities, allowing him to manipulate his body in more versatile ways. Additionally, I suggest strengthening his senses, enabling him to perceive and react to attacks faster, giving him an edge in high-pressure situations. Rimuru nodded. That should help him a lot. How about Maddox? Maddox, Luna said with a hint of calculation in her tone, has potential as both a strategist and a warrior. His current weakness is his ability to hold his ground against powerful foes. I recommend honing his combat skills with techniques that allow him to use his surroundings to his advantage. Additionally, enhancing his defensive abilities will ensure that he can last longer in battle, even against foes stronger than himself. Sounds great. Maddox will definitely need the extra defense. Rigard's leadership is already exemplary, Luna answered, but his physical power is lacking when compared to others. I suggest a combination of improving his speed and strength through a specialized training regimen, coupled with enhancing his intellect to help him make quicker decisions in battle. Rimuru smiled. He'll be happy to hear that. And Hakuro? Hakuro is already a master of his sword and battle strategy, Luna said, but his current abilities lack refinement when it comes to executing techniques at a higher level. I recommend enhancing his sword techniques, giving him access to even greater precision and speed. I also suggest that he learn advanced key control, which will help him increase his combat efficiency. Rimuru thought about each of his generals' potential. They all had something to work on, something they could enhance to take their abilities to the next level. But now, the question was how to implement these changes. All right, Luna, Rimuru said with a sense of resolve. Let's get started. I'll talk to each of them and explain what we need to do. Understood, Master, Luna replied, her voice laced with determination. I will begin preparing the necessary environments and tools for each of them to begin training. It will take time, but they will be stronger than ever before. Rimuru took a deep breath and prepared himself for the task ahead. He knew that the more prepared his generals were, the better their chances would be when the coming threat arrived. Luna's voice resonated in Rimuru's mind once again, her tone calm, yet filled with purpose. I have completed the analysis of their unique skills as well, Master. Each one has the potential to evolve or be further refined. Rimuru then told Luna to start the skill evolution process. Luna's voice echoed through Rimuru's mind, calm and assuring. Understood, Master. I will proceed with the necessary preparations for their skill evolutions. I will ensure everything is aligned for maximum enhancement. Rimuru nodded, determination in his gaze. It was time to prepare his generals for the upcoming threat, and this evolution was the key to their growth. He immediately called for a gathering of his trusted generals. Soon, Benimaru, Maddox, Zijin, Shine, Diablo, Geld, and Rongo arrived. They were all curious, feeling the change in Rimuru's presence. He was different, more powerful, and his aura was brimming with potential. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation. Rimuru stood before them, his expression firm. Everyone, I've been given a gift, a chance to grow stronger, and I want to share that gift with all of you. He glanced over each of his generals, a fire in his eyes. We are about to face something beyond anything we've ever encountered. Beerus, a being whose power surpasses even mine, warned me of an impending threat, a being so powerful it could change the fate of this world. In order to protect everything we've built, and to face what's coming, we need to evolve. And I'm going to make sure each of you gets stronger, so you're ready for whatever comes. Shine blinked in surprise, then nodded with determination. We trust you, Rimuru. If you say we can become stronger, then we'll follow you. Benimaru crossed his arms, his usual calm demeanor mixing with eagerness. I'll do whatever it takes to get stronger. I fought beside you, Rimuru, and I'll continue to fight at your side. Rimuru smiled at his generals. I know you all will. That's why I'm confident we can face this challenge. He then turned to Luna in his mind. Go ahead, Luna. Evolve their skills as we discussed. Luna's voice responded. Understood, Master. The evolutions will take a few moments to process. Please let them know the changes that will come. Rimuru addressed his generals again, speaking with conviction. From now on, your skills will evolve, allowing each of you to tap into even greater power. Benimaru, your commander skill will evolve into Grand Commander, giving you unmatched tactical abilities. Hakuro, your martial master skill will evolve into Supreme Martialist, unlocking an even wider range of martial techniques. Diablo, Rimuru continued. Your Seeker skill will evolve into Omniscient Seeker, allowing you to track anything, physical or spiritual, no matter where it is. Sui, your Shadow Striker will evolve into Eclipse Stalker, making you nearly impossible to detect, even by magic. Ranga, your Lord of Mage Wolf skill will evolve into Abyssal Wolf King, giving you command over an army of demonic beasts, not just wolves, but creatures of the abyss. Shine, Rimuru said, addressing her with determination. From now on, you will have the skill Battle Fury Master, which enhances your offensive capabilities, turning your battle style into a storm of relentless power. You'll be able to fight with even greater precision, and your cooking-based enhancements will also increase your strength and stamina in combat. Shine's eyes widened, and she grinned. Battle Fury Master. I can feel the power already. I will make sure it's put to good use, Rimuru. Rimuru then turned to Geld. Geld, your Guardian skill has been great for protecting others, but it's time for an upgrade. From now on, you'll possess Titanic Warden, an evolution that gives you immense power in battle. You'll not only protect, but you'll be able to take down enemies with your unbreakable defense and overpower them with brute strength. Geld's already towering figure seemed to grow even more imposing as he flexed his muscles, feeling the new power surging through him. This will allow me to protect all of Tempest and smash any enemies that dare challenge us. I will fight to my fullest, Rimuru. Rimuru then addressed Zijin, who was standing patiently nearby. Zijin, your Sephiroth, Lord of Life skill is powerful, but it's time for a true evolution. I will upgrade it to Abyssal Life Overlord. This will allow you to control life energy on a massive scale. You will gain the ability to manipulate life forces, enhance your regenerative abilities, and summon beings born from pure life essence. Your presence will become even more formidable, and your connection with life itself will evolve into something even more extraordinary. Zijin's eyes glowed with a fierce intensity, his connection to life energy deepening. This power, I can feel it coursing through me already. I will use it to protect Tempest and obliterate any who dare to oppose us. Congratulations. You've all evolved. Your new skills are now at your disposal. Use them wisely, and let's continue growing stronger together. The generals were overwhelmed with a mix of excitement and gratitude. They could feel the new powers coursing through them, and the weight of responsibility for the battles ahead. Benimaru cracked his knuckles, his eyes shining with newfound determination. This power, it feels incredible. Hakuro's stoic expression softened. I'll be able to fight in ways I never imagined before. Diablo bowed his head in respect, Thank you, Rimuru. I will use this power to track and protect you all. Sui's usually quiet demeanor was replaced with an intense focus. With this power, no one will be able to touch us. Ranga's eyes glowed with the power of his new evolution. I will lead an army like no other. Rimuru watched his generals with pride. This is just the beginning. Together, we'll face whatever challenges come our way. I'm counting on all of you. They all nodded in unison. Rimuru then turned to Rugard, who had been overseeing Tempest. Rugard, you'll continue to handle things here. Make sure the city is prepared for the coming times. Rugard gave a deep bow. Of course, Rimuru. I will handle it with utmost care. With everything set in motion, Rimuru's mind turned toward the coming storm. The day of the Valpurgis had finally arrived, and the atmosphere in the Grand Hall was heavy with anticipation. The demon lords, already seated, exchanged quiet conversations and speculations about the purpose of this gathering. Guy Crimson, Luminous, Draggle, Ramiris, Malim, and Leon Cromwell were present, each an imposing figure in their own right. But the one they were all waiting for was Rimuru. After a while, the doors to the hall opened, and Rimuru entered. A wave of shock rippled through the room. His appearance had changed drastically. Not only had his form become more imposing and his stature taller, but the aura radiating from him was almost overwhelming. It was clear to all that Rimuru had surpassed his previous limits in ways they couldn't quite comprehend. Guy Crimson, ever the observant one, was the first to break the stunned silence, a smirk playing on his lips. Well, Rimuru, I must say, you've certainly undergone a rather impressive transformation. Malim, ever the energetic one, was the next to speak, her eyes wide with excitement. Wow, you've gotten way stronger. This is awesome. She jumped out of her seat, unable to contain her enthusiasm. The other demon lords nodded in agreement, though their reactions were more measured. Leon Cromwell leaned forward, eyeing Rimuru with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Ramiris, always the cheerful one, gave a lighthearted chuckle but was clearly impressed. Rimuru simply nodded in acknowledgement and took his seat, the room quieting once again. Guy Crimson, now sitting back with his arms crossed, gave a knowing look and said, Rimuru, you've certainly come a long way, but I'm sure you have something important to say. With that, Rimuru's expression grew serious. He knew that this meeting was crucial. The time for pleasantries had passed. He looked around at the gathered demon lords and spoke clearly, his voice carrying the weight of the information he was about to deliver. There's something I need to tell all of you, Rimuru began. A threat is coming, one far beyond anything we've faced before. Beerus, the god of destruction, came to me and warned me of a being named Artemis Valtherin, someone who is sealed away by Veldanava himself. The room was silent as the demon lords absorbed the name. Malim, ever eager for information, raised her hand. Artemis Valtherin, who is he? And what's this about Veldanava? Rimuru continued, his tone grim. Artemis and Veldanava were born around the same time, like brothers, but they were very different. Veldanava believed in creation, while Artemis followed the path of perfection through destruction and rebirth. They were two sides of the same coin. Eventually, Veldanava could no longer tolerate Artemis's constant cycle of destruction and decided to seal him away. But with Veldanava's death, the seal holding Artemis has begun to weaken. Soon, Artemis will break free, and when he does, he will attack the cardinal world. A murmur ran through the room as the demon lords exchanged glances, the gravity of Rimuru's words sinking in. Leon Cromwell narrowed his eyes, speaking up. If this Artemis is so powerful, why don't you just have Beerus deal with him? Is Artemis stronger than Beerus? Rimuru shook his head. No, Beerus is stronger than Artemis. Put it like this, from what Beerus told me and showed me, there is no being stronger than him in the multiverse. But Beerus told me that he doesn't want to fight our battles for us. If he were to deal with every problem that comes our way, how would we ever learn? How would we progress? He also said that, to him, it's a form of entertainment. We need to face this challenge ourselves. This is our world, and we are its guardians, and plus him warning us is already a big help. Ramiris, who had developed a sort of friendly rapport with Beerus, shook her head, her expression showing both affection and exasperation. That guy, he's not called the god of destruction for nothing, is he? I knew he wouldn't do it for us. Her tone was light, but there was a hint of fondness in her voice as she recalled Beerus' behavior. Malim, ever the fiery spirit, also chimed in with a smile. My father is right. We can't expect others to fight our battles for us. We need to stand strong and fight for ourselves. Rimuru nodded, his gaze sweeping over the room, ensuring that each demon lord understood the gravity of the situation. Exactly, and that's why we need to get stronger and fast. Not just for ourselves, but for all of our territories and the world. The tension in the room was palpable as the demon lords considered Rimuru's words. Guy Crimson leaned back in his seat, his eyes gleaming with intrigue. I see. We have to prepare. But if Beerus won't intervene, then it seems we'll have to do it ourselves. Very well, Rimuru. We will all get stronger in our own ways. Rimuru smiled, relieved that the demon lords were on board. I'll also be informing the leaders of the other countries. We need to unite, and we need to train harder than ever before. Guy Crimson then nodded, his gaze shifting to a distant corner of the room. I'll inform Rudra, the Emperor of the Eastern Empire. He'll need to know. He can help. He is strong too, after all. With that, the tone of the meeting shifted. No longer was it a gathering of demon lords simply discussing their power. Now it was a call to arms. Artemis Valtherin was coming, and the world was at stake. Rimuru, with the support of the demon lords and the leaders of other countries, would lead the charge. But to do so, they would need to train harder than ever before and unlock their true potential. The Valpurgis meeting had started as a gathering of powerful beings, but it had quickly turned into a strategy session for survival. And Rimuru, with the strength he had earned and the leadership he had gained, was ready to lead the way. The very next day, Guy Crimson made his way to the Eastern Empire to deliver the dire news to Emperor Rudra and Velgrind, the Scorched Dragon. Unlike others, Rudra prided himself on his vast knowledge of the world, and Velgrind's bond with Veldanava made her privy to many secrets. However, this time, Guy carried a revelation that neither of them could have foreseen. When Guy arrived at the Grand Palace of the Eastern Empire, Velgrind met him at the gates, her piercing eyes scanning his face for answers. Guy, she said, her tone cautious but curious. What brings you here so suddenly? You're not the type to visit without reason. This isn't a social call, Velgrind, Guy said, his crimson eyes glowing faintly. I need to see Rudra immediately. This is urgent. Velgrind narrowed her eyes but nodded, leading him through the ornate halls to the throne room. Emperor Rudra sat upon his golden throne, his expression calm but calculating as he studied Guy. For you to come here in person, Guy Crimson, it must be something critical, Rudra said. I am listening. Guy wasted no time. There's a threat coming, one unlike anything this world has ever faced. His name is Artemis Valtherin, and he's the twin counterpart of Veldanava, the god of destruction. Both Rudra and Velgrind froze, their expressions shifting to shock. What are you talking about? Velgrind demanded. I know Veldanava better than anyone, and I've never heard of this Artemis Valtherin. Of course you haven't, Guy said sharply. No one has. This was a secret Veldanava kept from everyone. The only reason I know is because Rimuru told me, and the only reason he knows is because Beerus himself told him. Beerus, Rudra asked, his voice now tinged with urgency. The god of destruction? The very same, Guy confirmed. If Beerus is taking this seriously enough to warn us, we'd be fools to ignore it. Velgrind's eyes narrowed. Who is this Artemis Valtherin, and why would Veldanava hide his existence? Guy explained, his voice grave. Artemis Valtherin was born alongside Veldanava, almost like his twin. Veldanava embodied creation, while Artemis represented destruction. Two sides of the same coin. For Ians, Artemis believed that perfection could only come from destruction and rebirth. Everything Veldanava created, Artemis sought to destroy, claiming it was flawed. Velgrind's fists clenched, her aura flickering. That can't be. Veldanava never spoke of this. He never. He didn't because he wanted to handle it himself, Guy interrupted. Veldanava eventually sealed Artemis away, hoping that time would make him understand the value of imperfection. But after Veldanava's death, the seal began to weaken. Artemis is on the verge of breaking free. Rudra's face darkened. If this Artemis is as powerful as you say, then we're all in danger. But why can't Beerus deal with him? Surely the god of destruction is stronger. Guy smirked, but there was no humor in it. Beerus is stronger. He could wipe Artemis out with a flick of his finger, but that's not how he operates. He told Rimuru that if he fought every battle for us, we'd never grow or learn. To him, this is as much a test for us as it is entertainment for himself. Velbrind let out a bitter laugh. Typical of a god of destruction. He's as infuriating as he is powerful. Guy nodded. Still, he's right about one thing. This is our fight. We need to prepare. Rimuru has already started reaching out to the leaders of the other nations. You, Rudra, must mobilize the Eastern Empire. And Velbrind, you'll need to evolve even further. If we're not at our peak, we won't stand a chance. Rudra leaned forward, his eyes blazing with determination. If Artemis truly threatens the survival of the world, then the Empire will stand united with the rest. I'll do whatever it takes to protect this world. Meanwhile, back in Tempest, Rimuru had begun contacting the leaders of the other nations. First, he reached out to King Gazel Dwargo of the armed nation of Dwargon. The dwarf king listened intently as Rimuru relayed the warning. If this comes from Beerus, then it's no joke, Gazel said, his expression grim. The armed nation of Dwargon will prepare for war. You have my word, Rimuru. Rimuru then contacted Elmesia El-Ru Sarion of the sorceress dynasty of Sarion. Elmesia, ever the pragmatist, was visibly shaken by the news. If Beerus is involved, then this is beyond any of us. We'll stand with you, Rimuru. Sarion's forces will be ready. Next was King Edmaris of Falmouth Yum and the Minister of Blumend. Both were initially skeptical but quickly realized the gravity of the situation. If this Artemis is as dangerous as you say, then we have no choice but to unite. We'll begin preparations immediately, Yum said. By the end of the day, Rimuru had united the nations in a common cause. Fear lingered in their hearts, but so did resolve. Armies began training harder, alliances were forged, and strategies were devised. As the world prepared for war, Rimuru stood on the balcony of his castle, his generals gathered behind him. He could feel the weight of the responsibility on his shoulders, but also the unwavering determination of those who stood with him. After countless days of strategizing, training, and uniting nations in preparation for the looming threat of Artemis, Rimuru finally decided he needed a moment for himself. Standing on the balcony of his castle, the cool evening breeze brushed against his skin as he gazed at the stars. For the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to think about something other than the battles ahead, his own feelings. He thought about Cheyenne and Shuna, two of his most trusted companions who had always been by his side. They weren't just loyal subordinates. They were part of his destined ones, those whose bonds with him transcended the ordinary. Their unwavering devotion, strength, and love had not gone unnoticed. If there was ever a time to express how he truly felt, it was now, before the chaos of the impending battle consumed everything. With newfound resolve, Rimuru decided to call them both. Using thought communication, he asked Cheyenne and Shuna to meet him in the serene garden behind his castle, a place he knew they both cherished. When Cheyenne and Shuna arrived, the moonlight illuminated the garden, casting a tranquil glow on the flowers swaying gently in the breeze. Rimuru stood there, his back to them, seemingly lost in thought. Lord Rimuru, is something wrong? Shuna asked softly, concern evident in her voice. You rarely ask to meet us like this, Cheyenne added, tilting her head slightly, her violet eyes searching his expression. Rimuru turned to face them, his gaze warm but serious. For a moment, he hesitated. How do you express feelings that have been growing steadily over time? Feelings that are so deeply intertwined with trust, admiration, and affection. Taking a deep breath, he began. Cheyenne, Shuna, I've been thinking a lot lately. About everything. About the battles we've fought, the future we're preparing for, and the people who've been by my side through it all. Both of you are incredibly important to me. The two exchanged surprised glances, but they remained silent, allowing him to continue. Shuna, you've always been the heart of Tempest, Rimuru said, his voice gentle. Your kindness and wisdom bring peace to everyone around you. And Cheyenne, your strength and determination have saved me more times than I can count. You're my sword and shield, always protecting me, no matter the danger. Cheyenne's eyes widened, and her usual confidence seemed to falter for a moment. Lord Rimuru, she began, but her voice trailed off, unsure of what to say. Shuna's cheeks turned a soft shade of pink as she looked down, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. I'm not sure what to say, my lord. Rimuru smiled at their reactions, finding them endearing. What I'm trying to say is that I care about both of you, not just as my subordinates or as my friends. It's something deeper, something I can't ignore anymore. You're both part of my destined ones, and I want you to know how much you mean to me. There was a long moment of silence as the words sank in. Cheyenne's face turned crimson, and for once, she was at a loss for words. Shuna, still looking down, clasped her hands even tighter, her heart pounding. Finally, Cheyenne stepped forward, her usual boldness returning. Lord Rimuru, I've always felt this way about you. I've always wanted to stand by your side, not just as your guard, but as someone you can trust with your heart. Hearing this from you, it means everything to me. Shuna lifted her gaze, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. I feel the same, my lord. You've always been my guiding light, and knowing that you see me in this way, it fills me with joy I can't even describe. Rimuru chuckled softly, relieved that his feelings were returned. I know we have a lot ahead of us. Artemis, the preparations, everything. But I wanted to tell you this now, because no matter what happens, I want you both to know how much you mean to me. He then pulled them one by one, and it was a night full of joy, moans, pleasure, and stress relieved. The days in Tempest were busier than ever, but the air felt lighter after Shizu and the kids returned from their trip. Shizu was glowing with happiness, the kids full of stories about their adventures. Chloe, however, seemed to have undergone a change. She had finally decided to remain in her adult form, a decision that raised quite a few questions among the other kids. Rimuru, Shizu, and Chloe sat the children down for a lighthearted but honest conversation. Chloe explained that her adult form was a manifestation of her true self and her powers, and she wanted to embrace it fully. While the other kids were initially confused, they eventually accepted it, especially when Rimuru teased Chloe, saying, she just doesn't want to lose her edge. That statement made Chloe blush furiously, especially since it hinted at her feelings for Rimuru. Chloe, feeling competitive, finally decided she needed to step up her game. One evening, with her heart pounding, she mustered the courage to confess her love to Rimuru. The moment was filled with nervous energy, but when Rimuru looked at her with warmth and said, I love you too, Chloe, her worries melted away. Chloe felt as though a weight had been lifted, and their bond deepened. Rimuru now had 4 wives, Shuna, Cheyenne, Shizu, and Chloe, and to say his nights were eventful was an understatement. They were filled with laughter, teasing, and love, each of them vying for his attention in their own unique ways. Meanwhile, the generals continued to grow stronger. With their newly evolved skills and Rimuru's guidance, they pushed their limits daily. Each of them was determined to protect Tempest and its people, knowing the stakes had never been higher. Zijin, Benimaru, Diablo, and the others trained relentlessly, mastering their powers and refining their techniques. Luna was instrumental in their progress, analyzing their performance and suggesting optimizations. Rimuru also came up with a bold idea. He contacted the other demon lords and world leaders, offering to let their soldiers train in the labyrinth. He explained that the labyrinth could be modified to create stronger monsters, providing the perfect training ground for honing their skills in real combat. The first to accept the offer was Luminous. She sent Hinata, the 10 great saints, and a contingent of her knights to Tempest. When they arrived, Rimuru personally greeted them and explained how the labyrinth would work as a training ground. He ensured the difficulty of the floors was adjusted to suit the capabilities of the incoming trainees while still pushing them to their limits. Every time Hinata crossed paths with Rimuru and Tempest, a faint blush crept onto her cheeks, much to her frustration. She tried to maintain her usual composed demeanor, but her traitorous mind would flash back to the time Rimuru had humiliated her in their first battle. The memory of being utterly spanked like a child, despite her confidence in her skills, was something she couldn't forget. She remembered every detail. The way Rimuru had countered her every move effortlessly. The look of calm confidence he wore as if their battle was a mere inconvenience to him. And then, there was the moment of humiliation when he pinned her down, proving beyond any doubt that she had no chance against him. That sting of defeat had been a tough pill to swallow for someone as proud as her. But now, seeing Rimuru again in his newly evolved form, radiating even more power than before, made her heart flutter for reasons she didn't want to admit. How was it possible for him to become even more overwhelming? She thought, her gaze involuntarily lingering on him during meetings. Rimuru, of course, was his usual cheerful and oblivious self, treating her like a close ally and occasionally teasing her in a way that left her flustered. During one such interaction, as Rimuru casually placed a hand on her shoulder and grinned, saying, "You're doing a great job, Hinata. I'm counting on you." Her face turned bright red, and she quickly turned away, mumbling something about needing to oversee the knight's training. Her knights had noticed her reactions as well. The ever-perceptive Fritz leaned over to Leonard one evening and whispered, "Don't you think Lady Hinata's been acting a little odd around Rimuru lately?" Leonard smirked knowingly. "Oh, I've noticed. She's blushing more than usual. You think?" Fritz quickly silenced him with a glare. "Don't even say it. She'd have our heads if she heard us gossiping." Meanwhile, Rimuru was entirely unaware of Hinata's inner turmoil. To him, she was a reliable ally and a strong leader, someone he respected deeply. He found it amusing to tease her occasionally, especially since she always reacted so stiffly. What he didn't realize was that her reactions weren't solely due to embarrassment. They were also fueled by conflicting emotions she was struggling to sort out herself. Despite her lingering feelings of humiliation and admiration, Hinata threw herself into her duties, determined to grow stronger. She couldn't allow herself to be distracted, not with the threat of Artemis looming. But no matter how much she tried to focus, her mind would inevitably drift back to Rimuru, the man who had not only defeated her, but had also become a beacon of hope for the entire world. And every time she saw him, her cheeks would flush, her heart would race, and she would scold herself for being so easily shaken by someone she considered an ally, and maybe something more. Soon after, other nations followed suit. The kingdom of Dworgen sent its dwarven soldiers, eager to prove their mettle. Sarion dispatched a battalion of highly skilled elves, while Blumend and Falmouth also contributed their forces. Soldiers from across the world began arriving in Tempest, creating an atmosphere of camaraderie and determination. The labyrinth became a hive of activity, with soldiers battling through its floors, learning from their mistakes, and growing stronger by the day. Rimuru occasionally stepped in to observe, offering advice, or even sparring with the trainees to inspire them. His generals also played a crucial role, mentoring the incoming soldiers and showing them what true strength looked like. Through it all, Rimuru remained the center of it all, a leader, a husband, and a friend to all those who had placed their trust in him. His resolve to protect everything he held dear burned brighter than ever, and he was determined to be ready for whatever came next. Months had passed since Beerus first warned Rimuru of the impending danger. The air in the multiverse felt heavier, an ominous ripple that even Beerus couldn't ignore. He stood in the void, gazing at the ancient seal that had held Artemis Valtherin for countless eons. Cracks now webbed its once impenetrable surface, glowing with chaotic energy. With a flick of his wrist, Beerus teleported directly to the seal's heart, where Artemis sat cross-legged in a meditative state, suspended in a void-like realm. The void was eerily silent as Beerus stepped through the fractured remnants of the ancient seal. It pulsed with chaotic energy, shards of its former stability now scattered like broken glass. The god of destruction stood tall, his presence alone enough to command attention, yet his expression was one of mild curiosity as he approached the core of the seal. There, suspended in the center of the void, sat Artemis Valtherin. The sovereign of ruins' long silver hair shimmered in the dim light, his androgynous figure both serene and unsettling. Crimson eyes opened slowly, locking onto Beerus with a look of intrigue. "Beerus," Artemis said, his voice smooth and layered with an unnatural resonance. "The famed god of destruction graces me with his presence. To what do I owe this rare honor?" Beerus crossed his arms, his tail swishing lazily behind him. "I'm here because your seal is breaking. Figured I'd see if being locked away for eons knocked some sense into you." Artemis smirked, his expression calm, yet dripping with condescension. "Sense? Is that what you call your unchecked destruction? The mortals tremble at your whims, Beerus. Yet here you stand, lecturing me on control." Beerus's golden eyes narrowed, his aura flaring ever so slightly. "Don't compare us, Artemis. My destruction serves a purpose, it's a part of the balance. What you do, you tear everything apart and leave nothing behind. That's not balance, it's annihilation." Artemis rose slowly, his obsidian armor gleaming with the eerie glow of runes. "Balance is an illusion created by the weak to justify their imperfections. Destruction is the only truth, Beerus. It clears the canvas, erasing the filth so something greater can emerge." The void trembled faintly as the weight of Artemis's words carried his power. Beerus remained unfazed, his gaze sharp and unyielding. "Still the same self-righteous drivel," Beerus said, his tone laced with boredom. "Veldanava was soft to seal you. I would have erased you outright." Artemis chuckled, a hollow and unsettling sound. Veldanava lacked the resolve to finish what he started. That was his greatest flaw, his sentimentality. And you? For all your strength, you play by the same rules, Beerus, bound by some misguided sense of balance. Beerus's energy flared, a flicker of his true power shaking the void itself. "Careful, Artemis. You're not in a position to lecture me about strength." Artemis stepped forward, his crimson eyes glowing brighter. "And you're not in a position to underestimate me, Beerus. I have seen the tapestry of existence, and it's riddled with flaws. Destruction isn't chaos, it's salvation. The weak cling to their lives, unaware they are the very disease that plagues creation." "Spare me the philosophical garbage," Beerus shot back. "You're just a glorified tantrum waiting to destroy everything, because you can't deal with how the world works. You call it salvation, but it's nothing more than vanity." Artemis's smirk widened. "And yet, you're here. If you're so confident in your strength, why bother coming at all?" "Afraid I might have a point." Beerus stepped closer, his presence suffocating. "I came because I wanted to see for myself if you've changed. And now I see you haven't. I'm giving you one warning. Keep yourself in check. Because if you step out of line, I'll make sure you regret it." Artemis tilted his head, his expression unreadable. Such bravado. "But tell me, Beerus, do you truly believe the mortals of this world will stand idly by while I rewrite existence? Or are you curious to see how they'll fare?" Beerus's lips curled into a faint smirk. "What they do is none of my concern. But if they fail, I'll deal with you myself. That's all you need to know." Artemis chuckled again, the sound echoing ominously in the void. "Very well, then I'll entertain myself with them first. Let them face my minions, my harbingers of ruin. If they can't handle them, they'll be nothing more than dust underfoot when I step in." Beerus's golden eyes gleamed with amusement as he began to turn away. "Do whatever you want, Artemis. Just don't forget, I'm watching. The reason I'm not stepping in to erase you right now is simple. I think watching you and the mortals of the Cardinal World clash will be entertaining." Artemis raised an eyebrow, his lips curling into a sinister grin. "Entertainment, you say? You always were a peculiar deity, Beerus, playing games with the threads of existence just for amusement. But very well, I will give you a show worthy of your attention." Beerus's form began to shimmer, his essence fading into the void as his voice echoed one last time. "You'd better make it interesting, Artemis. I'm not easily impressed." As Beerus vanished, the oppressive silence of the void returned, leaving Artemis alone with his thoughts. The faint hum of chaos filled the air, a living, breathing reminder of his power. The sovereign of ruin closed his crimson eyes, a cold smile gracing his lips. "Let them come," he murmured to himself. "Let them struggle, let them fight. Their resistance will only make the final act all the more satisfying." The runes on his obsidian armor pulsed faintly, a harbinger of the storm to come. Artemis stretched his hand outward, the cursed weapon Erebus materializing in a swirl of dark energy. He gripped it tightly, feeling the weight of its destructive potential. "Now," Artemis whispered, his voice carrying across the void, "it begins." As the seal holding Artemis began to weaken, the ripples of his power started slipping through the cracks, spilling into the cardinal world. Though faint, these echoes of his presence were enough to disrupt the natural order. The skies darkened unpredictably, even in the middle of the day. Violent winds swept through vast landscapes, uprooting trees and scattering debris. In some regions, torrential rains poured relentlessly, flooding villages and cities, while other areas experienced unnatural droughts, their rivers and lakes drying up overnight. Storms raged with ferocity unlike anything ever recorded, their lightning bolts streaking across the heavens in colors of crimson and violet. These storms were not ordinary. They bore the taint of chaos, striking fear into the hearts of even the bravest souls. The very earth itself seemed restless, quaking intermittently in random places. Mountains trembled, valleys cracked, and fissures opened up in barren lands, spewing ominous black mist. The wildlife acted erratically, with animals fleeing en masse or becoming unusually aggressive, attacking anything in sight. In Tempest, Rimuru stood atop a hill, gazing at the unsettling changes in the environment. He could feel it, an ominous, chaotic energy threading through the air. It was faint yet suffocating, like a harbinger of something far worse. Luna, ever vigilant within Rimuru's mind, echoed his concerns. Master, the disturbances are not natural. The essence of Artemis Valtherin is leaking into this world. His power is influencing the environment, destabilizing it, Luna explained. Rimuru frowned. So even his weakened presence can cause this much chaos. It's a sign that the seal is almost gone. In other regions, the demon lords and leaders of various nations were also taking notice. Guy Crimson watched the eerie crimson lightning split the skies from his castle. His lips curled into a smirk. So, the sovereign of ruin stirs. The game is about to begin. In Luminous Domain, the citizens prayed fervently as unnatural auroras painted the sky in shades of blood red. Luminous stood on her cathedral balcony, her expression grim. This is no divine intervention. It's destruction itself reaching out. Even Malim, known for her carefree attitude, felt the unease. She paced her throne room, fists clenched. This isn't normal. Artemis is definitely about to make his move. Across the cardinal world, fear spread like wildfire. The leaders of nations scrambled to calm their people, but even they could not hide their growing dread. The ominous weather patterns and environmental upheaval were merely a prelude, a warning of the chaos to come. And somewhere deep in the void, Artemis smiled, sensing the unease spreading through the mortal realm. Good, he murmured, his crimson eyes glowing faintly. Let the fear take root. Let them know despair before they even see me. In the tranquil expanse of his realm, Beerus reclined lazily on his grand throne, surrounded by his wives who pampered him with delicacies and conversation. His sharp golden eyes twinkled with amusement as he observed the chaos unfolding in the cardinal world. The faint smirk on his face betrayed his enjoyment of the unfolding events. Suddenly, a portal of shimmering energy opened, and Feldway, Zalario, and Zelenus stepped through. The three figures, exuding power and reverence, immediately dropped to one knee before the god of destruction. Lord Beerus, Feldway began, his tone steady but tinged with curiosity. We could not help but notice the disturbances rippling across the cardinal world. What is happening? Should we be concerned? Zalario, her voice soft yet firm, added. The balance of existence feels unstable. Is it the work of an ancient force? Zelenus, ever vigilant, cast a quick glance upward, as if sensing the chaos through the very fabric of existence. If there's something threatening the equilibrium, should we intervene? Beerus let out a soft chuckle, setting aside a goblet filled with the finest nectar. Artemis Valtherin, he said, his voice carrying a casual weight that made the trio stiffen. The sovereign of ruin. A being Veldanava sealed long ago, and for good reason. Feldway's crimson eyes widened in shock. Artemis. He hesitated, disbelief in his voice. But I was Veldanava's right hand. I knew of no such being. How could he have kept this from me? Beerus leaned back with a knowing grin. Veldanava wasn't the type to share all his secrets, Feldway. Artemis is different. A twisted embodiment of destruction, born alongside Veldanava as a cosmic counterbalance. He was sealed because Veldanava deemed him too dangerous. The room fell silent as the gravity of Beerus's words sank in. Zalario, her expression grave, spoke next. If the seal is weakening, should we not act? The mortals in the cardinal world are ill-prepared for such an adversary. Zelenus nodded in agreement. Indeed, even with the demon lords, Artemis's power is beyond what they can comprehend. Should we intervene now? Beerus closed his eyes, appearing to contemplate their words. After a few moments, he opened them again, the sharp intensity in his gaze signaling his decision. You're right, the mortals will need assistance. Artemis's power is no trivial thing, and his minions alone could bring ruin. Go to the cardinal world, aid them in their preparations, but do not interfere directly unless absolutely necessary. Let them struggle, let them grow. If they can't rise to the challenge, then they're not worth saving. The trio exchanged glances before bowing deeply. As you command, Lord Beerus, Feldway said, his voice resolute. Do not fail me, Beerus said with a faint smirk. And remember, I'll be watching. With that, Feldway, Zalario, and Zelenus vanished in a flash of energy, leaving Beerus to return to his throne. He picked up his goblet once more, swirling its contents leisurely as his wives watched him with quiet amusement. Mortals, he mused to himself, so fragile, yet so amusing. Let's see if they're capable of entertaining me this time. His laughter echoed through the realm, a chilling sound that hinted at the trials yet to come. In the meantime, in the cardinal world, after feeling the ripple effects of Artemis' powers, they knew that it won't be long until he attacks. So the demon lords called for another Valpurgis to strategize and make sure everything is in place for a strong defense and counterattack. The grand hall of the Valpurgis meeting buzzed with tension as the demon lords gathered, each radiating their unique auras of power. They all knew the purpose of this urgent gathering, to strategize for the inevitable conflict against Artemis Valtherin. Guy Crimson, seated at the head, tapped his fingers on the armrest of his chair, his sharp crimson eyes scanning the room. Before Rimuru could speak, a portal of shimmering energy tore through the fabric of space, flooding the hall with a radiant, divine light. The demon lords immediately stood, their powers flaring defensively as three figures emerged from the portal. Feldway, clad in white gold armor that radiated an intimidating majesty, stepped forward. To his right stood Zelenus, whose slender frame and sharp, calculating eyes seemed to pierce through all they observed. To Feldway's left was Zalario, a towering figure whose black armor pulsed with an oppressive, yet calm energy. Who dares intrude? Guy Crimson growled, his aura flaring dangerously as he prepared to strike. The other demon lords mirrored his hostility, their energy rising. Feldway raised a hand, his expression calm yet authoritative. We are not here to fight. Stand down. Lord Beerus sent us. The tension in the room eased, though the demon lords remained cautious. Rimuru, sitting quietly, observed the newcomers with narrowed eyes, his instincts telling him they were not to be underestimated. Beerus sent you? Luminous asked, her tone skeptical. For what purpose? Feldway's sharp gaze swept the room before briefly lingering on Rimuru. His eyes narrowed slightly, as if sensing something extraordinary. Zelenus and Zalario exchanged glances, both clearly intrigued by Rimuru's aura. Feldway finally answered, his voice calm but firm. Lord Beerus felt the ripple effects of Artemis Valtheron's power slipping through the cracks of his seal. It is no secret that his release is imminent. When we inquired about the situation, Beerus instructed us not to interfere directly, but to provide support. That is why we are here. Malim tilted her head, crossing her arms. Support? What kind of support? Zalario stepped forward, his deep voice reverberating through the hall. Artemis will not attack alone. He will send an army, his harbingers of ruin. If the cardinal world is to survive, you will need an army of your own. Feldway continued. We offer you the assistance of the angels under our command. 1 million, perhaps even 2 million, should the need arise. The room fell into stunned silence. The idea of having such a force on their side was both a relief and a revelation. Ramiris fluttered nervously. 2 million angels? Are you serious? With that many, wouldn't we be unstoppable? Zelenus interjected, his tone clinical. Not quite. Artemis's minions are no ordinary soldiers. They are born of chaos, infused with his power, and are capable of overwhelming even the most formidable defenses. The angels will be crucial in evening the odds, but do not expect an easy victory. Rimuru, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. If Beerus is willing to send angels, it means he truly believes Artemis's forces will be a challenge. But relying on them entirely isn't wise. We need to ensure our own forces are prepared. Our strategy must account for Artemis's ability to manipulate chaos and disrupt the battlefield. Feldway nodded approvingly. Well said. Artemis's greatest strength is his unpredictability. His power can distort reality itself, which is why preparation and adaptability are key. Our angels will provide support, but the leadership and strategy must come from you. Luminous leaned forward, her icy gaze fixed on Feldway. And what of Artemis himself? If we somehow manage to defeat his army, will Beerus step in to finish him? Feldway's expression hardened. No, Beerus has made it clear, this is your fight. If you cannot stand against Artemis, Beerus sees no point in intervening. Consider this a test, both of your strength and your will to protect your world. The room fell into a thoughtful silence, the weight of Feldway's words sinking in. Guy Crimson broke the silence, his smirk returning. Then it settled. We focus on training our armies, fortifying our defenses, and preparing for the worst. Rimuru, you're probably the best suited to coordinate with the other nations. I'll handle rallying forces from the Demon Lord factions. Malim slammed her fist on the table enthusiastically. I'll train my forces harder than ever. They'll be ready to crush anything Artemis throws at us. Rimuru nodded, his calm demeanor masking the storm of thoughts in his mind. I'll also open the labyrinth to train not just my forces, but anyone willing to fight. We can modify it to simulate conditions against chaos-infused enemies. Feldway, Zelenus, and Zelario listened intently, occasionally nodding in approval. Zelenus finally spoke, his voice cutting through the discussion. Time is short. We estimate Artemis's seal will fully break within a matter of weeks. Use that time wisely. Zelario added, we will leave our angels stationed nearby. Should you need their assistance, simply call upon them. But remember, victory lies in your hands, not ours. The meeting concluded with the demon lords and the angels solidifying their plans. As the celestial trio prepared to leave, Feldway glanced at Rimuru one last time, his expression unreadable. Rimuru Tempest, he said, his voice carrying an undertone of respect. I hope your power is as formidable as it feels. You may be the key to tipping the scales in this battle. With that, the angels vanished through a glowing portal, leaving the demon lords to their preparations. Rimuru exhaled deeply, his determination hardening. The battle against Artemis was coming, and failure was not an option. As the preparations continued in Tempest, Rimuru called out to Luna within his mind, her ever-present ethereal voice echoing in response. What is it, Rimuru? Luna asked, her tone calm, yet curious. I've been thinking, Rimuru began. If we're all going to face Artemis and his forces, the demon lords will need to be stronger. Can you help them evolve their skills? I'm talking about Guy, Malim, Draggle, Luminous, and Leon. Their power is immense, but if they can push past their limits, we might stand a better chance. Luna's presence flickered for a moment, as if pondering deeply. Evolving the skills of beings as powerful as the demon lords is no simple matter, Rimuru. However, with my abilities, it is possible to refine their ultimate skills and help them ascend further. Rimuru smiled slightly, feeling a surge of hope. That's good to hear. And what about Ramiris? Can you do something for her as well? Luna hesitated before answering. Ramiris is a special case. Since she has lost most of her former power as a spirit queen, her abilities are fundamentally limited. I can enhance what little remains of her skills, but it won't be comparable to what I can do for the others. Her current state as a diminished spirit lord makes significant evolution nearly impossible. Rimuru sighed, a bit disappointed but understanding. That's fair. Ramiris does have the labyrinth, so she's already contributing a lot by providing a training ground and a fallback defense. Let's focus on the others, then. Understood, Luna replied. I will analyze their skills and provide a list of recommendations for how to evolve them. Each demon lord will need to undergo a process to fully integrate the changes, and it will require their full cooperation. Leave that part to me, Rimuru said confidently. I'll talk to them and explain everything. They'll understand the importance of this. Luna's voice carried a faint trace of amusement. Very well, Rimuru. I'll begin my analysis. Once I'm ready, I'll let you know how we can proceed. With that, Rimuru called for the demon lords to meet him in a private chamber in Tempest. Guy Crimson was the first to arrive, his usual smirk plastered across his face. Malim came bounding in next, her energy practically spilling over. Draggle, with his stoic presence, entered silently, followed by the ever-elegant Luminous and the calculating Leon Cromwell. Ramiris fluttered in last, looking curious but slightly apprehensive. Rimuru explained his plan, emphasizing how evolving their skills would give them an edge against Artemis's forces. The demon lords listened carefully, and while some, like Malim and Guy, were excited at the prospect, others, like Draggle and Leon, appeared more reserved. As the demon lords gathered in the private chamber, their gazes were fixed on Rimuru with varying degrees of curiosity and skepticism. The notion that Rimuru, despite his overwhelming strength, could evolve their skills was something none of them could fully grasp. Guy Crimson leaned back in his chair, his crimson eyes narrowing with intrigue. So, Rimuru, you're saying you can evolve our skills? Even mine. His smirk widened as he crossed his arms. How exactly do you plan on doing that? Don't tell me you've developed some godly method we don't know about. Malim tilted her head, looking genuinely confused but excited. Rimuru, is this another one of your secret tricks? How can you mess with our skills? I don't even know if that's possible. Leon Cromwell's expression was calm, but his golden eyes betrayed his doubt. Rimuru, do you truly understand the gravity of what you're proposing? Our skills are extensions of our very existence. Evolving them isn't something just anyone can do. How do you even have access to them in the first place? Draggle nodded slightly in agreement. This is unprecedented, even for someone like you, Rimuru. Do you have some kind of hidden power we're unaware of? Luminous tapped her fingers lightly against the table, her gaze sharp. You've always been full of surprises, Rimuru, but this skill evolution is a feat that not even Veldanava attempted lightly. What are you hiding? Ramiris, fluttering above the table, chimed in with her usual bluntness. Yeah, Rimuru, what's your secret? How can you just evolve our super awesome demon lord skills like it's no big deal? You're not telling us everything, are you? Rimuru chuckled nervously, scratching the back of his head. He had anticipated this reaction, but keeping Luna's existence a secret meant he needed to tread carefully. Look, Rimuru began, his tone calm but firm. You're right, I'm not giving you all the details. Let's just say I have a unique advantage that allows me to analyze and enhance skills. I can't go into specifics, but I promise you this. It's completely safe, and the results will speak for themselves. Guy's smirk faltered slightly, replaced by a more serious expression. You expect us to just trust you blindly, Rimuru? Evolving skills isn't child's play. If something goes wrong, it could affect us on a fundamental level. Trust, huh? Rimuru met Guy's piercing gaze without flinching. Haven't I earned that by now? I'm not asking you to take unnecessary risks. I'm offering all of us a chance to get stronger, for the sake of surviving what's coming. Malim stood up abruptly, her energy filling the room. I trust Rimuru. He's never let me down before, and I know he won't now. If he says he can evolve our skills, then I believe him. Her unwavering support caused a ripple through the room. Draggle nodded after a moment, his deep voice steady. If Malim trusts you, then so will I. I'll give you a chance to prove this, Rimuru. Leon crossed his arms, his expression unreadable. Fine, I'll cooperate. But if I sense even the slightest hint of instability in my skills, I'm pulling out immediately. Luminous sighed, her elegance undiminished. This better be worth my time, Rimuru. Don't make me regret it. Ramiris still seemed hesitant, but after a moment, she sighed and nodded. Okay, fine, but you better not mess this up. Guy leaned forward, his smirk returning. All right, Rimuru, let's see what you've got. But if you're hiding something big, don't think I won't figure it out eventually. Rimuru smiled, relieved that they had agreed despite their doubts. Thanks, everyone. I promise, this is going to be worth it. Just be ready. You might feel a little strange during the process, but it won't hurt much. Rimuru turned to Ramiris, his tone laced with regret. Ramiris, I hate to say this, but I won't be able to help you evolve your skills. You've lost too much of your original power, and the method I'm using requires a stronger foundation to work. I'm sorry. Ramiris's wings drooped slightly as she pouted. Ah, that's not fair. Everyone else gets stronger, and I'm just stuck like this? That's so lame. Before Rimuru could respond, Malim perked up, her eyes lighting with realization. Wait, Ramiris, why don't you ask my father, Beerus? You said before that you and he are friends, right? If anyone can help you, it's him. He's way more powerful than any of us. Ramiris's eyes widened as she gasped. Oh my goodness, Malim, you're absolutely right. How could I forget? Beerus and I are friends. He even gave me a special way to contact him in his realm. I haven't used it in forever, but this is the perfect time. Rimuru raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Beerus gave you a way to reach him? That's interesting. I didn't know you were that close to him. Ramiris puffed out her chest proudly. Of course, I'm awesome like that. Beerus and I go way back. He's always been kind to me. Well, in his own scary, godly way. Anyway, I'll go see him and ask for his help. Malim clapped her hands excitedly. That's a great idea. Beerus is super strong, and if anyone can restore your powers or help you evolve your skills, it's him. Ramiris nodded fervently, already brimming with excitement. Okay, I'll head to his realm soon. This is going to be amazing. If he helps me, I'll be back stronger than ever. Just you wait. Rimuru smiled, amused by Ramiris's renewed energy. Good luck, Ramiris. If anyone can convince Beerus to help, it's probably you. Just don't get on his bad side, okay? Ramiris waved her hand dismissively. Oh please, Beerus loves me. I'm not scared of him. She paused for a moment, her expression turning slightly nervous. Well, maybe just a little, but it'll be fine. I'll let you all know how it goes. With that, Ramiris fluttered off, already plotting her trip to Beerus's realm. The rest of the demon lords exchanged amused glances, though Malim's expression held a hint of pride. Guy smirked and leaned back in his chair. This should be interesting. Beerus doesn't just help anyone, but if Ramiris pulls this off, it'll be one more surprise in this already chaotic mess we're preparing for. Rimuru nodded, his thoughts already turning back to the challenges ahead. Let's hope she gets what she needs. Every bit of strength counts right now. As Ramiris vanished in a burst of energy, the room returned to its strategic atmosphere, though everyone silently hoped she'd return with some good news. Ramiris arrived at Beerus's realm, where the god of destruction lounged on an enormous cushioned platform surrounded by his wives, who pampered him without a care in the world. The air smelled of exotic teas and pastries, and the serene atmosphere seemed entirely detached from the turmoil of the cardinal world. Flying up to Beerus's face, Ramiris puffed out her chest indignantly and shouted, Beerus, why don't you ever come see me? I mean, Celestra is your kingdom, but you let one of your subordinates run it, and you only show up every now and then. Do you even care about what's going on down there? Beerus opened one eye lazily, his lips curving into a smirk. Celestra doesn't need me hovering over it, Ramiris. No one in their right mind would dare attack it. It's still the most powerful kingdom in the cardinal world, after all. I have no reason to meddle in trivial matters. Ramiris crossed her arms, still hovering close to his face. Trivial? Trivial. I had to come all the way here because of something important. I don't just show up for fun, you know. Beerus's wives chuckled softly in the background, clearly amused by the tiny fairy's boldness. Beerus sighed, sitting up slightly. All right, Ramiris, what do you want? Make it quick. I was in the middle of enjoying my snacks. Ramiris huffed. Fine. You want to know why I'm here? It's because I lost most of my powers. It's not fair. I sacrificed them to stop the excess magical leakage when Guy was fighting Malim that went on a destructive rampages. Someone had to keep the world from falling apart back then. Beerus raised an eyebrow, a hint of interest flickering in his gaze. So you burned through your own powers trying to clean up their mess? That'd sound like something you'd do. Ramiris nodded vigorously. Exactly. And now I'm stuck in this tiny, powerless form while everyone else is getting stronger. Rimuru is evolving everyone's skills, and I can't even participate because I've lost too much power. Beerus studied her for a moment before sighing and snapping his fingers. Fine, I'll help you. You've been useful in the past, and I suppose it wouldn't hurt to restore you. Before Ramiris could respond, she was engulfed in a radiant golden light. The energy swirled around her, forming intricate patterns and glowing brighter with each passing second. After a few moments, the light faded, revealing Ramiris in her full adult form. Her long, golden hair shimmered like sunlight. Her eyes sparkled with ancient wisdom and beauty, and her figure exuded grace and power. The aura of her restored magic was palpable, radiating ancient magic that felt as vast and deep as the cosmos itself. Ramiris blinked in surprise, looking down at her hands, then at the rest of her transformed body. Her mouth opened and closed a few times before she burst into a delighted laugh. I'm back. I'm really back. My powers, my glorious powers are back. She did a little spin in the air, marveling at the feeling of her restored strength. Oh, Beerus, thank you. You're the best. Beerus smirked, leaning back against the cushions. Of course I am. Don't forget it. Ramiris's joy was short-lived as she noticed a plate of cookies nearby. Without hesitation, she darted over, grabbed a handful, and grinned mischievously. And I'll just be taking some of these for the road. Before anyone could stop her, she vanished in a flash of light, leaving only a faint giggle echoing behind her. One of Beerus's wives chuckled, shaking her head. She hasn't changed a bit, has she? Beerus smirked, picking up a teacup. Nope, but that's why she's entertaining. At least she knows who to come to when it really matters. The serene atmosphere returned as Beerus leaned back, content, his gaze flickering briefly toward the cardinal world. Let's see what she does with that power now. Back at Tempest, it was time to evolve the demon lord skills. Rimuru stood inside one of the floors of the labyrinth, his hands clasped behind his back as he looked to the gathered demon lords. Guy Crimson, Malim Nava, Luminous, Leon Cromwell, and Draggle. All of them were ready for the next phase in their growth, and Rimuru could feel their anticipation. His mind was already focused on the task ahead. He told Luna, his unseen companion, and spoke with authority. Luna, it is time, evolve their skills. Make sure their powers surpass what they once were. Luna's voice echoed in Rimuru's mind as she replied. Understood, Rimuru. I will begin the evolution process now. The necessary modifications will be made based on their current skill sets. I will proceed with caution. Rimuru nodded, his expression calm, yet filled with the unspoken weight of the moment. The power of these demon lords was essential for the battles to come. He addressed the group now. You all know why we're here, Rimuru said, his voice resonating through the labyrinth's grand halls. The power you wield right now won't be enough when Artemis makes his move. Each of you has immense potential, and I believe Luna can help unlock it. You've trusted me, and now it's time for you to reach new heights. The demon lords exchanged glances, their expressions serious. Even Guy Crimson, typically the first to flaunt his superiority, was silent. This wasn't just a matter of personal strength, it was the survival of their world at stake. With a flick of Rimuru's hand, Luna's influence began to envelop the demon lords. Her powers manifested as a swirling, ethereal energy that surrounded them all. First, Guy Crimson's form shimmered as the energies wrapped around him. His ultimate skill, Lucifer, Lord of Pride, began to glow with a crimson light. The ancient runes of his title began to twist and distort as Luna's magic intertwined with it. Lucifer, Lord of Pride, evolved into Azazel, sovereign of the eternal abyss. This new skill granted Guy the power to manipulate both the fundamental forces of the universe and the souls of the beings around him, bending them to his will. His aura became far more domineering, and his control over time and space deepened, making him a far more formidable force in combat. Next, Malim Nava's powerful presence radiated with her signature energy. The flames of wrath that constantly surrounded her intensified as Luna's energy surged into her. Her ultimate skill, Sadnal, Lord of Wrath, began to crackle with an unholy fire. Satinel evolved into Vritra, Wrath Incarnate. This new form granted Malim dominion over destructive forces, amplifying her already potent destructive abilities to a level where she could manipulate not only the physical but also the emotional wrath within others. She became a harbinger of chaos, able to provoke and control destructive storms that could obliterate entire landscapes with a single thought. Luminous, ever serene and composed, closed her eyes as Luna's energy enveloped her. Her ultimate skill, Asmodeus, Lord of Lust, which had once empowered her with manipulation over desire and persuasion, began to resonate in a way that seemed to affect the very air around her. Asmodeus evolved into Lilith, Queen of Temptation. This evolution granted Luminous far more direct control over not only lust, but the very essence of desires, able to twist emotions and intentions on a much deeper level, even influencing the fabric of reality itself in subtle ways. She could now summon and control illusions so realistic that they could alter one's very perception of the world, bending others' wills to her whims. Leon Cromwell, who had always stood as a bastion of purity, radiated with an unwavering light as Luna's energy coursed through him. His ultimate skill, Megatron, Lord of Purity, glimmered with radiant power, but Luna's magic began to twist it, turning it into something far more dangerous. Megatron evolved into Solomon, bringer of light and judgment. This new skill allowed Leon to purify not only the physical world, but the very souls of those he judged, cleansing them or rendering them powerless before him. His aura became even more powerful, now capable of completely dismantling a person's will to resist through sheer force of purity, leaving them vulnerable to his influence. Finally, Draggle stood tall, the essence of destruction flowing within him. Unlike the others, Draggle had no ultimate skill, but Luna sensed the deep, untapped potential within him. She began to weave her magic into his abilities, enhancing his already formidable powers. Draggle's skills, such as all things destruction, attribute neutralization, hardening transformation, and seismic waves, began to evolve into something far greater. His destructive powers combined and amplified, creating the ultimate skill Chaos, the Annihilator. This skill allowed Draggle to manipulate and neutralize any attribute or material at will, making him capable of destroying not just objects, but entire constructs of reality. His seismic waves became capable of shattering the very fabric of dimensions themselves. As the final tendrils of Luna's magic faded, the demon lords stood motionless for a moment, each of them feeling the immense surge of power coursing through their bodies. The air itself seemed to thrum with their new abilities, and it was clear that the evolution of their skills had unlocked depths they hadn't even begun to fathom. Guy's crimson eyes narrowed as he felt the full weight of Azazel, sovereign of the eternal abyss, settling into his being. The surge of energy was different from anything he had experienced before. His control over time and space was now infinitely more refined. He could sense the strands of reality itself, as if he could reach out and bend them with a mere thought. The power felt vast and boundless, and for the first time, Guy's once confident demeanor shifted. There was a brief flicker of hesitation before he allowed himself to smirk, his prideful nature now intertwined with the cosmic force he commanded. This is beyond anything I've ever known, Guy murmured to himself, a deep satisfaction settling in. He flexed his hands, manipulating the fabric of space around him effortlessly, forming rifts in the air that seemed to stretch on forever. I could reshape this entire world with this power alone. Not even the strongest of enemies would dare challenge me now. Malim's fiery aura flared brighter as she embraced her new form, feeling the full force of Vritra, Wrath Incarnate surge through her. Her entire body hummed with destructive potential, and the flames that constantly burned around her grew hotter and more volatile. With a single thought, she could summon storms of chaotic fire, scorching everything in her path. She grinned wickedly, her once childish demeanor replaced by a fierce determination. "Huh, this is amazing," Malim shouted, spinning through the air with boundless energy. Her laughter echoed through the labyrinth, as her eyes glowed with an even deeper crimson. "I can feel it everywhere. I can see the wrath in the world. And now, I control it." She clenched her fists, her newfound power radiating in an almost unbearable heat. "This world's in for a real treat when I go all out." Luminous stood still, her serene expression unchanging as she felt the transformation take place within her. The magic of Lilith, Queen of Temptation, washed over her, heightening her connection to the desires of others. It was a deep, almost intoxicating power, one that allowed her to not just influence emotions but bend them to her will. Her mind expanded, and she could sense the flickering desires of every being around her, from the smallest to the greatest. Luminous closed her eyes for a moment, taking in the full extent of her new abilities. When she opened them again, they were glowing softly, filled with a knowing, almost predatory light. "I feel everything. The desires, the intentions, the very hearts of those around me. I can shape them, mold them into whatever I choose." She laughed softly, her voice smooth like silk. "This power will be invaluable. With this, I can make anyone see things my way." Leon stood with his head held high, his eyes closed as he concentrated on the power flowing through him. Solomon, bringer of light and judgment, had unlocked a new depth of purity within him. His presence now exuded an overwhelming sense of righteousness, and the light surrounding him had grown brighter, as if he were a beacon of divine authority. He could feel the full weight of his judgment upon his enemies, capable of purging both body and soul. "This power," Leon muttered, his voice stern and commanding, "it's beyond just purification. I can now reshape the essence of the world itself, turning even the darkest of souls to light." His hand raised, and with a single gesture, a radiant beam of light surged from his palm, splitting the air as it disintegrated a nearby boulder into dust. "No one will escape my judgment. Not even Artemis will be able to withstand my divine will." Draggle's transformation was more subtle, yet no less impactful. His body hummed with raw, untapped power as his skills melded into Chaos, the Annihilator. The destructive potential inside him surged, his ability to neutralize any attribute or material now complete. His mastery over destruction had deepened, and his seismic waves could shatter entire realms. But what truly excited him was the ability to bend reality itself, making him a force of nature that could destroy on a molecular level. He flexed his muscles, feeling the ground beneath him tremble slightly as his aura pulsed. "Incredible," Draggle whispered to himself. He slammed his fist into the ground, and a ripple of destruction spread outward, causing the very earth to crack and shatter. "I can destroy anything, even the fabric of reality itself. No matter what I face, I will obliterate it." As each demon lord marveled at their newfound abilities, Rimuru looked on with pride, feeling the power of his allies swell. The labyrinth around them seemed to shudder in response to their new might, the very structure of the world shifting under their feet. "Rimuru, now that all of your skills have evolved and each one is more powerful than ever, it is time for the second stage," he said while grinning. "We need to understand these powers and get used to them, and the best way is training." And with that, they all understood what was about to happen. Rimuru then told them that they will need to train to get used to their new powers, and the best way was to fight. You can see all of them excited. As Rimuru's words echoed in the air, the atmosphere around them seemed to ripple with the sheer power that now lay within each of the demon lords. They were ready for battle, their hearts pumping with excitement and anticipation. This wasn't just any fight. It was a trial by fire, a chance to test their limits, to grow stronger and more attuned to the immense powers they now commanded. Rimuru had devised the perfect plan for them to get accustomed to their evolved skills, and each demon lord was eager to prove their might. Rimuru called upon his generals, Benimaru, Cheyenne, Diablo, and the others, along with Veldora, to form the strongest barriers they could. The labyrinth began to warp and pulse as massive shields of energy enveloped the entire area. These barriers, shimmering with countless layers of defensive magic, would allow the battle to rage on without risk of collateral damage. The air was thick with tension as the demon lords, now fully aware of the stakes, readied themselves. Each demon lord took a side, their expressions full of focus and determination. With the barriers in place, Rimuru stepped to the center of the battlefield, raising his hand. He activated the signal, and the entire space seemed to vibrate with energy. The battle royale had begun. Immediately, the battlefield erupted into chaos. The battle royale had evolved into a contest of pure power, an arena where the newly evolved skills of each combatant were tested and honed with every strike. With the powers they wielded, the very fabric of reality trembled in their wake. The demon lords, Rimuru, and their allies stood ready to push their newfound strengths to their limits. The air itself seemed to quake as Rimuru unleashed his ultimate skill, Azathoth, the infinite abyss, creating a vast, bottomless chasm that distorted the very space and time around him. As Rimuru activated Deus Ex Machina, the divine architect will materialize in the form of complex geometric constructs that spread out from him, manipulating the battlefield as if it were a mere blueprint. Every structure he built seemed to react to the chaos around him, bending to his divine will. Rimuru's Genesis Omega, the eternal core pulsed with power, generating a massive, radiant core in the center of the battlefield that grew stronger with each passing second. With this core in play, Rimuru could feed and draw from an endless supply of magical energy, boosting his power exponentially. As Guy Crimson stood across from him, the immense power coming from Rimuru was apparent, but Guy was not deterred. His form shimmered as he activated Azazel, sovereign of the eternal abyss. A dark, ethereal aura enveloped him, causing space to distort and warp in bizarre ways. Time seemed to slow, the very air bending under his dominion. Guy raised a hand, and with it, the very fabric of reality shattered into jagged pieces as his Azazel tore apart the space around them. Rimuru's constructs buckled under the overwhelming force of Guy's manipulation, but Rimuru responded with the full power of Deus Ex Machina, erecting structures that neutralized Guy's attacks and turning the battleground into a labyrinth of shifting realities. Meanwhile, Malim, with the full force of Vritra, Wrath Incarnate, soared into the air, her aura erupting in a storm of devastating flames. Her power manifested as a swirling mass of fiery destruction, capable of obliterating anything in its path. She zoomed toward Draggle, who, with a roar, called upon Chaos, the Annihilator. The ground trembled beneath him as the sheer force of his power seemed to distort the very atmosphere. Chaos wrapped his fists in an aura of annihilating energy, each punch creating shockwaves of destruction that shattered the ground. Malim met his assault head-on with a blast of flames, but Draggle's mastery over annihilation proved to be overwhelming. The shockwaves from his punches created ruptures in the air, causing the ground beneath them to collapse into a bottomless pit, a void that consumed everything in its wake. Malim's fiery onslaught collided with Draggle's attack, causing an explosion of light and sound that rattled the very foundations of the labyrinth. But despite her formidable power, Malim found herself having to retreat, her strength being overwhelmed by Draggle's annihilating presence. Across the battlefield, Luminous was not idle. Her aura shifted as she invoked Lilith, the queen of temptation, and a sense of dark allure began to pervade the air. Her powers were now based on manipulation and subjugation, and the very fabric of reality itself seemed to bend in her favor. Lilith granted her the ability to influence the desires of others, creating illusions that could break the will of even the strongest. As Luminous raised her hand, a wave of irresistible temptation washed over Leon Cromwell, who stood firm, the light of his solemn, bringer of light and judgment blazing from his body. The very ground beneath them began to shimmer with divine radiance as Leon called upon the full force of his divine power. The divine radiance from Solemn turned the battlefield into a blinding storm of light and judgment. It cast away all darkness and confusion, counteracting Luminous' seductive illusions with pure divine will. The two powers collided, creating a dazzling explosion of light and shadow. Luminous, for a brief moment, found herself pushed back by Leon's divine judgment, but she quickly regained her composure, her seductive aura reforming into a new wave of temptation aimed directly at Leon's will. Yet Leon stood resolute, his connection to the divine light unshaken. Meanwhile, Malim and Draggle regrouped. Malim, having recovered from their earlier clash, prepared to engage once more. She spread her wings wide, the flames around her intensifying as she invoked the full power of Vritra, Wrath Incarnate. Her body surged with overwhelming power as she rocketed toward Guy Crimson, who stood calmly observing the battlefield, his time-altering powers keeping him in complete control. With a sneer, he raised his hand, slowing Malim's movements and causing the space around her to distort in unnatural ways. But Malim was not so easily thwarted. With a primal scream, she called upon her inner wrath, shattering the space-time distortions around her. The force of her power unleashed a fiery explosion, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Her destructive energy collided with Guy's time manipulation, causing the air to crackle with raw power. At the same time, Rimuru utilized Azathoth, the infinite abyss, to bend space around him, reappearing behind Luminous and Leon, his movements untraceable. He unleashed a wave of pure chaos energy from his hands, distorting time and space to make his attacks unpredictable. Luminous and Leon braced for the impact, but Genesis Omega, Rimuru's ultimate weapon, empowered his attacks, turning the very core of the labyrinth into a chaotic maelstrom of shifting power. As the battle wore on, each combatant was pushed to the limit. Their powers and abilities clashed in a chaotic frenzy, but none were backing down. Every attack left the very air around them burning, distorting, or crumbling into nothingness. Guy Crimson continued to warp reality, his attacks coming in waves of distortion that seemed to be everywhere at once. But Draggle, using Chaos, the Annihilator, countered with his own devastating shockwaves, turning the entire area into a volatile landscape of destruction. Rimuru, seeing his opportunity, warped space and time itself, making his attacks all but impossible to predict. He unleashed his chaos energy once again, this time magnified by Azathoth and Deus Ex Machina. The constructs he created swirled around him, directing attacks that resonated with the very core of reality itself. But Malim, roaring in fury, charged forward once again, enveloping herself in the wrathful power of Vritra, Wrath Incarnate. Her flames became an unstoppable torrent, incinerating everything in their path. The very ground beneath her began to crack and shatter as she tore through the battlefield, her rage fueling her every move. Luminous, not one to back down, summoned a final wave of her Lilith power, turning the very atmosphere around her into a vortex of illusion and temptation. She attempted to break the will of all her opponents, weaving a web of distractions, but Rimuru's mastery over space allowed him to avoid the illusions. Finally, as the battle approached its final hours, Leon Cromwell summoned the full might of Solemn, bringer of light and judgment, calling down divine judgment from the heavens itself. A beam of blinding light descended from above, striking the battlefield with devastating force, purging all darkness and chaos in its wake. The battle royale was far from over, but the land had been torn asunder, and the demon lords, along with Rimuru, had shown the true extent of their power. The world trembled beneath their feet, and their battle was only just beginning. Beerus, lounging comfortably in his realm with his wives, watched the battle unfold in the distance. His eyes narrowed slightly as he observed the raw power and explosive energy emanating from the battlefield. The demon lords, along with Rimuru, had truly surpassed their previous limitations, and even he couldn't help but feel a surge of appreciation for the magnitude of their growth. Velzer, lounging next to him, her golden eyes gleaming with interest, spoke first. It's incredible. They've evolved significantly since the last time we saw them fight. The power radiating from their attacks is on a whole new level, especially Rimuru. It seems that even I underestimated the potential of that one. Beta, ever the calm and collected figure, gave a soft smile. Indeed, Their abilities are evolving rapidly. It's fascinating to watch them push their limits and use their skills so creatively. I wonder how they'll fare when Artemis finally enters the picture. Beerus tilted his head slightly, his lips curling into a faint smirk. Oh, I'm sure Artemis will provide them with more than enough of a challenge. But for now, I can see they're having a good time. I think their skills will only continue to grow the more they face each other. The chaotic energy of the battle below reflected in Beerus' eyes. Rimuru's new skills, in particular, were something to marvel at. His use of Azathoth, the infinite abyss, along with the construction of reality-bending barriers and devastating attacks, had left even Beerus impressed. The fact that Rimuru could manipulate time and space so fluidly, creating so many powerful constructs, showed the true depth of his potential. The divine essence of Genesis Omega and the constant flow of power from Deus Ex Machina made Rimuru a force to be reckoned with, more than just a simple participant in the battle. Luminous use of Lilith, her mastery over temptation and illusions, had made her a formidable presence as well. Even the likes of Leon Cromwell were finding it difficult to break free of her influence in some moments. Beerus had always known she was powerful, but her evolution into Lilith, the queen of temptation, had certainly added a new layer of complexity to her power. And then there was Guy Crimson, with his Azazel, sovereign of the eternal abyss. Beerus couldn't help but smirk at the sheer audacity of Guy's manipulation of space and time. Guy was no longer just playing the game of power, he was redefining it, shaping the very battlefield to suit his whims. The combination of his skills and his cunning made him one of the most dangerous among them. Malim's transformation into Vritra, Wrath Incarnate, was almost terrifying in its power. Beerus couldn't help but raise an eyebrow as Malim's fiery onslaughts cracked the ground with each step she took. The force of her wrath was immense, capable of obliterating everything in her path. Her full transformation into wrath itself was exactly the kind of spectacle Beerus found so entertaining. Draggle had become a truly fearsome figure as well, his ability to annihilate with cows, the Annihilator wreaking havoc across the battlefield. Beerus could feel the tension in the air each time Draggle used his powers, as the very fabric of the world around him seemed to break and bend under his will. Impressive, isn't it? Beerus mused aloud, his smirk never fading. They've really surpassed themselves this time. Each of them is so uniquely dangerous now. I wonder how well they'll handle the true test, though. Belzer smiled softly. Their growth has been accelerated beyond measure. It's clear they're ready for something bigger. If Artemis does indeed strike, I'm sure they will be more than capable of defending their world. But it will be a challenge like no other. Beta nodded in agreement. Indeed, a battle between these beings and Artemis himself will be a truly interesting one to watch. Let's hope it provides enough entertainment, shall we? Beerus chuckled softly. Oh, it will. I'm sure of it. But for now, I'll let them play their little battle. Let's see just how far they've come before Artemis arrives. The sound of explosions and energy clashes echoed in the distance, but Beerus' focus remained on the battlefield. The second day of the battle royal was upon them, and the demon lords, along with Rimuru, had fully immersed themselves in the chaotic contest. The first day had been a testing ground, each of them adjusting to their newfound abilities, but now, as the energy intensified and the surroundings shattered with each blow, it was clear that the battle had evolved into something far more dangerous. The combatants were now moving at speeds and power levels that seemed almost incomprehensible, with their skills morphing and fusing with one another as the tide of battle continued to shift. Rimuru stood at the center, his body flickering with ethereal energies as the three ultimate skills coursed through him: Azathoth, Deus Ex Machina, and Genesis Omega. He was a whirl of energy, constantly manipulating the battlefield, summoning ethereal weapons and defenses while attacking with reality warping strikes. His Azathoth ability created distortions in the space-time continuum with each swing of his hand, rippling across the battlefield and forcing the others to adapt. Deus Ex Machina allowed him to craft complex, divine structures that assisted him both offensively and defensively. And Genesis Omega let him warp and alter reality itself in localized bursts, turning the environment into a realm of ever-changing possibilities. His first target was Malim, who was unleashing torrents of Vritra, Wrath Incarnate. Every punch she threw sent shockwaves across the land, fiery veins of destruction spilling forth from her fists. Her dragon-like energy clashed with Rimuru's ethereal barriers, but he smiled. This was the perfect challenge for him to test his full potential. He conjured a massive abyssal wall using Azathoth, blocking her onslaught. You're not holding back, huh? Rimuru said with a playful grin. Malim let out a fierce laugh, her eyes alight with pure wrath. Of course not. You think I'd let you win that easily? She summoned a massive fiery storm and sent it barreling toward Rimuru, but he countered by invoking Deus Ex Machina, restructuring the terrain beneath them into a labyrinth of ever-shifting corridors, forcing Malim to chase him while he avoided her attacks. Meanwhile, Guy Crimson was enjoying the battle immensely. His new power, Azazel, sovereign of the eternal abyss, allowed him to control space itself, folding it, twisting it, and turning it into dark voids that devoured everything in their path. With a casual flick of his wrist, he opened portals that led into different dimensions, launching his attacks from angles that were impossible to predict. You're slower than usual, Luminous, Guy taunted, dodging an illusory blast sent by Luminous, whose power is Lilith, Queen of Temptation, was still adjusting. Still not used to your power? Luminous, surrounded by radiant illusions, looked at Guy through the layers of her ethereal traps. I'm just getting started, she retorted. You'll regret underestimating me. With that, she manipulated the space around Guy, creating multiple versions of herself, each one whispering tempting words that tried to cloud his mind. As they closed in, Guy grinned. His Azazel ability effortlessly erased them, sending the illusory duplicates into nothingness, and he shot toward Luminous, engulfing her in a dark vortex of his own creation. Draggle, who had remained more reserved up until now, was no longer a passive participant. His new skill, Cows, the Annihilator, gave him control over destruction on an unimaginable scale. He could feel the power coursing through him, bending the very fabric of reality. He launched a massive seismic wave that fractured the ground beneath him, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. The earth itself seemed to collapse under his strike, and everything in its path was obliterated. His eyes glowed with chaotic energy as he focused on Leon Cromwell, the next target. Leon had been waiting for Draggle to make a move, and as soon as the seismic waves hit, he was there, launching his own attack. Leon's power as Solemn, bringer of light and judgment, was devastating. Leon controlled light and purity, wielding it like a divine weapon. He conjured beams of intense white light, each one carrying a soul-crushing weight of divine judgment. The light split the very sky as he charged toward Draggle, their powers colliding in an explosion of light and chaos. As the battle raged on, Rimuru's generals, Benimaru, Diablo, Zijin, Sui, Cheyenne, and even Veldora, stood on the sidelines, assisting in the maintenance of the protective barriers that shielded the surroundings from the devastation. Benimaru grinned as he watched the battle unfold. These guys are insane. To think that Rimuru's become this strong. I'm just glad I'm not in that fight. He turned to Sui, who had been silently watching the battle with his sharp eyes. What do you think, Sui? How are they doing? Sui, his expression calm but intense, nodded. They're getting used to their powers. Each one has reached a new level of understanding of their skills. But we can't let our guard down. It's only the second day, and they still have a long way to go before they truly master them. Zijin, who had been assisting in maintaining the barrier closest to the battle, flexed his muscles. If only I were allowed to join, I'd show them a thing or two. But I understand, this is their moment. Shine, standing beside Diablo, couldn't keep her eyes off Rimuru. Look at him go. He's even more amazing than before. Tonight, I will give him a good massage. She daydreamed, only to be snapped back to reality when Diablo gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Shine, focus. This is no time for daydreams, Diablo said in his usual calm tone. We need to ensure that the barriers hold steady. One slip up, and it could all come crashing down. Veldora, in his true form, was floating high above the battlefield, watching the demon lords engage with awe. His massive form radiated power as his laughter echoed through the air. Yeah, those fools are having too much fun. They're all playing with fire, but who's going to come out on top? I wonder. Veldora's eyes twinkled with amusement. I would love to jump into the fray myself, but for now, I'll let these fine warriors have their fun. It's better this way, right? As the second day progressed, the battlefield shifted from a chaotic scramble into an intense battle of wits, strategies, and overwhelming raw power. Each demon lord now fully commanded their abilities, pushing their skills to unimaginable heights. But amidst all the destruction, Rimuru maintained a steady focus. His eyes were sharp as he maneuvered around his opponents, finding the smallest openings to exploit. Impressive, he muttered to himself, his body moving fluidly between attacks. But now, it's time to see just how far you've come. With that, Rimuru unleashed his full potential, combining Azathoth, Deus Ex Machina, and Genesis Omega to create a powerful, destructive construct, the Infinite Spiral, an unending force that absorbed energy from the entire battlefield and redirected it as an overwhelming beam of force toward his opponents. The battlefield shook violently as the demon lords quickly scrambled to defend themselves. But even as their powers collided in the chaos, there was no denying the truth. Each one of them had reached a level of power that was nearly incomprehensible. The question now was no longer if they could win against each other, but how they would face the coming storm that was Artemis. After 2 days of relentless combat, the battlefield had finally calmed. The dust settled, and the demon lords, along with Rimuru, Veldora, and his generals, gathered in a grand hall within the labyrinth for a celebratory feast. The hall was adorned with shimmering magical lights, tables piled high with delicacies prepared by Shuna and the labyrinth chefs, and an air of camaraderie filled the space. It was a moment to reflect, recharge, and bond. As they all sat down, Malim, with her usual boundless energy, was already devouring her food. That was so much fun, she said, her mouth full. Rimuru, you've gotten so strong. It's scary. But don't think I'm gonna let you win next time. She raised a fist in determination. Rimuru chuckled, sipping his drink. You've always been a handful, Malim. But I'll admit, your Vritra, Wrath Incarnate, is something else. I had to work pretty hard to keep up with you. Guy Crimson leaned back in his chair, swirling a glass of wine. I'll give you credit, Rimuru. You're sharper than I thought. That move at the end, the Infinite Spiral, was a masterpiece. Though I have to say, my Azazel, Sovereign of the Eternal Abyss, would have swallowed it whole if we had more time. He smirked, his crimson eyes glinting. Leon Cromwell, ever composed, nodded. Your ability to adapt is remarkable, Rimuru. But your strategy with Deus Ex Machina was predictable after a while. You rely heavily on controlling the battlefield. Against someone who can counter it, like me with Solemn, Bringer of Light and Judgment, you'd be in trouble. Rimuru grinned. Fair point, Leon. But I noticed you were struggling with Draggle's chaotic attacks. You're too precise sometimes. Chaos throws you off. Draggle, who was seated near Leon, let out a booming laugh. That's because my cows, the Annihilator, doesn't care about precision. Pure destruction will always have its place on the battlefield. But I've got to hand it to you, Leon. Your light-based attacks kept me on edge. Next time, though, I won't let you outshine me. Luminous sipped her tea gracefully, her voice calm but cutting. Speaking of chaos, Draggle, your wild approach makes you easy to predict if someone is patient enough. My Lilith, the queen of temptation, would have had you groveling at my feet if I'd focused on you more. Draggle frowned but didn't retort, instead stuffing his face with food. Veldora, sitting with a proud grin, clapped his hands. Haha, you all did well, but none of you were as impressive as me. Even though I wasn't fighting, I was clearly the backbone of this entire operation, maintaining those barriers and cheering you on. Shine, standing behind Rimuru, gave Veldora a skeptical look. Lord Veldora, you mostly just laughed and shouted during the battle. I'm not sure that counts as contributing. Benimaru smirked, adding, and let's not forget how many times you almost dropped your part of the barrier because you got too distracted. Veldora huffed, crossing his arms. You all lack vision. One day, you'll understand my greatness. As the feast continued, Rimuru brought the conversation back to the battle. All right, everyone, now that we've had some fun, let's talk strategy. What did you notice about each other's fighting styles? What could we all improve on? Leon spoke first, his tone analytical. Draggle's attacks were overwhelming, but they lacked finesse. With more control, he'd be nearly unstoppable. And Luminous, your illusions are powerful, but they're not very effective against someone with strong sensory skills. Luminous raised an eyebrow. Noted, but your over-reliance on direct confrontation is a flaw, Leon. Sometimes subtlety wins battles. Rimuru smiled, cutting in. Guy's right, Malim. You've got insane power, but strategy matters. Think of it as using your strength more efficiently. And Guy, while we're on the topic, your dimensional attacks are terrifying, but they're predictable if someone figures out the pattern of your portals. Guy smirked. Good observation, but you'll find I don't stick to the same pattern for long. The group continued exchanging thoughts, offering constructive criticism and playful jabs. Even Veldora chimed in with exaggerated tales of his own strategic brilliance, drawing laughter and exasperation in equal measure. Guy chuckled, his voice smooth. Malim, your raw power is unmatched, but you get too reckless. You need to think more strategically, otherwise, someone like me can take advantage of your blind spots. Malim pouted. What? I wasn't reckless. I was passionate. While the conversation unfolded, Rimuru reached out to Luna in his mind. Luna, what do you think? Was I able to grow stronger from this battle? Luna's voice echoed softly in his consciousness. Of course, Master. Your abilities are designed to adapt and evolve with every challenge. Even now, your skills are subtly refining themselves, incorporating the lessons you've learned. Your ultimate skills, especially Azathoth and Genesis Omega, are limitless in their potential. The more you fight, the more you grow. Rimuru smiled inwardly. Good. I'll need every advantage when Artemis finally makes his move. Indeed, Luna replied. But remember, Master, true strength comes not just from power, but from the bonds you've forged. The allies you've gathered here are proof of that. Rimuru nodded, her words resonating deeply. The joyous atmosphere of the feast was suddenly interrupted by a radiant golden light that illuminated the hall. Conversations came to a halt as everyone turned toward the source. The light coalesced into the shape of a figure, and as it dimmed, a stunning woman emerged, blonde hair cascading down her back, glowing with an aura of divine power and elegance. Her beauty was ethereal, her presence commanding. The room went silent for a moment as all eyes were on her. Guy Crimson was the first to break the silence, rising from his seat, his crimson eyes narrowing in recognition. Ramiris, is that you? Malim blinked, her mouth still full of food, before suddenly pointing at her. Wait, that's Ramiris. You're glowing. And you're gorgeous, she exclaimed, her usual childlike exuberance bubbling to the surface. The others stared in awe, taking in the sight of the once diminutive and playful pixie now transformed into an elegant and commanding presence. Even Veldora, who usually boasted without restraint, was momentarily speechless. Ramiris smirked, placing a hand on her hip and giving an exaggerated spin to show off her new form. Surprised, aren't you? This is what I used to look like before I lost my powers. Impressive, huh? Her voice carried the same playful energy, but with a newfound confidence that matched her appearance. Luminous tilted her head, her silver eyes narrowing thoughtfully. I can feel it. Ancient magic radiating from her. Her power is no joke. Rimuru stood up, smiling warmly. Ramiris, you've really outdone yourself this time. Did you come straight from Beerus? I take it he restored your powers. Ramiris beamed, floating over to the table to join them. Of course. Beerus snapped his fingers, and poof, here I am, back to my former glory. I can't believe I let myself stay like that for so long. And now, I'm stronger than ever. She radiated pride, her aura crackling faintly with ancient magic. Malim grabbed Ramiris's hands, her eyes sparkling with excitement. You're so cool now, Ramiris. And that power, it feels so strong. I can't wait to spar with you sometime. Ramiris laughed nervously, pulling her hands away. Let's not get carried away, Malim. I just got my powers back. I don't want to ruin this beautiful face in a fight with you. Guy chuckled, his crimson eyes flickering with curiosity. You really are back in full form. It's good to see. Though I must admit, I didn't expect Beerus to step in and restore you personally. That must mean he thinks you'll be useful in what's coming. Ramiris frowned, sitting down and glancing around the room. Her eyes settled on Rimuru and the other demon lords. Speaking of which, what's going on here? You all feel different. It's not just your auras. They've completely changed. It's like you've evolved to another level entirely. Leon, ever composed, responded first. That's because we have. Thanks to Rimuru, we've all evolved our skills into something far greater than before. Each of us now wields an ultimate skill that reflects our essence. You might say we've reached a new peak. Ramaris's eyes widened as she scanned the room, sensing the overwhelming power radiating from each of them. Unbelievable. Even you, Malim. Malim puffed out her chest proudly. That's right. The feast continued, with Ramiris joining in the lively conversations and teasing. She shared stories of her time with Beerus, drawing both laughter and amazement. The camaraderie in the room grew even stronger as they bonded over their newfound powers and mutual goals. As the night went on, Ramiris looked around the room, a proud smile on her face. You've all grown so much. I guess it's time for me to step up too. If Artemis is coming, we'll need every ounce of strength we've got. Rimuru nodded. That's the spirit. Together, we'll handle whatever comes our way. Artemis won't know what hit him. The room erupted in cheers once more, and the feast continued late into the night, filled with laughter, planning, and the shared determination to face the challenges ahead. Deep in the abyss of an uncharted dimension, the seal that had bound Artemis, the sovereign of ruin, for eons finally shattered. A blinding, chaotic light erupted, casting jagged shadows across the desolate void as Artemis stepped forward. His alabaster skin shimmered faintly, his crimson eyes glowing with malevolent amusement. A resonant, maniacal laugh echoed through the dimension, reverberating like a symphony of destruction. Artemis spread his arms wide, feeling the overwhelming surge of his fully restored power. The cursed weapon, Erebus, shifted fluidly between a blade, a scythe, and a spear in his grasp, responding to his chaotic will. He turned his gaze toward the distant cardinal world, his lips curling into a wicked smile. Oh, how you've grown complacent in my absence, he murmured. You'll just wait. My return will be a tempest you cannot withstand. But first, the prelude. He extended his hand, and the void around him began to warp and twist. From the remnants of his chaotic energy and the magicules lingering in the dimension, Artemis began shaping his minions, his harbingers of ruin. Each was crafted to embody a fragment of his will, a masterpiece of destruction. Artemis's minions, the Abyss Reavers. Appearance, towering humanoid creatures clad in armor that seemed to be forged from the void itself. Their eyes burned with crimson fire, and their bodies were covered in jagged, pulsating runes that radiated chaos. Abilities. Entropic Slash. Their weapons, extensions of their bodies, emit chaotic energy that corrodes everything it touches. Warp Step. They can phase in and out of dimensions, making them unpredictable in battle. Void Shield. A barrier that absorbs attacks and converts the energy into explosive counterstrikes. Roll. Shock troops designed for frontline destruction and chaos. The Umbral Stalkers. Appearance. Shadowy, wolf-like creatures with multiple glowing red eyes and elongated claws that drip with corrosive energy. Their forms flicker like living shadows, never fully solid. Abilities. Silent Hunt. They become completely undetectable, even to the most advanced perception skills. Chaos Rend. Their claws tear through barriers and armor with ease, leaving behind destabilizing energy. Pack Instinct. They coordinate their attacks with uncanny precision, overwhelming their prey. Roll. Assassins and ambushers, perfect for disrupting enemy ranks. The Ruin-born Colossi. Appearance. Massive, hulking beings made of crystallized chaos energy, their forms glowing with a sinister light. Each step they take causes the ground to fracture and reality to tremble. Abilities. Seismic Ruin. They slam the ground, releasing waves of destructive energy that can topple fortresses. Entropic Absorption. They absorb attacks directed at them and convert them into raw power. Unyielding Presence. Their sheer size and aura instill fear, paralyzing weaker foes. Roll. Siege engines meant to break through enemy defenses. The Harbingers of Oblivion. Appearance. Humanoid figures cloaked in tattered robes that seem to devour light. Their faces are hidden, and their hands radiate an eerie, violet glow. Abilities. Reality Shatter. They channel Artemis's chaos magic to fracture space and time, destabilizing their surroundings. Mind Break. Their presence alone can disrupt the mental stability of weaker beings, causing hallucinations and fear. Chrono Warp. They manipulate the flow of time, speeding up or slowing down the battlefield. Roll. Support units that manipulate the battlefield to ensure victory. The Dread Sovereigns. Appearance. Elite generals of Artemis's army, humanoid in form, but exuding an aura that rivals demon lords. Each wields a weapon forged from Erebus's shards. Abilities. Dominion of Chaos. They can summon and control lesser minions with ease. Cataclysmic Strike. A devastating attack that combines chaos energy and their mastery of combat. Resilience of Ruin. Even when defeated, they can reconstitute themselves unless utterly annihilated. Roll. Commanders and Enforcers, leading the charge and maintaining order within the chaos. Artemis observed his newly created army with a cold, calculating gaze. With a wave of his hand, he summoned a vast fortress made of shifting black crystal, a base of operations for his campaign. The fortress pulsed with chaotic energy, a beacon of despair in the dimension. He began assigning roles to his minions, testing their abilities and honing their combat strategies. The Abyss Reavers sparred with the Ruin-born Colossi, their clashes shaking the dimension. The Umbral Stalkers darted between shadows, perfecting their ambush techniques. The Harbingers of Oblivion practiced weaving complex spells, creating maelstrom of destruction. Meanwhile, the Dread Sovereigns stood silently, watching over the preparations, their loyalty to Artemis absolute. Artemis smirked as he surveyed his forces. Soon, they will tremble before the might of my creations. But not yet. Let them enjoy their fleeting peace while it lasts. When I send my minions, their world will burn. With another wave of his hand, portals began to open, leading to various corners of the cardinal world. Artemis's laughter filled the void once more as he whispered, "Let the games begin." As Artemis's seal finally shattered, a cataclysmic surge of chaotic energy erupted, piercing through the dimensions and spreading across the cardinal world. The skies darkened unnaturally, clouds swirling in a tumultuous vortex. The ground trembled as an ominous crimson hue spread across the horizon, and a chilling wind howled through every kingdom, city, and wilderness. This was not just an energy surge, it was a harbinger of destruction. All across the cardinal world, the strongest sensed it immediately. The demon lords, the nation's leaders, and even ordinary mortals felt the weight of Artemis's awakening. The air itself seemed to grow heavier, as though the very fabric of reality was straining under the chaos. In Tempest, Rimuru stood at the heart of his kingdom, sensing the chaotic ripple. His golden eyes narrowed, and his expression grew resolute. He immediately activated his telepathic network, communicating with his generals and allies. All forces, prepare for the inevitable. It's time. Benimaru, standing by Rimuru's side, clenched his fist, his flames flickering ominously. It's unlike anything I've felt before. This is beyond terrifying. Diablo, ever calm, smirked. How thrilling. Let us see how this Artemis fares against Lord Rimuru's forces. Sui and Zijin were already coordinating the deployment of Tempest's elite troops, while Cheyenne cracked her knuckles with a grin. Finally, some real action. Let's crush anything that comes our way. Veldora, hovering nearby with his arms crossed, chuckled. This chaotic energy isn't bad, but it pales in comparison to me, the mighty Veldora. Rimuru sighed, shaking his head. Focus, Veldora. This isn't the time for your bravado. We'll need everyone working together. Dworgen, Sarion, and other nations. In Dworgen, King Gazel summoned his mightiest warriors. We stand united with Tempest. Ready yourselves for a battle that will be etched into history. In Sarion, Elmesia coordinated with Rimuru, sending their elven magicians to fortify defenses. Blumend, Falmouth, and other nations gathered their troops, preparing to send reinforcements. Even smaller nations sent whatever forces they could muster, understanding that survival depended on unity. The demon lords had also sensed Artemis's full awakening. Guy Crimson stood atop his icy fortress, his crimson hair glowing faintly as he smirked. So it begins. I hope Artemis is as fun as they say. Malim Nava, bursting with excitement, clenched her fists. I'm ready. Let's see what this Artemis is made of. Luminous Valentine gathered her vampire knights, her pale complexion betraying no emotion. This chaotic energy is vile, but it doesn't matter. We'll crush it. Leon Cromwell, ever stoic, prepared his knights. There's no room for error. Every move must be calculated. Ramiris, now in her full glory, flitted about, coordinating with her spirit troops. This is going to be big, but we'll win. I know we will. Draggle's eyes glinted with determination as he prepared his devastating physical might for the coming storm. As Rimuru's communication network relayed instructions, the allied forces began moving into position. Tempest's army. The front lines consisted of Tempest's strongest generals, with Benimaru leading the charge, Diablo controlling the vanguard, and Zijin guarding critical points. Sui's shadow network monitored for any surprise attacks. Dwarven forces, equipped with indestructible armor and weapons forged in Dworgen's legendary forges, the dwarves stood as a bulwark. Elven magicians. Sarian's elite elven magicians created powerful barriers and enchanted weapons. Demon lords. Each demon lord took command of a separate sector, ensuring every part of the cardinal world was covered. The labyrinth served as the main fallback point, its defenses bolstered by barriers designed by Rimuru and Ramiris. With its near-infinite levels and regenerative monsters, it was the ultimate stronghold. Meanwhile, in the void of his fortress, Artemis observed the cardinal world through chaotic rifts. His laughter echoed ominously as he addressed his newly assembled minions. My harbingers of ruin, the time has come. Spread chaos and despair across their lands. Crush their hope before they even see my face. The Abyss Reavers, Umbral Stalkers, Ruin-born Colossi, harbingers of oblivion, and dread sovereigns stood ready, their forms pulsating with malevolent energy. Artemis raised Erebus high, the weapon radiating chaotic light. Go forth, my children. Bring them to their knees. And when their world is in ashes, I shall descend upon them and show them what true ruin looks like. With that, his minions poured through rifts into the cardinal world, their presence triggering the start of a war unlike any other. The battle for survival had officially begun. A day that began with tense preparation turned into a nightmare as hundreds of swirling, chaotic portals opened simultaneously across the cardinal world. From each portal emerged Artemis's minions, beings forged from pure chaos and destruction. The skies darkened wherever they appeared, lightning crackling in unnatural patterns as the air grew thick with malice. The ground quaked violently, and fissures erupted, spewing black smoke and flames as the world struggled to handle the presence of such destructive forces. In every corner of the cardinal world, chaos reigned as Artemis's forces began their assault. Cities and villages, entire towns were reduced to rubble within moments as the ruin-born colossi, towering behemoths of chaos, rampaged through buildings, their massive fists crushing everything in their path. Their roars echoed like thunder, and with every step, the ground splintered beneath them. Battlefields. The Umbral Stalkers, shadowy assassins wreathed in dark energy, darted between soldiers and civilians alike, striking with precision and vanishing before they could be countered. Their attacks were silent but lethal, leaving no time for retaliation. Strongholds and fortresses. The dread sovereigns, Artemis's elite generals, targeted fortified locations. Each sovereign commanded legions of minions and wielded powers that could bend the laws of nature. Their abilities, ranging from massive energy blasts to summoning storms of chaos, laid waste to even the most secure defenses. The invasion scale was too massive for any single nation to handle. Every country in the cardinal world rallied their armies, setting aside past grievances to unite against the common threat. Dworgen. King Gazel Dwargo led the dwarven army, their shields and weapons glowing with runic enchantments. The dwarves formed unbreakable phalanxes, holding back waves of ruin-born colossi. Gazel himself stood at the front lines, his sword blazing with divine energy as he smashed enemy after enemy. We've held off demons before, Gazel roared. These creatures are no different. Hold the line. Sarion. The elves of Sarion unleashed their full magical arsenal. Their archers rained down enchanted arrows that exploded on impact, while their mages summoned elemental storms to devastate the invaders. Emperor Elmesia directed her forces with precision, his calm demeanor inspiring his people. Falmouth and Blumend. The smaller nations, though lacking in strength compared to their allies, contributed bravely. Falmouth's reformed army, led by Yum, fought valiantly, using guerrilla tactics to strike at the invaders' flanks. Blumend deployed its adventurers and mercenaries, their resourcefulness proving invaluable in slowing down the enemy's advance. The Eastern Empire. The Eastern Empire's forces, led by Emperor Rudra and Velgrind, the Scorched Dragon, were a pivotal part of the defense. Rudra stood at the heart of his vast army, his calm, calculating presence a beacon of hope for his soldiers. His unlimited imprisonment skill created massive zones where Artemis's minions were slowed and weakened, allowing his forces to strike decisively. Velgrind was a force of nature on the battlefield, her fiery breath incinerating legions of minions in mere moments. She soared across the skies, unleashing waves of heat that melted the strongest of the ruin-born colossi. This world belongs to us, Velgrind roared, her voice echoing across the battlefield, and I will not let anyone take it. Tempest remained a crucial stronghold in the defense. Rimuru had already positioned his generals to protect the borders and lead coordinated counterattacks. Benimaru, commanding the main army. Benimaru unleashed his hellflare barrage, incinerating countless minions with waves of black flames. His precise leadership ensured that Tempest's forces remained organized amidst the chaos. Diablo, always eager to impress Rimuru, Diablo appeared on multiple battlefields, teleporting between them with ease. His flame of ruin ability reduced entire legions to ash, while his charismatic presence kept morale high among the defenders. Shine fought with her signature ferocity, wielding her massive sword with devastating efficiency. Her strikes sent shockwaves across the battlefield, and her relentless energy inspired the soldiers around her. Zijin stood like an unyielding wall, his exoskeleton shield absorbing enemy attacks effortlessly. He struck back with calculated precision, each attack devastatingly effective. Veldora, the storm dragon unleashed his full might, his dragon's breath annihilating everything in its path. Finally, a battle worth my time. Veldora roared as he clashed with one of the dread sovereigns, the shockwaves of their battle shaking the land. Guy Crimson. Guy froze entire battlefields with Azazel, sovereign of the eternal abyss, halting the enemy's advance. His icy constructs served as both weapons and barriers, giving allied forces time to regroup. Malim Nava. Malim's Vritra, wrath incarnate skill radiated raw destructive power. She flew into enemy lines, unleashing explosive punches and energy waves that obliterated entire armies. Laughing maniacally, she declared, "More. Bring me more enemies." Luminous Valentine. Luminous used Lilith, the queen of temptation, to sow chaos among the invaders, turning weaker minions against each other. Her vampiric abilities drained the life force of her enemies, strengthening her soldiers. Leon Cromwell. Leon Solemn, bringer of light and judgment skill, summoned celestial swords that rained down from the skies, striking with divine precision. His calm and collected demeanor made him a commanding presence on the battlefield. Draggle's cows. The Annihilator shook the earth with every strike. His seismic waves disrupted enemy formations, and his raw strength was unmatched in close combat. Rimuru. At the heart of the chaos stood Rimuru, his ultimate skills Azathoth, Deus Ex Machina, and Genesis Omega, making him a terrifying force. With a wave of his hand, he altered the terrain, creating barriers and traps that hindered the invaders. His attacks were devastating, black holes swallowing enemies whole, while beams of pure energy cut through their ranks. Despite the initial devastation, the combined might of the cardinal world began to turn the tide. The armies fought with renewed vigor, their leaders inspiring them to push back against the overwhelming chaos. Every battlefield became a testament to the cardinal world's determination. As the portals continued to pour out minions, the allied forces held strong, their unity and strength proving that they would not be easily defeated. In the distance, Artemis observed through his dimensional rift, a twisted smile on his face. So they resist. Good. Let them struggle. The real game has yet to begin. The second wave of Artemis's army emerged from countless new portals, even larger and more chaotic than before. The air itself seemed to ripple as more powerful and terrifying creatures stepped forth, their mere presence radiating destruction. These minions were far more dangerous than the first wave, brimming with chaotic energy and devastating abilities designed to break through even the most disciplined defenses. Oblivion Titans, towering monsters, each over 100 feet tall, stomped through the cardinal world, their steps causing earthquakes that leveled entire towns. Their bodies were made of dark crystalline material, nearly impervious to most attacks. They unleashed beams of chaotic energy from their cores, obliterating everything in their paths. Eclipsed wraiths. These spectral beings moved through barriers as if they didn't exist, phasing into the ranks of the defenders and causing mass confusion. They drained life force and magicules from their victims, growing stronger with every life they consumed. Chimeric Ravagers. Horrifying amalgamations of various beasts, the Chimeric Ravagers were fast, intelligent, and relentless. Each one possessed abilities unique to its form, fire breath, venomous claws, and even magical barriers of their own. Chaos Heralds. Leading the charge were powerful humanoid figures shrouded in dark energy. These generals of Artemis's army wielded terrifying magic and commanded entire legions with ruthless precision. Each Chaos Herald was a match for even the strongest of the allied forces, requiring multiple combatants to bring them down. Rimuru's strategic command. Rimuru, observing the escalating situation from Tempest's central command hub, maintained his composure. Using thought communication, he reached out to the other demon lords and commanders on the battlefield. Don't exhaust yourselves completely. Rimuru's calm, yet firm voice resonated in their minds. Artemis himself hasn't shown his hand yet. Conserve your energy. This is only the beginning. The demon lords acknowledged his advice, though the intensity of the battle was testing their patience. True to Feldway's promise, a massive golden portal appeared above the cardinal world, shimmering with divine light. From it descended the angelic army, their presence immediately shifting the balance of the battlefield. The angel legions, clad in radiant armor and armed with celestial weapons, the angelic soldiers were a stark contrast to Artemis's dark and chaotic minions. Their disciplined formations and synchronized attacks were devastatingly effective, pushing back the invading forces. Archangel leaders. Among the angels were several high-ranking commanders, each wielding unique divine abilities. They directed their troops with unmatched precision, their auras bolstering the morale of the allied forces. Feldway, Zalario, and Zelenus did not descend themselves, as per Beerus's command, but their influence was felt through the angels they had sent. The battlefield turned into a chaotic tapestry of light and darkness as the allied forces and the angelic army clashed with Artemis's second wave. The Eastern Empire's contribution. Ridra and Velgrind stood as immovable pillars in the defense. Ridra's unlimited imprisonment created massive zones where the enemy's chaotic energy was suppressed, allowing his soldiers to strike more effectively. Velgrind unleashed her fiery wrath, her flames countering the Chaos Herald's magic. This is nothing we can't handle, Velgrind declared as she tore through a group of Oblivion Titans with her fiery breath. The Demon Lord's adaptation. The Demon Lords, now more attuned to their newly evolved skills, fought with a level of precision and ferocity that left even the Chaos Herald struggling. Guy Crimson, Guy Zazazel, sovereign of the Eternal Abyss, unleashed waves of freezing energy that stopped even the Oblivion Titans in their tracks. His sharp mind allowed him to predict the enemy's movements, coordinating with the allied forces to minimize casualties. Malim Nava, Malim's Vritra, Wrath Incarnate turned her into a whirlwind of destruction. She punched through the chest of a chimeric ravager, laughing wildly as its body exploded into shards of chaotic energy. Luminous Valentine. Luminous used Lilith, the Queen of Temptation, to charm and dominate the Eclipsed Wraiths, turning them against their own allies. Her vampiric magic drained their chaotic energy, which she converted into shields for her soldiers. Leon Cromwell, Leon Solemn, bringer of light and judgment, summoned radiant swords that pierced through even the strongest Chaos Heralds. His cool demeanor and sharp tactics allowed him to protect weaker forces while dealing devastating damage. Draggle, Draggle's cows. The Annihilator unleashed seismic shockwaves that shattered the ground beneath the invaders. His raw strength allowed him to grapple and crush even the Oblivion Titans. Benimaru, leading Tempest's main forces. Benimaru's Hellflare barrage incinerated countless minions, his strategic mind ensuring that every attack hit its mark. Diablo, Diablo's flame of ruin devastated the Chaos Heralds, and his cunning ensured that his enemies never saw their demise coming. Zegan, acting as an unyielding wall, Zegan's defensive abilities protected the angelic army's flanks, while his counterattacks crushed his foes. Shine's devastating swordsmanship and raw strength made her a nightmare for the invading forces. Her laughter rang out as she cleaved through chimeric ravagers. Veldora's dragon form dominated the skies, his breath weapon obliterating large swaths of enemies in one go. This is what I live for, he roared. Despite the combined might of the allied forces and the angel army, Artemis's minions continued their relentless assault. The battlefields across the cardinal world became scenes of both hope and despair. Each victory felt hard-won, and each loss a reminder of the stakes they faced. Rimuru observed the ongoing battle, his expression serious but unwavering. This is just the beginning, he muttered. Stay strong, everyone. The real fight is yet to come. Meanwhile, in his dimensional rift, Artemis laughed as he observed the chaos he had unleashed. Yes, resist with everything you have, he mused. It will make your eventual despair all the more delicious. In his ethereal realm, Beerus lounged comfortably on an ornate golden throne, surrounded by his wives, Zerna, Urza, Velzer, Beta, Delta, and Sigma. The atmosphere was calm yet charged with anticipation, a stark contrast to the chaos erupting in the cardinal world. Each wife radiated her unique presence, their combined aura rivaling the most powerful beings in existence. Zerna, the sharp-eyed tactician, leaned forward slightly, her piercing gaze locked on the swirling chaos of the battle displayed in an immense crystalline projection hovering before them. They've grown much stronger since the last time we observed them. Rimuru's influence is undeniable, she commented, her voice tinged with approval. Urza, the fiery and battle-hardened warrior, crossed her arms, her crimson hair glowing faintly as she analyzed the battle. Strong, yes, but Artemis's forces are relentless. This second wave is far more destructive. If they're not careful, even the demon lords might struggle. Velzer, the serene and enigmatic wife, exuded an aura of calm as she observed the battle with quiet interest. They're adapting quickly, especially Rimuru and Malim. Their potential is immense, but the chaos Artemis is unleashing will test their limits. Beta, with her analytical mind, studied the strategies employed by both sides. The allied forces are holding for now, but Artemis's second wave has disrupted their formations in some areas. They'll need to adjust quickly to avoid significant losses. Delta, playful yet astute, chuckled softly. The angels arrived just in time to balance the scales. I wonder how Feldway feels about his troops being used like this. He always hated playing second fiddle. Sigma, the calm and calculating observer, added with a faint smile. Artemis is playing a long game. He's testing their resilience, their coordination. This is far from over. Beerus, relaxed and unbothered, took a sip from a goblet filled with celestial nectar. His golden eyes glimmered with amusement as he watched the unfolding battle. They're doing fine. Rimuru's strategy is holding up, and the demon lords are starting to understand the gravity of what they're facing. Let them struggle. It will only make their eventual triumph more satisfying. Urza turned to him, raising an eyebrow. You seem unusually confident, even for you. Aren't you worried about Artemis's forces overwhelming them? Beerus smirked lazily. Worried? Hardly. Artemis is strong, but I've seen stronger. Besides, this is entertaining. Watching them grow, adapt, and fight back. It's all part of the spectacle. Rimuru and his allies will survive. If they don't, well, I'll step in, but only if it gets truly boring. Serna tilted her head. You really believe Rimuru and the others can handle Artemis's army? Even the Chaos Heralds seemed formidable. Of course, Beerus replied, his voice carrying absolute certainty. Rimuru has more potential than even he realizes. And as for the Demon Lords, their newly evolved skills are a sight to behold. Let's see how far they can push themselves. As the second wave continued to ravage the Cardinal world, Beerus's wives turned to him with questioning looks. Will you truly just watch? Velzer asked softly, her tone carrying a hint of concern. Beerus leaned back, his smirk widening. For now, yes. This is their fight, their moment to grow. If Artemis himself steps in, maybe I'll pay him a visit. Until then, let's enjoy the show. And so, the battle raged on, the fate of the Cardinal world hanging in the balance as both sides pushed themselves to their limits.